A system window pops up binding to our guy Su Xing. He's been fuming for 3 years waiting for his cheat ability. Because surprise, Su Xing is a transmigrator in a strange new world. This world is basically a game come to life, dungeons, monsters, the works. At 18, everyone awakens a class to fight for their lives. And our boy naturally got the asterisk soul asterisk hidden class, Immortal Cultivator. That legendary class got him scouted by a top national university. Except there was one tiny fatal problem: he cannot level up. 3 years later, his classmates are all silver and gold rankers, while he is still stuck at level 1, weaker than a low-rank scrub. But now his golden finger has finally activated, so it is go time. And without wasting a second, he fires up the simulation. This simulation starts with him living the dream, carrying girls through dungeons. In this timeline, one of his junior clients is a little short on cash. So she offers to pay with a very creative, non-monetary method. And after their passionate night, he attempts to cultivate. Boom, he discovers a legendary world-shaking technique. But a month later, his cultivation is still garbage. The technique was a bust, so his simulated life is just leveling up junior girls for cash and benefits. Then she hits silver rank and immediately ghosts him. So much for loyalty. Su Xing's heart is broken, but his wallet is full. A fair trade, apparently. Fueled by pure spite, he trains like a madman, and his reputation as a power leveler attracts a whole new crowd. A business model he is very okay with. Years later, he is a rich shop owner until a call shatters everything. His sister is suddenly dead, and 3 years after that, his best friend dies too. This crisis finally gets him to train seriously, but a sudden market crash makes all his equipment worthless. And with his shop bankrupt, he just gives up and goes home. Retirement for him means heading back to his old town, where he is just chilling one day when a giant monster blots out the sun, and the beast's eye opens, sending all of humanity into a panic. As Earth's strongest heroes rise up to fight it, launching everything they have at the colossal threat, and massive energy blasts light up the sky, but Su Xing is just a bystander caught in the shockwave, getting blasted back, completely powerless to do anything. Before the beast just opens its mouth and eats the entire country. Simulation over a brutal end, but now he gets his first reward. Su Xing jolts back to reality, completely wiped out by the experience, and immediately the system prompts him to choose his reward. Because the memory of that world-ending beast is seared into his mind, he has got 15 years. So with zero hesitation, he chooses the spirit root holder trait. And green energy just floods his body, so asterisk this is what a spirit root feels like. His inner power is visualized as a jacked-up mushroom man. Sure, this simulator's already recharged and he has got some starter gear to boot, when his roommate barges in announcing 6 junior girls are waiting for him. Our boy heads out to meet his clients, priorities straight, save him some food. He gets right down to business, laying out the terms, all loot is his. And the blonde girl in the group is just stunned silent by his demands. Hey, it is Wang Qingshuan from the simulation, already worried about the fee, but business is business, so they head into the 10 Li slope instance. Of course, a giant flaming boar immediately charges the party, but Su Xing just effortlessly carves through a whole pack of them, leaving his clients to stare on in total shock at his power. One girl is so grateful she has already left a lipstick mark on him. Subtlety is dead. He just plays it cool, reminding them this is all part of the service. But then Wang Qingshuan approaches him, looking a little flustered. And would you look at that, she is a little short on cash. History repeats itself. Su Xing feigns confusion as she gets real suggestive, because she is making the exact same short on cash offer from the simulation, and a wicked little smile spreads across his face. He has got a plan, so he invites her to a little dark room, looking like a total predator. Inside, he is sitting there like a cartoon villain with a pointer, while she looks up, probably expecting the absolute worst. But he just starts lecturing her on civics and democracy, a true patriot. This guy declares his specialty is spiritual salvation for wayward youth, sternly warning her away from a life of crime as she just stares in disbelief. After that moral crusade, Su Xing spends a week grinding commissions, absolutely demolishing monsters for cold, hard cash. And his clients are, of course, extremely grateful for the service, a level of appreciation he is more than happy to accept. 1 week later, he's got a fat stack of 200,000 yuan, which is just enough to fire up the simulator for another run, spending some of his hard-earned energy to draw a new talent. This system grants him Business Elite, a basic white-tier skill, which will not make him stronger, but it will make him richer in the sim. So his simulated self immediately becomes a campus salesman, and in just 1 year he is a chibai millionaire rolling in dough. His sim self becomes a mogul, founding a trade group called the Tarot Club, and 2 years later his success has attracted some very dangerous attention, because a glowing red blade is suddenly pressed against his throat, and it is his old junior Wang Qingshuan holding the knife. She gives him a classic villain offer: join her mysterious group or die. But Su Xing is completely unimpressed by the threat, and with a snap of his fingers he summons his own backup. A whole squad of his men in suits descends on her from the rooftops, but she does not even flinch, leaping straight into the fight, carving through his entire team in a literal flash of red light. Yeah, she is definitely not a struggling rookie anymore, leaving him absolutely floored. She is a Grandmaster tier professional. Back in reality, Su Xing stares at the official power rankings, noting that even prodigies rarely break past the master tier, so he is left wondering how she hit Grandmaster in just 5 years. Meanwhile in the sim, she has him cornered but cannot bring herself to kill him, and for a moment she looks genuinely conflicted before just dropping her dagger on the ground. Then she just kisses him, a truly wild negotiation tactic, and he wakes up to a bloodstain, realizing he massively misjudged her intentions. In the sim, he learns Wang Qingxuan is dead, leaving him completely shattered, and he immediately blames some secret organization, swearing to get revenge. But his investigation into her death turns up absolutely nothing. 2 years later, he is still without a cultivation method, but his body is in peak shape. So this time, he begs his sister not to enter any dungeons for a year. She is a little confused by the random demand, but agrees anyway. And for a moment, Su Xing thinks he has actually saved her. Nope, a year later, she is dead too, so much for changing the timeline. He finds out she died at a place called Demon Suppressing Pass, but hits another wall. When it hits him, his best friend also died this year. Turns out he died at the exact same place along with most of their classmates. This dungeon was basically a meat grinder for everyone he cared about, leaving him to wonder what kind of hellscape could kill so many pros. He realizes they were all forced to go and decides to see this sim through. Using his future knowledge, he plays the market like a fiddle, becoming a chibai business magnate rolling in cash priorities, you know. He even tries warning the world about the coming apocalypse, but no one listens. So with everyone ignoring him, he decides to just save himself. 3 years later, he has cashed out and moved his family to the USA, where the pros are vampires and werewolves, just in time for the world-ending beast to show up. His brilliant plan to hide in the USA goes great until a giant demon shows up there too, and all the local heroes get vaporized in a suicide mission. Before that same colossal world-ending eye opens once again. Back in reality, Su Xing has a horrifying thought: what if there is more than one? This simulation ends with another total party wipe, but hey, new rewards. And he can choose between his business elite talent or a cultivation method. So he picks cultivation, instantly getting a power-up to silver tier strength. Making money in a sim is cool, but having actual power to survive is way better. Our boy checks his new gear, looking incredibly smug with a leaf on his head for some reason. With only 15 years left, he is desperately trying to find a way to stop the apocalypse. When a chilling idea hits him: what if the world leaders already know? He realizes they are probably just suppressing the truth to stop global panic. And on top of that, his system is unique. He has cultivation, not levels, which even at 0 already makes him stronger than the average pro. This new power just makes him more determined to keep grinding. So after another week of work, he has got 400,000 yuan for the next simulation. He has got plenty of energy points and decides to draw a new talent, reaching into the system to pull for a cheap white-tier skill. And he gets Undying Grudge, a talent that sounds perfect for him, because it lets him investigate for a day asterisk after he dies, a truly genius perk. Su Xing realizes this new talent is perfect for some post-mortem spying. This sim starts and our boy is immediately living the high life, money, power, girls. He even keeps up his side hustle, spiritually saving Wang Qingxuan with civics lessons. And just like before, she tells him about a shady organization's job offer. But this time he just sees how pitiful and lost she looks, so he begs her not to go, pulling her into a desperate embrace. Waking up to a bloodstain, he is left wondering if she was forced to leave. Some time later, he finally spots the missing Wang Qingxuan on the street, and he rushes over, genuinely worried about where she has been all this time. She just looks back at him, bloodied and broken, unable to speak. Gently holding her hand, he tells her she does not have to explain. Before waking up alone again, finding something she left behind. It is a cultivation manual called the Changchun Gong. Su Xing is ecstatic. This is his ticket to real power, a real fighting chance. Of course, there is a catch: it is only half the damn book. Training for a month gets him 0 progress, stuck at the very first level, putting everything he has into the technique with absolutely no results. Then a chibai light bulb goes off. It must be a lack of spiritual chi. He has got the root and the method, so that is the only missing piece. But with no time left, he cannot even warn his sister or his best friend. This time, Su Xing decides to save his sister, finding her fresh out of college, and they spend some quality time together just before fate comes knocking, because government agents show up with a mandatory invitation to Demon Suppressing Pass. Su Xing is having absolutely none of it. He knows that place is a death trap. His sister, however, just looks down, completely resigned to the situation. So he desperately tries pulling the big brother card, telling her to listen, only to be completely floored by what she does next. Turns out his little sister is a secret Grandmaster tier powerhouse. She explains it is a required mission for her rank and promises she will be fine, waving goodbye with a smile, which is the biggest death flag in history. A month later, the news of her death arrives, leaving him broken. His attempt to warn his best friend fails too, because duty is a hell of a drug. So with everyone he loves dead, Su Xing grieves by becoming a chibai millionaire again. He then cashes out, spending his last 4 years searching for that elusive spiritual chi. But after a full year, his quest has turned up absolutely nothing, until a mysterious man with a very villainous purple aura tracks him down. Su Xing immediately demands to know who this new guy is, who responds with the most generic bad guy line ever: "I do not talk to ants." Our boy's eyes narrow, ready to throw down anyway, but the stranger's attack is so fast it leaves him stunned. Su Xing immediately clocks the guy's power level way beyond silver tier, but he throws up a block anyway, refusing to just get rolled over. Our boy channels his own power, thinking his peak body gives him a shot, and the villain is actually surprised by his resistance for a hot second, which is just long enough for Su Xing to get blasted across the room. He somehow lands on his feet, wondering if that was the whole fight, And of course not, because the villain teleports behind him for the classic nothing personal kid moment. Turns out this guy is a grandmaster or higher, putting Su Xing at a slight asterisk disadvantage. This villain looks down on him, calling the whole thing a pity, before unleashing some kind of blood-red finishing move. Yep, neck snapped, simulation over, another day, another death. But wait, his undying grudge talent kicks in, time for some post-mortem recon. For a moment, his spirit form sees a vision of everyone he is fighting for, and the system confirms his unwilling to die unavenged talent is active, letting him watch his own killer from beyond the grave. He sees the villain take the cultivation manual, connecting him to that same secret organization. And the guy's smug grin basically confirms all of Su Xing's suspicions. Then he stomps on the body for good measure before the simulation finally ends. Back in reality, Su Xing is absolutely livid, giving his system the one-finger salute. He is pissed he got killed by a random mini-boss, but hey, at least he can claim that half a book as a reward. Su Xing eyes the full cultivation manual, but it is a steep 3,000 points. And he is really missing that post-death recon talent from the last run. After some serious thought, he makes a choice that is both petty and brilliant. This system confirms he is bringing Undying Grudge back, draining his points completely. His new plan to make money, exploiting underclassmen of course. In front of a dungeon portal, he lays down the rules for his new interns, who are all swooning while he is just thinking about profit margins. Inside the dungeon, Su Xing goes full-on one-man wrecking crew. And the guy is absolutely drowning in adoration, fake tears and all. Back in his room, he checks the haul, a cool 700k in just 1 week. With the cash secured, he decides to draw another talent, and gets Poker Face, a skill so useless he demands a refund. For the next year, it is just a cycle of punching monsters and farming loot. He plays the part of the stoic senior, but that chibai on his shoulder tells the real story. This time, he decides to stay away from Wang Qingxuan, but fate has other plans. She comes to say goodbye, and his persuasion leads to them spending the night together. This morning after is full of blushes and new knowledge. She drops out, and he eventually leaves too, starting a business while he waits. Once again, our boy becomes a chibai tycoon, patiently biding his time. And just as planned, she finds him, leaving the full cultivation manual behind after their reunion. So after a night of persuasion, he finally has the full cultivation manual. But just like before, the book is useless without spiritual chi, so the hunt is on again. This simulation timeline fast-forwards, and once again his sister marches off to die. And a year later, his best friend Fatty Yu dies too, keeping the tragedy train on schedule. Su Xing dumps all his cash into the potion industry, planning to get rich and get the hell out of Dodge. But then a phone call changes everything. He has finally got a lead on spiritual energy. His source says a grandmaster in Jinling City has a spirit stone, bingo. Wasting zero time, he tells his guy to prep a gift because he is on his way now. Our boy hits the road, looking smug as hell, convinced this is his big break. A meeting with the grandmaster is set, but the villain from last time crashes the party right before the deal. This guy immediately unleashes some insane screen-filling attack on him. Their eyes meet in a classic Shounen stare-down, but we all know how this ends. And he is dead again, screaming at the system as he chooses the cultivation art for his troubles. This system confirms the transaction, 3,000 points for half a book, what a bargain. He is back in reality, looking incredibly pleased with his new glowing book hat. A quick read-through confirms it is a longevity art, but since it is only half, it has got a hard level cap. He gives the technique a whirl and bam, instant cultivator aura. This whole longevity thing is cool, but kind of pointless with the apocalypse just 15 years away. Still, he has the technique and a lead on the spirit stone. Next simulation, it is his. This only problem is the price tag. His 800k yuan will not be enough energy, so the grind continues. Su Xing's grind is interrupted by a friend telling him old Liu is looking for him. It is Fatty Yu who gets a friendly headlock for nearly breaking down the door. And Su Xing immediately tries to hit his best friend up for a loan. He plays it smooth, but Fatty Yu's already sweating about his own bank account. His buddy still comes through, offering up a card with 5 million on it. For a second, Su Xing looks genuinely moved by the gesture. Because Fatty Yu just brushes it off, saying that is what brothers are for. Then Su Xing asks when his birthday is, and the bromance is officially over, which leads to Fatty Yu trying to stomp his money back out of him. Our boy just laughs it off and heads out to his meeting, leaving his friend in a rage. In an office, a cup of tea is waiting, setting a much more serious tone. He meets with teacher Liu, who immediately asks about his training progress. Su Xing gives the most generic, non-committal answer ever, so the teacher lays on the pressure, talking about school stats and reputations. Our boy cuts right through the BS, telling him to just spit it out. This guy wants him to voluntarily withdraw to make the school look better, but Su Xing calls him out. This is just about the teacher's performance review. Besides, he is not leaving when there are so many cute junior girls around. Realizing shame will not work, the teacher switches to a good old-fashioned bribe, offering him 500,000 to just pack up and leave. This teacher even offers him a security guard job, what an honor. But Su Xing is just fuming, remembering the 3 million this guy already owes him. He politely declines, saying this place is just perfect for his cultivation. So the teacher just starts screaming about how he is a washed-up prodigy and a disgrace. Su Xing just smirks, flexing the 5 million loan from Fatty Yu right in his face. Teacher Liu is absolutely stunned, short-circuiting from the sheer audacity of it all. Meanwhile, Su Xing is already spending the cash, ordering 4,000 pieces of gear on his phone. With his new funds secured, he is ready to dive back into the simulation. A week later, it is go time, his one mission to finally get that spirit stone. And the system rewards his dedication with a new talent. You have gone bald but not stronger. He immediately checks his hair in total denial about his impending doom, only for a huge clump to come right out in his hand. Our boy absolutely loses it, screaming about this trash-tier talent, and immediately starts panic shopping for hair growth tonics online. This system helpfully points out his thinning hair is tanking his charisma with the junior girls. So in a moment of despair, he just decides to shave it all off. Turns out, being bald makes him better at punching monsters for some reason. He becomes the campus one-punch man, making bank and getting all the girls anyway. Even Wang Qingshuan shows up again, bringing him the first half of the cultivation manual. But this time, he tells her to keep it and help him find the other half instead. Just like clockwork, Wang Qingshuan leaves the academy again. And Su Xing starts to suspect the simulation is literally reading his mind. But he just accepts that his friends are doomed to die in this timeline too. So he fast-forwards to becoming a bald, sunglasses-wearing business mogul, using his new corporate empire to hunt for that spirit stone. And his assistant finally brings him the good news: they have found a seller. Our boy is thrilled, convinced his plan to ditch Wang Qingshuan actually worked this time. Arriving at the meeting for a polite cup of pre-deal tea, where he finally meets the Grandmaster, who is not what he expected. Her name is Jin Kung-Su, and she is a 40-year-old powerhouse. She immediately compliments his shiny dome, thinking he is a monk, which activates his talent, making them instant besties because she is a devout Buddhist. Su Xing is absolutely floored. His trash talent is actually a social cheat code, and his new best friend offers him 3 spirit stones worth a fortune, which he immediately agrees to buy with a totally not greedy smile. She even gives him a massive friendship discount, selling them for 1/10 of the price. With the stones secured, he wastes no time absorbing that sweet, sweet spiritual energy, his eyes glowing as he powers up for the first time and realizes just half a stone is enough for a major breakthrough. This kid is over the moon. He has finally got everything he needs to start cultivating for real. His new bestie, Jin Kung-Su, brings him food after his power-up session, and she explains the stones came from a special dungeon called the Azure Cloud Spirit Field, revealing even the rice he is eating is spirit rice from the same place, a full-service upgrade, which gives Su Xing a literal holy glow moment over a bowl of carbs. Back in reality, the gears are turning. He can farm these dungeons for infinite power. So in the simulation, he asks for the location, but she says it was a limited-time event. But a quick calendar check in the real world reveals the event has not happened yet. His simulated self listens as she laments being told she has no cultivation talent. But in reality, Su Xing knows he has it, and this is his golden ticket. Realizing the stones are not the real prize, it is the opportunities inside. Deciding to keep the simulation running, he hits play to see what else he can learn. And the timeline fast-forwards to his bald self leveling up, but then she comes to say goodbye. She walks off toward the mountains, ready to leave him behind, so our boy immediately asks if she is heading to the demon-suppressing pass. As a Grandmaster, she says it is her duty to go to the front lines, which hits a nerve, reminding him of everyone else who has died in these timelines. He grabs her arm, demanding to know what this death trap of a place is. And his baldness talent kicks in again, making her like him even more. Perfect timing. She reveals the pass is humanity's last defense against some seriously nasty demons, and the situation there is apparently grim, meaning she is walking right into it. She gets real cagey about the enemy, refusing to give him any details. Jin Kung-Su just gives him a casual "see you later" and heads off to die. A month later, he is standing at her grave. So much for that reunion. With his new best friend dead, Su Xing immediately calls for a status on his 50 billion fortune. His next command is to liquidate everything, shocking his poor secretary. This plan is to cash out his entire empire for body-tempering items, but even 3 years later, he is still stuck just short of a breakthrough. Right on cue, a giant monster shows up to start the apocalypse. Su Xing just looks up, completely unfazed, as if he expected it. This thing's mouth is a literal cavern of teeth and bad intentions. Our boy flips at the bird, promising to eat it someday, all talk no bite, and immediately gets swallowed whole for his epic display of defiance. At that moment, a new talent activates, Death with Open Eyes, which sounds lovely. Back in reality, Su Xing is just staring at his pendant, completely floored. His simulated self is now inside the beast, apparently near its heart. All around him, people are dissolving in stomach acid, which is a bad day at the office. One guy melts into a skeleton while screaming for help. Another victim is just a puddle of agony, screaming about the pain. This system helpfully informs him his eyes have been digested, deactivating the talent. Su Xing is left reeling from the horror as the system offers him a reward for the trauma. Back in reality, the system tallies up his rewards for dying horribly. And Su Xing is absolutely thrilled he managed to bring the spirit stones out. It was surprisingly cheap to extract them, costing just a few thousand energy points. But the system's buyback price is a total scam, a 90% loss on his investment. He reluctantly accepts the deal, cursing all second-hand dealers in existence. With his new loot secured, he immediately starts absorbing one of the stones, discovering just a tiny sliver is worth half a month of normal cultivation. He saves the other 2, deciding he needs them to test a new theory, which basically boils down to grinding dungeons for cash to farm even more stones. A week later, the non-stop grind has left him looking like a ghost, but he has got over 500,000, which is more than enough for another simulation. so it is right back to the chair, ready to dive in and see if his plan works, hoping his theory about bringing items into the simulation is correct. This time he draws a totally underwhelming fitness expert talent, and the simulation starts with him holding half a spirit stone. It worked. His simulated self is a bit confused but decides to just roll with it, spending the next month making money by gaming with a bunch of girls, while using the stone's energy at night to power level his cultivation. With his theory proven, he immediately books a train ticket to Jinling. Heading straight for the Azure Cloud Spirit Field dungeon, suitcase in tow, Suzing is out in the woods playing detective for the dungeon entrance, and he is starting to worry he cannot find it without his simulation bestie Jin Kung-soo. Right on cue, a voice politely asks him to move, and he turns around, completely caught off guard. It is Jin Kung-soo, but this time she is a decade younger and just as intimidating. Realizing this is his one shot, he decides to shadow her no matter what. He follows her deep into a much creepier part of the forest, only to immediately lose her and wonder where she went. She is right behind him, of course, towering over him like a goddess of judgment. With a sword to his throat, she asks why he is following her, which is a fair question. Suzing immediately turns on the charm, pretending to be a starstruck fan from school, but she is clearly not buying his little honor roll story. So he pivots, claiming a fated Buddhist connection, a truly shameless gambit. And against all odds, she is actually intrigued, telling him to ask his question. He hits her with the chicken or the egg paradox, and she is just blown away by his wisdom. Now convinced he is some kind of prodigy, she invites him to travel with her. They arrive at the Azure Cloud Spirit Field, which is a literal river of gold in the sky. This spiritual energy is so dense he can feel it, knowing a master cultivator must live here. And he spots a small hut up ahead while she just casually floats. She tells him to stay back since his cultivation is trash. She will go knock. Jin Kung-soo politely knocks on the hut door, ready for business, and out pops a grandpa with antlers, calling this a secret immortal realm. She is completely charmed by the nice old man, but Suzing smells a quest. Their grand opportunity is a farming job complete with magical glowing hose. Jin Kung-soo is completely baffled by the manual labor tool, a true city girl moment. This old man gives them a 7-day deadline before piecing out, and immediately she panics, admitting she has never even seen a farm before. Suzing, ever the opportunist, starts schooling her on proper farming etiquette, then drops the most convincing lie about being a humble farm boy his whole life. Totally buying it, she asks for his expert help, promising a handsome reward. Our boy plays it cool, but his face is screaming all according to plan. As he works the fields, her attitude toward him starts to warm up considerably. She is even giving him that maybe he is not so bad look from the sidelines. Suzing then discovers he can use his spiritual energy to supercharge the crops, a literal farming cheat code. With so much energy in the air, he starts cultivating and juicing the plants at the same time, feeling pretty smug that his cultivation skills are actually useful for something. A week later, Grandpa Antlers returns, genuinely impressed by their green thumbs. This old man is practically beaming with pride over his lush new spirit field. For all her hard work, he hands Jin Kung-soo a hefty bag of rewards. Back in reality, Suzing realizes helping her upgraded the loot 10 stones and some rice, a massive win. With Jin Kung-soo gone, Suzing turns to the old man for answers, who calmly explains he just teleported her out of the dungeon, problem solved. Then he offers Suzing a glowing orb for a little aptitude test, and upon touching it, a mess of colored lights appear inside. This verdict is in, his talent is a 5-element train wreck with zero future. Undeterred, Suzing immediately asks to become his disciple anyway, but the old man just strokes his beard and says it is a complete waste of time. Suzing, however, looks like he has got a counter-argument ready, so the old man clarifies he needs at least a dual spirit route to even be considered, which gives our boy a brand new goal to grind for. Back in reality, he confirms his talent is bottom tier and knows he needs a system upgrade. In the simulation, Grandpa gives him a consolation prize of 30 stones for his mediocre efforts, and with a final wave, the antlered immortal just flies away. This simulation fast-forwards through years of tragedy as his friends are conscripted and die, with the system helpfully reminding him he is completely powerless to stop it. A year later, he is a $10 billion man who has finally found Jin Kung-soo. He walks right up to her, and she looks a lot more world-weary this time. Suzing gets straight to business, offering to buy her spirit stones for any price, but she just smirks, telling him she has no need for money, leaning in close to say she has one very different condition in mind. Her one condition is him, and his face reflected in her eye is pure unadulterated panic, and by him she means a very hands-on arrangement. A month later, she is feeling zero regrets while Suzing looks like his soul has been vacuumed out. This simulation then speeds through the tragedy, she is conscripted, dies, and he is back at her grave. 4 years later, the giant beast is back to wreck the city right on schedule, and this time Suzing dies at the ripe old age of 36, ending the run. Back in reality, he is just smug that he managed to bring out the spirit rice this time, but extracting the spirit stones is gonna cost him a steep 40,000 points. His simulated fortune only converts to 2,000 points, leaving him pathetically short, so it is time to make a desperate call to the Bank of Bro. He phones up his friend Fatty, who is in the middle of a dungeon run and completely startled. After explaining he's a little tight on cash, his buddy asks for the damage. Suzing, with the face of a greedy gremlin, asks for 100 million. A little preview card spoils the next big upgrade, a dual spirit route. which we see him unlocking in a flash of green and red elemental power. Back to the call, his friend is absolutely losing it, capping the loan at 50 million. Suzing just calmly accepts, pocketing the cash without breaking a sweat. His new plan is to use the 55 million to buy 50,000 pieces of white rarity gear. With the dungeon opening in a month, he has got 4 simulations left to farm and get stronger. 1 week later, he is ready to dive back in and test his luck all over again. Time for another roll of the talent gacha, hoping for something green, and he gets live a long life. A talent he immediately gives the finger to. That run ends with 10 more stones, which is barely a consolation prize. A week later, he is literally praying for a spirit root talent, but the system gives him Sword Dao Genius, complete with a flashy blue ghost. Suzing is absolutely livid. He is not even a swordsman. Another simulation bites the dust, so he just banks the spirit rice he earned. Now he is pulling out all the stops, begging the gacha gods for mercy. Looking completely dead inside, he finally gets an activation notice, and his grand prize is the green rarity talent, Face of an Idol. He completely loses it, screaming about how useless being handsome is. But the system clarifies he is so hot now, even it is asterisk charmed by him. Suzing just stares, calling the glitching system a two-faced bastard. This simulation starts and our boy is immediately feeling himself, damn, he looks good. Just in time for a giant demonic beast to crash the party. But Suzing just smirks, ready to weaponize his new good looks. His female teammates are already completely useless, fawning over his face mid-battle. He is internally screaming that this is a dungeon, not a dating show. Even after he is down, one of his party members cannot stop staring. He checks his reflection and it literally confirms it for him. Yes, you are asterisk that asterisk handsome. His new talent's effect is immediate, everyone is completely obsessed with him. And back in the simulation, he is getting absolutely mobbed by new fans. Suzing makes a tactical retreat from his adoring public who are literally hard-tied. He barely makes it behind a door as they keep begging for his attention outside. Leaning against the wall, he complains about the terrible burden of being gorgeous. His only option is to become a shut-in and just cultivate in his dorm room. This simulation then jumps ahead to his fated meeting with Jin Kung-soo, and one look is all it takes for the idol face to do its thing. She is instantly smitten, asking him out while he regrets memorizing all that philosophy for nothing. Even the antlered grandpa is fawning over him, much to his absolute horror. This old man was so charmed he nearly made him a disciple, but his talent was still garbage. So instead, he gets a pity bag of spirit stones just to preserve his beauty. Back in the real world, Suzing has lost all faith in this shallow society. This simulation concludes, offering him the talent, a level up, or a pile of stones. But the system itself was so charmed it gives him a free one-time use of the talent anyway. Our boy sees this as a sign he will definitely get his spirit root next time. For now, he will just pocket the spirit stones he earned from the run. A week passes and he activates his freebie handsome pass for the next gacha roll. He strikes a pose, fully embracing the sparkly, flowery power of his new face. Then he tries to flirt with the system itself for a better talent, and it is actually blushing. Suzing lays on the charm, blowing a kiss at the system for a little gacha luck. And his flirting actually works. He finally gets the green rarity dual spirit root. Wood and fire energy erupt around him, his trash tier talent officially history. With his new power confirmed, he dives right back into the simulation. And this time, he can drain an entire spirit stone in a single day. Talent is everything. A week of training rockets him to the 5th level of chi refinement. This simulation then drops him right back in front of Jin Kung-soo and Grandpa Antlers. After another round of superpowered farming, the old man asks him to stay behind. His aptitude test now shows 2 pure elements, and the old man is visibly impressed. Who explains his wood is for farming, but his fire is perfect for alchemy. So our boy immediately asks to become his disciple. Take 2. This grandpa says he started too late, but Suzing wants to know his true potential, and the old man casually drops that he could have reached the legendary Gold Core realm. That sets the new mission, hit Gold Core before the dungeon opens to get accepted. This simulation ends and he finally meets Jin Kung-soo in the real world. And his first thought is a very thirsty damn, she looks good for 30. He pulls out the jade slip he got from the old man, channeling his energy into it, which reveals a brand new cultivation technique inside. With the apocalypse looming, he gets to work mastering his new skills. 6 years later in the sim, he is a master spirit farmer with a tiny bit of rice to show for it. That spirit rice works wonders, instantly powering him up to the bone forging realm. In the sim, he offers his hard-earned crop to Jin Kung-soo for 20 spirit stones, which of course leads to the same hands-on payment plan as before, leaving Suzing looking like a human raisin just 1 month later. Then the giant beast shows up right on schedule to end his tragic run again. Back in reality, the reward menu is stacked, including his main prize, the dual spirit root. Suzing carefully weighs his options, seeing he can even buy his farming knowledge. He gawks at a cultivation art that costs a casual 1 billion points, but decides the spirit root is the priority since he can get the art from Grandpa later. This system confirms his choice, ready to overwrite his old, useless talent. For a split second, our boy gets a little nervous about the upgrade, before shaking it off and just accepting his new power. With 1 simulation left, he sets an ambitious new goal, hit the gold tier realm. A week later, he is at the airport, planning to run the sim while on the plane. Kicking back in his seat, he dives right in. His new talent is Resolute Face, which makes him look trustworthy, a real game changer. After landing, he immediately goes to find Jin Kung-soo following the usual script. This time, she greets him respectfully as senior, but his new talent kicks in, making her blush and see him as incredibly dependable. She invites him along and he just rolls with it, mission accomplished. Grandpa Antlers is baffled, he'd rather have spirit stones than become his disciple, and Su-zing just respectfully confirms, yep, he is here for the cash. This old man gets all sour grapes, saying he was not good enough anyway, and forks over the bag. In the simulation, this kicks off a 20-year power leveling montage, with our boy pushing himself so hard his eyes are literally glowing. He hits the 9th level of Foundation Establishment but runs out of juice right at the finish line. This simulation ends with the familiar sight of a giant monster about to eat him. Back on the plane, Su-zing is looking less than thrilled with that outcome. His reward screen offers either the Resolute Face talent or his new cultivation level. He notes his progress, a little bummed he could not break through to the next realm, but decides to just cash in the cultivation upgrade right then and there, getting a wicked grin as he realizes he is in a real-world spiritual hotspot now. This is it, his first time actually walking the path to meet Jin Kung-soo, and he is trying to calm his nerves with the most random flex ever, Buddhist scripture knowledge. He peeks from behind a tree, confirming his target is in sight. There she is, Jin Kung-soo, making her grand, petal-filled entrance. Su-zing immediately goes full simp, completely losing it over how good she looks for 30. He makes his approach, asking if she is the senior from the campus list. But his smooth meeting by fate line gets brutally shut down when she says she is busy, which makes him realize that without a talent, he is a total nobody to her. With his first approach a total failure, Su-zing tries a classic meet cute by faking a fall, and Jin Kung-soo is momentarily stunned by the sudden book explosion. He lays it on thick, acting devastated about his hard-to-find collection, which is just the bait she needs to notice his very specific reading material on Buddhism. Our boy plays it cool, brushing it off as a simple hobby, but she is amazed he knew her interests because he totally stalked her thesis at the library. His extremely thorough prep work pays off and she invites him to come along. Su-zing is internally gloating, his master plan perfectly on track. As they walk, she is genuinely amused by his nerdy passion for historical debates, but he is just anxiously waiting for the dungeon instance to finally appear. Then, right on schedule, she points to a mysterious light in the woods, revealing a massive, shimmering portal to a temporary instance dungeon. He can barely contain his excitement, about to enter a real-world dungeon for the first time. And this time, he is absolutely determined to become Grandpa Antler's disciple. Jin Kung-soo tries to warn him off, saying it is too dangerous for an undergrad. But Su-zing turns on the charm, asking if she will protect him, which works a little asterisk too well, leaving her completely flustered and blushing. Now that he's got his bodyguard, she tells him to stick close as they enter, arriving at the absolutely stunning Azure Cloud Spirit Field, and he is blown away by how much more incredible it is in person than in the sim. Su-zing just soaks in the rich spiritual energy, knowing he can level up here. Jin Kung-soo gives a standard warning, but he has already spotted the old man's hut, and right on cue, a very angry Grandpa Antlers pops out to yell at them. This old man demands to know how they found his secret retirement home, before immediately offering them a fortuitous opportunity, which sounds a lot like free labor. Turns out he is too busy with cultivation to do his own gardening. Eagerly, Su-zing agrees, his master plan already kicking into gear. He whispers to Jin Kung-soo about their good luck, and she is just like, "You can farm." Our boy puts on his best humble country boy act, a total fabrication of course. With a confident smirk, he gets right to it, starting with the weeds. Then he moves on to irrigation while Jin Kung-soo just watches. But his real secret is channeling his own spiritual energy into the crops. Jin Kung-soo starts getting suspicious, wondering what the real test is, and she asks if there is some deeper meaning to all this manual labor. Su-zing plays it off, saying it is all about the grind for a big reward. Internally, though, he knows the real prize is not for her, it is for him. This whole place is a massive spiritual energy battery, and he is plugging right in. From a distance, Grandpa Antlers is absolutely floored by what he is witnessing. A week of this superpowered farming passes in a flash, leaving Jin Kung-soo stunned to see the rice is now literally glowing gold. Su-zing absorbs all that sweet, sweet spiritual energy from the field, and with a final power-up scream, his eyes start glowing, blasting him right to the peak of Foundation Establishment, so close to gold core. When Grandpa Antlers and Jin Kung-soo check on him, he just plays it cool. This old man cuts to the chase, asking what his cultivator attribute is. Su-zing gives his best "aw shucks, I am just a lucky amateur" routine, which totally works. So out comes the trusty aptitude testing crystal for the big reveal, and it lights up with dual wood and fire roots, the perfect combo for this gig. This old man even pegs his basic technique, explaining why his wood element is so good for farming. Our boy is internally screaming, knowing the real prize is just moments away. And there it is, King Yunzi officially offers to make him a disciple. Su-zing practically dives into a bow, accepting before the old man can change his mind. His first welcome gift is an immortal farming art that King Yunzi himself could not master in a millennium, which he just hands over like it is no big deal. Su-zing's brain immediately translates that into a cool 100,000 system points. This second gift is the asterisk entire freaking dungeon asterisk, a personal, portable, blessed land. And he just bonks our boy on the head to transfer ownership. A third gift is announced, and Su-zing is just trying to keep his composure. It is a shiny green token for the Azure Cloud sect, making him a nominal disciple with a fast track to the big leagues. His evil little plan is working perfectly. Suzing is already counting his cash, realizing he is officially in the big leagues now. Our boy immediately starts pushing his luck, asking for pill refining techniques, and the old man just happens to have a starter kit with 360 recipes on it. With this little gadget, he figures getting rich and powerful will be a piece of cake. King Yunzi then tells him to cool his jets, saying the art he has is already S tier. Suzing panics, trying to explain he only has an asterisk fragment of the art, but Grandpa is already ascending. This leaves him wondering if that was a test or if the old man is just senile. Looks like it is another DIY quest for our boy, find the rest of the technique himself. Back in the real world, a voice calls his name under the moonlight. It is Jin Kung-soo asking what took him so long. He offers to trade a big bag of the spirit rice for some spirit stones, but she insists on splitting the reward, saying it is only fair since he did all the work. Our boy is totally thrown by this, not sure how to react. She then offers a compromise, just walk her back to the city as payment. And accompanying her back apparently leads to a hotel room with a very large bed. She is changed into something a lot more comfortable, asking if she can help him with anything. Suzing, however, puts on his glasses, looking completely serious, which just confuses her. A quick system check confirms that 7 days in the dungeon meant 7 days passed out here too. Then he just gets up and says he is going to the restroom, leaving her completely bewildered. And she is left wondering if her whole plan failed because he does not like the color red, a true tragedy. Suzing, on the toilet of all places, fires up a new simulation, and the system blesses him with the Mr. Strong talent for body refining. Outside, Jin Kung-soo is knocking, wondering what is taking him so long. He just manages a quick no, before opening the door, finding her looking very concerned and very much in a nightgown. After a romantic dinner, she suggests he should probably take a bath, and she is not exactly being subtle, grabbing his hand at the table. Which leads to her pinning him on the bed, asking for dessert. A week of this peaceful life passes in a flash, leaving our boy completely drained and needing wolfberries just to keep up. But on the bright side, he can finally get back to the real grind, the simulation. He dives right back into his personal mystic realm, ready to level up, figuring that with his own spirit rice, progress will be way faster now. This first bite is apparently 5-star restaurant delicious, sending him into a full-on food-induced ecstasy. So begins a montage of him farming and eating like a champ, just absolutely demolishing massive bowls of rice every single day. This supercarb diet pays off with a massive breakthrough to the bone-forging realm. Back in reality, he is amazed. A week in the sim did what used to take him years. He realizes the rice was great, but the real MVP was the Mr. Strong talent he needs to claim. This simulation kicks off, showing his future as a cultivation-obsessed dungeon guide for junior girls, and apparently the perks of being a high-level senior are pretty great. In this timeline, his buddy Fatty is even paying back loans, a true sign he has made it. This guy is just floored that Suzing has already earned a cool 50 million. Then Fatty passes on a message. Wang Qingshuan wants to meet him in the woods tonight. Instead of stopping her from joining that shady organization, he just tells her to be careful. That night, they end up practicing some new cultivation moves in the forest. Suzing is just smugly thinking how his plan to get the complete Changchun art is working perfectly. After she leaves, 2 years of grinding in the spirit field fly by, getting him to level 7. By the 3rd year of the simulation, he is already at the 9th level of bone forging. But in year 4, he hits a massive bottleneck, completely stuck at the peak of the realm. He realizes the spirit rice is not potent enough anymore and he needs a major upgrade. This leads to him absolutely wrecking the old man's hut looking for better seeds, even tripping over a chicken. Finally, after all that chaos, he finds a mysterious sack. A quick look at the instructions reveals it is for white jade ginseng, a top-tier spirit plant. This only problem is the 10-year grow time, and his face says it all. He is furious, realizing it'll mature right as the apocalypse hits. Talk about bad timing. Since that is a bust, he pivots to a new idea. If plants can evolve, why not animals? He starts feeding spirit rice to a bunch of chicks, and the survivors get a massive power boost. Just as he is deep in his weird chicken experiment, Wang Qingshuan returns with the first part of the immortal art. She hands over the art, saying she just wants to join his organization. Suzing plays the part of a big shot, claiming he has the authority to recommend her. A grateful hug seals the deal. His master plan is going off without a hitch. Their first stop is the Advent Church, which looks exactly as shady as it sounds. A voice from the shadows tells them to come on in. Inside a very dark hall, a robed elder is waiting to meet the new recruit. Suzing's first impression of the guy's voice is he a eunuch? Always keeping it classy. While Wang Qingshuan serves him tea, he maintains his cool, confident facade. This elder then begins the official welcome speech for their little club, and their doctrine is to wipe out humanity for alien gods, which earns a massive spit take. This guy is dead serious, ranting that humans are trash and aliens are the true gods. Our boy is just trying to figure out if he is in a cultivation story or a cosmic horror novel now. He gets one last chance to back out before committing to the crazy. But Suzing is so thirsty for that technique, he will join any cult to get it. This elder explains he can earn the art by doing missions or offering treasures. A light bulb goes off in his head. His spirit rice might just be the perfect bribe. He whips out a bag, and the elder is stunned he actually possesses such a thing. But then that elder vanishes, replaced by a new one with some very unfriendly-looking goons. This friendly chat immediately turns into an interrogation with Su Xing tied to a cross. He refuses to spill his secrets and gets tortured to death, another fantastic simulation run. As he dies, his Dying with Regrets talent activates, a truly uplifting name, and the Elder stomps his face into the ground for daring to dream big. His minions, meanwhile, are just fawning over how wise their boss is for it. Back in reality, Su Xing is clutching his head, the simulation a total failure. This system officially boots him out, leaving him to process that fresh trauma. He feels like he has seen that robed guy before, but the reward screen pops up to distract him. His options are a new talent, cultivation levels, or 5 second-generation spirit chickens. Deciding to table his revenge on the Advent Church, he focuses on the loot. It is a real shame he can only pick one prize from this awesome list. He ultimately settles on the Mr. Strong talent for body refining. With this, he is sure his next simulation will be a massive success, but a quick check shows he is almost out of energy points and needs to make money fast. So he calls up the one person he knows who has cash to burn, Jin Kung-soo. Their meeting place is, of course, a super luxe hotel. She is waiting for him, asking if he really wants to sell 50 caddies of his spirit rice. Su Xing confirms, asking her to give him a price. She just offers to lend him the money instead if he is that desperate. Our boy, ever the opportunist, asks if she can spot him 50 million. To his absolute shock, she just says sure, and he spits out his water. Turns out her grandpa's the richest man around and 50 mil is nothing. She asks what he needs all that cash for, and he just hands her a shopping list. Su Xing then warns her to keep her spirit rice since treasure just brings trouble. He is really just trying to keep the Psycho Advent Church from targeting her, and she just quietly agrees, completely trusting his judgment. Finally, back in his own room, Su Xing greets his one true love, his bed. He promptly collapses, his soul literally leaving his body over his new $50 million debt. This kid's already brainstorming how to monetize his spirit chickens to pay it all back. But before any rash moves, it is time to fire up another simulation. This time, the system grants him Indomitable, a talent for unbreakable willpower. A willpower buff sounds pretty good for the long grind ahead. This simulation's goal is to make cash, so he starts by raiding his master's leftovers. He finds recipes for abstinence pills and beauty pills, basically diet and anti-aging drugs. Our boy immediately sees the market, one for dieters, the other for rich old ladies. With literal dollar signs in his eyes, he decides to get cooking right away. First step in any good alchemy session is to preheat the furnace. Su Xing whips out a Zippo lighter with the confidence of a 5-star chef. That little lighter makes contact with the furnace's fuel, and the whole thing detonates in a massive fireball. Covered in soot, he concedes that maybe a Bic lighter is not standard alchemy gear. Turns out he needs a whole separate leaf fire art just to light the stove. Talk about complicated. Determined to pay off his debt, Su Xing starts diligently studying the leaf fire formula. During his training, Wang Qingshuan drops by for a visit, and after a night together, she officially joins that doomsday cult. 2 years into the simulation, he is finally getting the hang of pyromancy. And 6 years later, he is a full-blown fire master. Just look at that smug face. This new fire incinerates everything but cannot even singe him, giving him his first real offensive technique in this timeline. Now he is wondering what kind of cash cow pills he can cook up with it, so he devotes himself completely to the alchemy grind. But in year 7, tragedy strikes. He has to attend his sister's funeral. Afterward, it is straight back to the furnace, successfully popping out his first batch of pills. This abstinence pills are a success, but the real money is in the beauty pills, which of course are way harder to make. It takes him another 3 years, but he finally nails the formula for it. Naturally, he is his own first customer, ready for a miracle glow-up. But after taking it, he looks in the mirror and sees absolutely nothing. Then he feels a strange rumbling from down below, and a literal flower sprouts out of his pants, not exactly the beauty he was going for. Our boy is absolutely horrified, making a mad dash for the outhouse, where he is left completely traumatized by his explosive botanical experience. But after the trauma passes, he looks in the mirror and realizes he is flawless. His new plan: remove the explosive side effect and sell these things to rich ladies. So he sets up a meeting with Jin Kung-soo, presenting his miracle pill. She is skeptical, asking if it can really reverse aging. Su Xing just gives her a smug look, asking when he has ever lied to her. Convinced enough, she decides to try one on the spot, and she immediately starts glowing like a human disco ball, which was not in the product description. This light fades, revealing a visibly younger and more vibrant version of her. He holds up a mirror and she is absolutely stunned by the results. She is back in her 20s and the pill worked way better than he expected. This gets her so excited she offers to buy his entire stock for 100 million per pill. Su Xing is just floored by that number, 100 million. She is desperate, demanding to buy every single one he has left, and our boy has to awkwardly admit he ate the only prototype. Whoops. She is practically begging him to mass produce them, and he just plays it cool. This simulation then jumps forward in time, showing a new girl on campus. She runs up to him and he recognizes her. It is Wang Qingshuan. Turns out she dropped out of school again to join her doomsday cult, and he did not stop her. A few years later, she is returned as a powerful grandmaster, and she is holding a scroll, likely the next piece of the immortal art he wants. Wang Qingshuan hands over the scroll, saying she just wants to join the cult. Inside, she introduces Su Xing to an elder who immediately brings up a mission. Our boy plays it cool, telling the guy to just spit it out. This mission's a big one, so she tries to get him an easier starting gig instead. This masked elder just agrees, telling her to manage her own recruit. After thanking him, she is clearly worried about the mission's insane difficulty. Turns out the job is to betray humanity to the demon race, casual treason. Later that night, she has him completely wrapped around her finger. She admits it is a suicide mission and does not want him taking that risk. Su-Zing just wants to know why she'd join a doomsday cult in the first place. Her only answer is that she is trapped and has no other way out. Then she tells him to get some sleep before meeting the rest of the leadership. He is left just trying to process this absolute mess of a situation. This simulation hits a dead end. He realizes he is not getting any more info from her. So it is back to the money grind, yelling about ginseng prices going through the roof. He quickly deduces the Advent Church is stocking up for a massive war. Feeling powerless, he channels that anxiety into making a budget-friendly beauty pill. And what do you know, the alchemy genius pulls it off, ready for mass production. With his new cash cow ready, he sprints off to find his favorite investor. But a grim look and a ringing bell means something terrible is about to happen. This simulation flashes back to his master's funeral, a grim reminder of his failure. And he is left wondering when he will ever uncover the truth of the apocalypse. Right before a masked figure calls him a traitor and attacks from behind, Su-Zing recognizes the guy's eye. It is Elder Zong from the Jin family. This elder lunges forward, ready to end this little rebellion for good. And with one clean strike, our boy is dead, assassinated by his investor's own clan. This simulation abruptly ends, leaving him to stare at the game over screen again. His reward options are amazing, including the fire formula he just mastered, but he is having a full-on meltdown because he wants 2 prizes, not 1. Our boy literally tries to bully the system into giving him more loot, and the system actually offers an upgrade that lets him take 2 rewards for 500,000 points. Su-Zing immediately suspects he has a secret wish fulfillment talent, because of course he does. Deciding to bet it all, he screams YOLO and buys the expensive upgrade. This simulator 2 boots up, ready for him to claim his double prize. He grabs both the indomitable talent and the Lee Fire formula, feeling like a god. But a quick glance at his points balance brings him crashing back to reality. He is broke again. So he calls Jin Kung-Soo to sell some rice, trying to sound like he has it all together, only to collapse on the floor, absolutely crushed by whatever she said. Turns out she just sent him 20 million, telling him to use it. Sugar mommy mode activated. Su-Zing is so moved he is kissing her leg, crying about the joy of being a kept man. Su-Zing is absolutely losing his mind over his new sugar mommy funds. Now flush with cash, he is ready to fire up another simulation for alchemy secrets, but not before daydreaming about his own glow-up from the beauty pill. 1 week later, it is back to the grind and the system grants him unending luck. This new talent is basically a passive income buff. He is thrilled. This sim's goal is alchemy mastery, so he gets right back to the furnace. And what do you know, his spirit chickens are suddenly hatching with a much higher survival rate. His pill-making success rate is also through the roof, popping out top-grade product. Time to call his favorite investor, teasing her about a mysterious new item. He calls it a source of ultimate pleasure. This kid's sales pitch needs work. She immediately gets the wrong idea, getting all flustered over the phone. Then she promises to come over that night, leaving him to frantically correct the misunderstanding. He finally clarifies they are rich woman's happy pills, a much less scandalous product. Just like in the last sim, she is blown away and agrees to auction them off. This auction is an absolute frenzy, with bids skyrocketing into the millions. After they all sell, he is just kneeling before a mountain of cash, completely stunned. Our boy is literally swimming in money, feeling like he has finally made it. And this, my friends, is the face of a man who can finally pay his bills. With his newfound wealth, he immediately packs a suitcase and bolts. Turns out the demand from rich ladies is so intense, he is running back to school for safety. His trip back to campus was, shall we say, not exactly a peaceful one, starting with him immediately face-planting into a random pit, only to be caught by a very forward young lady, who is way more interested in his contact info than his well-being. This demand for his beauty pills has turned into a literal tug-of-war, forcing our boy to flee a mob of desperate women just to reach his dorm. He finally makes it back, completely exhausted from his newfound fame. Now safe, this simulation has him focusing on pill refining to reach the next cultivation realm. But the news of his sister's death hits him again, driving him deeper into seclusion. His first attempt at a breakthrough involves an exploding chicken, not a great sign. Su-Zing realizes brute force is not going to work this time, and a quick look at his notes reveals he needs a special 5-organ pill, which requires an ingredient that takes 3 years to grow, so it is farmer time. 3 years later, he is absolutely ripped and has a field of glowing immortal essence. With the ingredients finally ready, he gets back to the furnace with his leaf fire. And the whole thing immediately blows up in his face again, leaving him a soot-covered mess, complaining about how hard this is. But he refuses to give up, convinced every failure is just a learning experience. He's getting seriously frustrated since he can make other advanced pills no problem. So why is this one specific recipe giving him so much trouble? He realizes the failed explosions left behind a useful power-up powder. Days later, while he is deep in meditation, someone knocks at his door, and it is none other than Jin Kung-Soo's father, here for a friendly chat. Su-Zing tries to play host, but the old man cuts right to the chase with 2 grim points. First up, his daughter is dead, a piece of news that hits Su-Zing like a recurring nightmare. Barely processing that, he just asks what the second point is, and her dad pulls out one of his slimming pills asking if he is the creator. This guy then demands to buy his entire stock, no questions asked, but gets all shifty-eyed when Su-Zing asks what for. Our boy bluffs that he is low on stock, forcing the old man to spill the beans. Turns out humanity is losing a massive war against the demon race, and his diet pills are needed to keep soldiers on the front lines without food breaks. Su-Zing is just floored. Things are so bad they cannot even stop for lunch. He agrees to make more, telling the guy to come back in 3 days for the delivery. With the deal made, he is left wondering what the hell is actually happening at that pass. His intuition screams that this is his chance to find the truth, so he decides to go all in. 3 days later, the father returns with a literal chest of gold bars, but Su-Zing turns down the cash, much to the old man's confusion. Instead, he offers the pills as a gift in exchange for a meeting with top military brass. This father agrees to make the request, though he cannot promise anything, and the plan is set. Su-Zing gets a ride from Jin Kung-Su's dad, who is being super cryptic about the destination, and then the old man hands him a blindfold, totally not sketchy at all. Our boy just goes with it, tying it on without a single complaint. In the car, he is wondering who could possibly be this important, but hey, it is a sim, right? After a tense drive, the luxury car finally rolls to a stop. Su-Zing pulls off the blindfold, ready to see what this is all about, and it turns out they are at the People's Altar, basically the nation's VIP lounge. A powerful voice immediately summons him inside telepathically, definitely an Emperor-level cultivator. At the entrance, Jin Kung-Su's father says his part of the escort mission is done, so Su-Zing cautiously pushes open the doors, stepping into the lion's den, and he is absolutely floored by who is waiting for him inside. It is Liu Yuanwu, a top military leader who already knows all about his provision pills. Su-Zing plays it cool, inviting the general to take a seat like he owns the place. This general muses on how a simple slimming pill became a vital war supply, but he is not here to chat about the war. He wants the formula, and he wants it now. Su-Zing hands it over, but with a catch: they cannot make it without his special rice. He will give them the formula for free, but only if they tell him the truth about the demon suppression pass. This is personal. He needs to know how his family and Kung-Su really died. This general agrees to the deal, stressing this information is top secret. Suddenly, they are at the pass itself, and Su-Zing is shocked to see his own university classmates there. Su-Zing observes his classmates are only master rank, which is not exactly an elite force. And the general grimly confirms his assessment is spot on. Turns out the situation is so bad that nearly all the grandmasters at the pass are dead. This gut punch comes when he learns his family and Kung-Su all died behind that very barrier. So he is ordered to stay put and just be the pill-refining support staff, no heroics allowed. But the system points out that knowing the truth has brought him zero comfort, because what he really wants is to see the battlefield for himself. He tries to leave for a walk, only to be blocked by 2 guys in suits, his new babysitters. And yeah, the "I just got lost" excuse does not fly with these two, so it is back to the lab where he cooks up a little something special from his furnace. Feeling like an absolute genius with his brand new purple escape tools. Outside, the guards hear a commotion and panic, thinking something happened to him. They burst in just in time to get a face full of his latest creation, which unleashes some kind of purple energy that knocks them right out. With his minders down for the count, Su-Zing makes a run for it. Now fully kitted out in tactical gear, he is ready to uncover the truth, and he steps right through the shimmering barrier into the danger zone. What he finds on the other side leaves him completely speechless. A colossal demon is tearing the place apart, and the system warns him he is not ready for this fight. Luckily, a team of old masters is already on it, shouting out the demon's weak point. This masters are swarming the demon, who seems to be having the time of its life. Its defenses are insane, just swatting away attacks like they are nothing. This lead elder orders a full retreat. This is clearly not going well. This demon even grabs a guy just to gloat mid-fight, real classy. But the captured fighter just smirks back with a classic "no you." And boom, the demon's eye explodes. A surprise attack from the inside. Seeing his chance, the elder rallies the troops for a counterassault. They unleash a massive combined attack, finally doing some real damage. Even with its face shredded, the monster just laughs it off, claiming it is immortal. Vowing revenge for his fallen students, the old master dives in for the kill, and lands a perfect strike right through its skull. This demon grabs the sword, promising to drag the old man down with it. It finally collapses, but Su-Zing sees the battlefield littered with bodies. He realizes this is exactly how his sister and friends must have died. General Liu Yuanwu appears behind him, speaking of the great loss. This general just tells him to go home, that his part in this is over. Back in his lab, Su-Zing understands the pass has already fallen and the nation is next. Fueled by grief, he begins the final refinement process with a hand sign. He successfully creates the 5-organ pill, looking grimly satisfied. Without a moment's hesitation, he swallows it to force his breakthrough. And just like that, he explodes instantly. Well, that was a short breakthrough. This simulation ends, offering up a menu of pricey new skills. Back in reality, Su-Zing is horrified he got taken out by his own pill. But the system clarifies the refinement was perfect, he just could not handle the juice. It clicks: the 3-year-old ingredient made the pill lethally potent for his current body. So he decides to upgrade his alchemy skills for a safer approach next time. A huge chunk of his points vanishes as he buys both a talent and the new art. His mind then flashes back to the simulation where he finally reached the pass, leaving him burdened with the knowledge that the world has only 15 years left. Turns out those giant monsters were always there, just waiting behind the barrier. And he refuses to be the dunce who fails to save everyone. Meanwhile, a new client is admiring her brand new, wrinkle-free face. And this very wealthy woman is thrilled, claiming she feels 20 again. Our boy cheekily dubs it the rich woman's happy pill, ready to talk business. And her response is a cool 100 million transferred straight to his account. Not stopping there, she offers to buy all his stock for 10 million a pill. Our boy is shook. Suzing is brought to tears, finally experiencing the power of being obscenely wealthy. When he warns her the effects do not stack, she coyly says they are not all for her. She then leans in close, reminding him her family name is Jin. That is when it hits him. This is how he learned about Jin Kung-Su's family. She confirms she is the sole heir to the entire Jin Merchant Guild. And yeah, she's got the power, posture, and cash to prove it. Her plan is not to use the pills, but to auction them off for a massive profit. But Suzing suddenly hits the brakes, saying he does not want any more money. He wants her to use his new fortune to buy thousands of pieces of basic equipment. Our boy is practically begging, insisting he needs it all, no questions asked. She agrees, but warns him a shopping spree that huge is going to attract official attention. So she pitches a plan, form a merchant association to buy low-grade gear and trade up. Suzing loves it, immediately naming their new venture the Tarot Club So Edgy. With business settled, she clears her throat, ready for the other part of the negotiation. Her foot suddenly lands on his lap, signaling a major vibe shift. She leans in close, suggesting they should probably get to know each other better, and Suzing just teleports away, leaving her to handle the logistics alone. She is left yelling at the empty space where her new business partner just was. This woman is absolutely fuming, calling him heartless for using her and ghosting. Back in his dorm, Suzing boots up the system, finally rich enough for the new immersive simulation mode. He buys a new talent and gets magnificent bearing, basically a passive charisma buff. Our guy immediately demands a refund, screaming that being handsome will not stop an apocalypse. This system reminds him he died last time because the pill was too strong for his body. So for this next attempt, he has wisely decided to cut the ingredient's potency in half. So in the new sim, Suzing is back on the grind, refining his body and raising his little chicken army. This system confirms he has once again maxed out his bone-forging level. He is practically glowing with power, ready for the big breakthrough. But now it is time for the pill that literally exploded him last time, so he is a bit spooked. He even considers letting Jin Kung-Su test it first, a true hero right there. Instead, he decides to fortify his body more, turning to his only available protein source. His poor chickens are having a collective heart attack. Suzing threatens them with knives, demanding eggs or it is soup for dinner. This guy's motivational tactics are straight out of a horror film, and it totally works. The terrified chickens deliver the goods. Turns out Jin Kung-Su's mom tested the pill for him and wants to pass it to General Liu. She finds it hilarious he calls the nation's top general Old Man Liu. This general gets the pill, realizing it could be a game changer for the coming war. With that objective complete, Suzing starts a new training regimen, eating spirit eggs. He is frying them up, hoping to build a body that will not detonate on contact with the pill. Our boy looks way too pleased with his perfectly cooked apocalypse prevention breakfast. Mid-snack, a portal opens and Jin Kung-Su's voice calls out to him. He answers the summons, stepping right through the portal out of his dorm. On the other side, he cautiously opens a door and is immediately floored by whatever fresh hell is waiting for him. It is Jin Kung-Su with a squad of officials, and she has got no time for small talk. She just grabs Suzing and makes a run for it, zero warning, all action. Their ride is a helicopter because subtlety is for people who are not saving the world. This two of them sprint across the rooftop toward their very dramatic exit. Suzing is completely lost, asking why this whole situation requires air support. She smugly informs him his little pill was a massive success. And our boy gets this look that just screams, I am a goddamn genius. They arrive at the ridiculously named People's Temple of Heaven. A whole welcome committee is waiting for them as they disembark. Inside, a top chief confirms his pill gives masters a 50% power boost. This old man cuts right to the chase. How many can you pump out a month? Suzing's answer of 200 means they can create 2 grandmasters monthly. This chief is absolutely beaming, calling it a game changer for all of humanity. As a reward, he is offered third sequence privileges if he maintains production. Suzing is floored, pointing out that even General Liu is only second sequence. Turns out he has just been promoted to humanity's #1 VIP, and he is still processing. Wasting no time, he uses his new clout to ask about immortal cultivation sites. Jin Kung-Su knows exactly what he is talking about, confirming he means spirit fields. This chief admits they exist but are classified with no coordinates to give out. So Suzing makes a deal. He will keep the pills flowing if they give him the data. Suzing's mind is set on finding more immortal cultivation sites. 3 days later, a massive stack of classified documents lands on his desk. Jin Kung-Su drops off the files, telling him to enjoy the light reading. Back in his room, Suzing immediately dumps a fortune into the immersive simulation. This system confirms the hefty purchase, and our boy is ready to get to work. He is now inside the simulation, physically touching the top secret data. This first folder he opens is stamped with a very encouraging blood red warning. And whatever he is reading is clearly not the good news he was hoping for. This system flags the Blood Demon Grotto as a 4-star nightmare zone. He is immediately transported to a hellscape that just screams, you will die here. This report confirms it is a meat grinder where even top-tier masters get annihilated. Now he understands why these dungeons are classified. They are suicide missions. This simulation even shows previous explorers running for their lives from the entrance. Inside are bloodthirsty disciples who hunt anyone who dares to step foot in their territory. They also have magical treasures that can track practitioners anywhere, no hiding. Suzing realizes this means anyone who enters is basically guaranteed to die. But then it clicks: if there is a report, someone must have survived to write it. He frantically flips through the pages looking for the survivor's name. And there he is, a lone swordsman named Xiang Shu, the original informant. His new plan is simple: find this legend and get the walkthrough. Suzing admits he is way too weak for a 4-star death trap, so he starts hunting for a dungeon that will not instantly kill him. This first option is a 2-star Luotian convention, low risk, low reward. Turns out it is a time loop dungeon, trapping players in a single day. Everyone gets to relive the glorious annual convention over and over. You possess the body of some poor schmuck named Luo Ziaochuan. And the catch is you cannot take anything out except memories. But Suzing knows memories of ancient techniques are priceless. Still, he puts it aside looking for something even better. And he finds a 1-star dungeon, even lower difficulty, which is just his speed. This one's set in a Dharma-ending age where spiritual energy is gone. With no resources, everyone is stuck at the basic level. Hey, that sounds familiar. But 3 ancient sects there still hold onto immortal techniques. Suzing's eyes light up. This is the jackpot for a beginner like him. He even spots a sect name that might be linked to his own skills. A system alert yanks him out of his research. Only 10 minutes left. He immediately calls Chief Lu, demanding coordinates for both dungeons. This chief explains one of them was closed 3 years ago, so it is useless. Suzing plays it cool, knowing the simulation's past is his reality's future. With the coordinates secured, he feels his massive investment was totally worth it. With his research done, Suzing's simulation time runs out. He wakes up in his bed, absolutely triumphant after that info-gathering session. Wasting no time, he grabs his phone to save the dungeon coordinates. He knows he is still too weak to enter, deciding to level up first for safety. So it is right back into the simulation for another round of pill refining. After gorging on spirit eggs, his body is maxed out, but his chi cultivation has stalled. He pulls up his cultivation manual, trying to debug his own power level, and then it hits him a sudden, critical realization. This realm just does not have enough spiritual energy for his next breakthrough. He remembers a recipe for a yuan nourishing pill and starts frantically searching for the main ingredient. Bingo, he finds the exact magical herb he needs. His indomitable talent activates, giving him a buff for the alchemy grind. After several simulated years of trial and error, he finally succeeds. This new pill is way gentler than the one that literally made him explode, so that is a plus. He pops one and a stream of pure golden energy flows right out of him. Our boy is glowing like a sun, feeling an endless surge of power. His cultivation level is the same, but his actual strength has multiplied several times over. He is already seeing himself as some legendary, untouchable master. His next breakthrough should put him on the same level as a master rank practitioner. And with that, he is finally ready to raid that Dharma-ending age dungeon. 12 years into the simulation, Suzing is on the verge of a major breakthrough. After 3 months of non-stop pill refining, he is finally ready to ascend. His spiritual energy is overflowing, practically buzzing with raw power. This guy's body is literally a universe now, consolidating all that energy. He feels a thunderous crackle as his cultivation shatters its old limits, and then a massive golden beam erupts from him. The level up is official. Even the landscape is feeling the aftershocks of his power-up. Suzing snaps out of it, feeling like a god who just rewrote his own destiny. Now that he is gold tier, making pills is as easy as breathing for him. His timely pill delivery completely turns the tide of the war at the front lines. For a brief moment, Suzing gets to enjoy a sky free of giant monsters. Just as he is basking in his success, the universe decides to drop the other shoe. An old chief sprints over, screaming that something terrible happened to Jin Kung Su. She is not dead, but she is so badly injured she will be out of commission for years. With his ally down, Suzing realizes the fight is far from over. He immediately hands over a shopping list for healing potion ingredients. Next thing you know, he is running a full-blown alchemy sweatshop to supply the army. His potions are saving lives left and right on the battlefield, but it is not enough. 3 years later, he finds the chief looking defeated and asks what is going on. This old man just tells him the pass has fallen and he needs to run for his life. Suzing is horrified. All his pill-making only delayed the apocalypse by 1 month. He desperately asks the chief how they can possibly win against the demons, and the old man's answer is basically, we cannot unless a miracle happens. Their only real shot is if humanity somehow manages to produce a warrior on the level of an actual god, no pressure or anything. Right on cue, a giant monster shows up to prove his point. This chief orders Suzing to run and hide while he makes a final stand, declaring he is going down with the ship, a true patriot to the bitter end. With a final battle cry, he charges straight at the city-sized lizard, which prepares to unleash a world-ending laser beam in response. Suzing can only watch as the last defenders face total annihilation, and the monster's attack just vaporizes everything in its path, sending bodies flying as the final defense is completely shattered. A single token clatters to the ground, a symbol of their utter defeat, which has Suzing thinking about that whole god-level powerhouse requirement. His new plan: test if he can just hide out in a spirit field to survive. So he runs the simulation again, this time trying to escape the beast. but a massive roar creates a swirling vortex of raw power, and the system cheerfully informs him he's been torn to pieces by spatial turbulence. Back in reality, he realizes his brilliant escape plan is completely useless. After that grim simulation, Su-Xing gets to pick his rewards from a system menu. He immediately dismisses the magnificent bearing talent. Charisma is for people who cannot punch hard enough. Instead, he cashes in for 10 years of pill-making experience and a gold-tier cultivation base. This system tells him to remain conscious during the power download, which is never reassuring. And sure enough, his body immediately feels like it is being flash-fried in a volcano. Something deep within him feels like it is about to erupt. In a vision, a massive golden tree of pure spiritual energy sprouts from a mountain, which then blooms with thousands of brilliant glowing flowers, and those flowers condense into a single, perfect golden fruit. Our boy is absolutely euphoric, feeling the power of a gold-tier core forming inside him. This system has to snap him out of it, basically telling him to stop enjoying the high and actually focus. So he gets serious, meditating to consolidate all that wild energy. His eyes are now blazing with golden light. The power-up is taking hold. A perfect, stable golden core finally solidifies within him. Back in reality, he opens his eyes to find a vortex of blue energy swirling in his hand, which promptly explodes into a massive spiritual cyclone, lifting him into the air. But the raw power is way too much for him to handle, and he realizes even a true gold-tier master would struggle with this. If he does not get this under control, the entire university is about to be wiped off the map, forcing him to desperately try and wrestle the raging energy back into submission. Su-Xing desperately tries to contain the raw power he just unlocked. He barely manages to rein it in, saving his dorm from becoming a smoking crater, which is good because terrorist is a bad look on a college application. Now he is just marveling at his own strength, calling regular leveling systems child's play. A single simulation just made him a gold-tier cultivator, talk about a shortcut. But a fiery vision reminds him of the real threat still out there. He tells himself to stay humble since he is nowhere near strong enough to stop the apocalypse. Pulling up his stats, he notices a brand new skill called Spirit Bomb Art, and it clicks. The system literally turned his near disaster into an official technique. This means he can invent his own skills, giving him infinite possibilities for destruction. He imagines himself effortlessly slicing through demons with his custom-made attacks. With enough energy, he can spam these new moves with zero cooldown, completely broken. His thoughts then drift to the Advent Church, needing a technique they hold. So he fires up a new simulation, ready to do some light infiltration. In this run, he follows his contact straight into the church's headquarters, where a hooded member immediately tells him to prove he is not trash. Su-Xing calmly accepts the challenge, a swirl of energy already in his hand. His test involves stabbing an elder and then instantly healing him with a pill. This guy is completely floored by the quality of his alchemy, and just like that, Su-Xing is welcomed in and put in charge of their pill development. Su-Xing is officially an elder, but the real prize, the treasury, is still locked away. Then a hooded member dangles the key right in front of him for a price, of course. Apparently, his high-quality healing pills are a massive hit with the cultists. This deal is simple. Cook up 1,000 pills in 6 months and he gets access to the treasury. He immediately asks if he can use all their premium ingredients, a plan already forming in that greedy little head of his. And of course, he has been skimming off the top, embezzling most of the herbs for himself. He hands over the required pills, looking like a model employee while hiding his stash. Meanwhile, he is secretly using their 5-star resources to level up his own alchemy game. These herbs are so good they can even boost his spiritual sense, a total game changer. He even notes the church's stash is way better than what the actual army has. 6 months later, the hooded figure returns, confirming he passed the test. Internally, Su-Xing is screaming with joy. He is finally getting into the vault, but their little field trip takes them through a creepy forest, not a hallway. He questions why the treasury is not, inside the church. This guide hits him with a bombshell who said the treasury was even in this world, and Su-Xing's brain just short-circuits with the implications of that statement. Because their treasury is actually inside a whole other dimensional dungeon. It all clicks. The Advent Church are not just traitors, they are from another world entirely. His guide adds that the dungeon could vanish at any moment, which is not at all concerning. Back in reality, Su-Xing is just flipping off the memory of that pretentious non-answer. Back in reality, Su-Xing decides to dive right back into another simulation. It'll cost him 100,000 points, but he is ready to go undercover again. He is back at the interdimensional treasury, which looks even crazier up close. His hooded guide tells him to get a move on, no time for sightseeing, and with that, the guide just jumps straight into the swirling vortex. Su-Xing follows right behind, a smug little smirk on his face, leading them up a massive staircase into this strange new world. He is marveling at the clean environment, a stark contrast to his polluted earth, which prompts his guide to ask if he'd like to join the nature faction. She explains the Advent Church is not a monolith, it is split into factions. There is the nature faction, the fanatic faction, and the coexistence faction. These fanatics are basically a death cult, eager to sacrifice humanity for their god. Su-Xing is visibly creeped out by the humanity is sin extremists, and learns the coexistence faction wants to save at least some humans, but his guide scoffs, calling them naive fools for thinking humans are worthy. In reality, Su-Xing knows the coexistence group is humanity's only shot, but they are weak. So back in the sim, he plays along and asks about her faction. She preaches about pursuing the world's most original natural side, whatever that means. Suzing just thinks it sounds vague but at least less insane than the death cult, and she takes this as a yes, inviting him to abandon the inferior human race with her. Suzing is just trying to process her inferior race comment and his brain is not having it. She goes on a whole rant about humans being nature's butchers while her master race is pure and perfect. And by pure and perfect, she means a terrifying skeletal monster surrounded by purple death orbs. Then she gets way too close, whispering that humanity needs to get closer to her masters. Suddenly she grabs him, a flash of light erupting between them, revealing she's got a bunch of tentacles under that robe, which is a massive red flag, and those tentacles are now wrapped right around his stomach. As she explains, this is a gift of new organs from her alien god. She invites him to get his own set of Cthulhu guts, and he is just screaming internally. Our boy's thinking this whole faction is completely unhinged. No wonder the church was a mental hospital. He tries to play it cool, saying he is not worthy yet, but she promises to find him a body anyway. Desperate to change the subject, he asks about the treasury and she just points the way, which leads them down a ridiculously shiny golden hall, making him wonder if he is in some secret paradise. He is absolutely floored by the loot, but she scoffs that this is just their pocket change. His guide introduces him to a new guy, Protector Long, as the new elder here to shop. Protector Long just gives a grunt of acknowledgement, clearly not impressed. When Suzing gawks at all the gold, she calls them mere worldly items. Their real valuables are ancient texts and gear, a collection she claims rivals the entire nation's treasury. It finally hits Suzing just how screwed humanity is, fighting both monsters and this ridiculously rich death cult. So when she asks what he wants, he tells her to take him to the ancient texts section. Suzing is completely overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the cult's library. His guide basically tells him to go nuts in the ancient texts section, and he immediately starts hunting for some top-tier cultivation techniques, only to pull a book about an elder and her 108 boyfriends, which he slams shut with the force of 1,000 suns. This next few titles are just as bad, basically a how-to guide for scandalous affairs, and our boy starts to seriously question if this is a holy site or just the cult's romance novel collection. But hey, for academic purposes, he decides to keep looking. He picks up another book, assuming it is just more high-level gossip, getting pretty ticked off that he wasted his time in a trashy bookstore. But when he opens it, he finds a manual on pill condensing. This is exactly what he needed, a way to compress spiritual energy and supercharge his alchemy. This guide questions why he'd want it in a world with no spiritual energy, but Suzing explains alchemy is its own path to power. He then puts on his best model employee act, claiming he only wants to make better pills for the church. And his guide completely eats it up, praising his supposed ambition. Suzing then asks for another technique but gets hit with a massive paywall. He cannot afford it. He is stunned by the price, which is 100 times more than the first part cost. Apparently, the fanatic faction hoards all the good immortal cultivation techniques and jacks up the prices. This gets him thinking, if they have these techniques, are they immortal cultivators too? He immediately shuts that idea down, because if the system said he is the only one, then the fanatics are getting their power from somewhere else entirely. He is still processing the fact that the fanatic faction is not even from this world, when his guide offers to show him the natural treasures section, which includes stuff like 100-year-old blood ginseng just sitting on a pillow, and herbs that can literally bring a dying person back to life. Suzing is just staring at a whole library of priceless ingredients, his mind completely blown. She then tells him he is the only alchemist in their faction, so it is all his for the taking, and Suzing smoothly implies he could make even better pills with these premium herbs. But there is a catch: he has to hand over 70% of everything he makes. Our boy is internally screaming with joy, since they are too dumb to know how many pills he actually makes. So he agrees to take 100 herbs and deliver 3 new pill types in half a year, also snagging that ancient text, which his guide just chalks up to his unique taste. They go to register the items with Protector Long, who immediately gives Suzing a suspicious side-eye, and calls him out, saying only a cultivator would want the pill condensing method. This Protector even identifies him as a gold-tier cultivator, knowing the book's true value. Suzing's face just falls. He was careless, and now his cover is blown. Protector Long demands to know who he is and how he got so powerful in this age, leaving Suzing sweating, realizing this guy can see his cultivation base. This Protector gets right in his face, demanding to know where his spirit energy comes from. But the guide steps in, defending him by saying he could not possibly be gold tier without spirit stones. Protector Long suddenly blasts the guide right through the chest. Suzing can only watch in horror as Long grabs him next, and the Protector lifts him up, outing him as an immortal cultivator, demanding to know where he is hiding the world's spirit energy, leaving our boy completely helpless, getting choked out by this maniac. Back in reality, the simulation abruptly ends. The system had to step in, because Protector Long soul searched him for 10 minutes straight, which makes Suzing wonder how he even died if his memories were blocked. And the system explains that after the search, he was just a vegetable. So Long, disgusted by the drool, just casually slapped him into oblivion. Suzing is absolutely livid, promising to destroy that entire cult of lunatics. Then he starts connecting the dots that soul search is an immortal technique, which reminds him of another cultivator, King Yunzi, from a dungeon, who once explained her sex treasury was not in a dungeon at all, but a pocket dimension refined by her master, making him realize Protector Long is basically a high-level dungeon NPC. and the guy's whole existence is just a character from a game, meaning the cult, their god, and the monsters are all dungeon-born invaders, and these psychos can even form alliances with other dimensional beings, leaving Su Xing terrified, knowing he cannot afford to mess with them ever again. Su Xing smirks, planning to use the cult's resources to make a legendary pill. And he is already picturing himself taking down some nascent soul big shot. Back in reality, he remembers his main goal. The fanatic faction has the next technique he needs, so the new plan is simple: get Protector Long's attention on purpose this time. He starts the sim and immediately rolls a new talent, Natural Divine Strength. This is perfect for body refining, letting him stabilize his current power and push even further. This simulation fast-forwards. He is already in the church, impressing the elders with his alchemy skills. An elder even hooks him up with some top-tier ingredients to speed things along, and the masked figure hands over the goods, completely unaware of Su Xing's real plan. It is time to take the pill that literally made him explode last time. No big deal, right? He downs it, and a massive wave of energy just erupts from his body. This power is so intense it shreds his clothes and leaves him screaming in agony. Every cell in his body feels like it is being burned and rebuilt from scratch, and he endures this for 7 straight days, which sounds like a terrible vacation. He just stands there under a waterfall, glowing and taking the pain like a champ. Finally, the burning stops, and he is checking out his newly chiseled abs, but then he feels something different, something new inside him. His internal organs are now glowing gold, tougher than ever before. Plus, he has gotten a serious muscle upgrade across his entire body. But our boy's not satisfied, grabbing more cult resources to push his breakthrough even further. Another week of waterfall meditation later, his organs are basically their own sentient beings. Then a massive power-up erupts, multiplying his internal strength several times over. And boom, he has officially hit the organ-tempering realm. Check out the new abs. Back in reality, Su Xing celebrates his successful training montage with a nice cold drink, feeling pretty good about his chances of finally getting that next cultivation technique. But his new power level immediately gets him noticed by Protector Zong from the Fanatic faction, who wants the Pill Elder to whip up some healing pills for him. Su Xing plays it cool, knowing one wrong move gets his soul searched again. Just then, a new elder steps in, pulling rank and telling Zong to back off her alchemist, which totally ruins his plan to get close to the Fanatics. So much for that idea. With his negotiations stalled, he is basically stuck in a political dead end, until Protector Zong just drops dead right in front of him. Well, that is one way to solve a problem. This white-robed elder, now covered in blood, dismisses his question about looting the body, and then tells Su Xing he is about to see her real face for the first time. She unmasks, revealing she is a red-haired beauty with a very intense stare, and our boy is immediately down bad, completely losing his mind over how pretty she is. She then invites him on a little trip to meet her master race, who are apparently coming to wipe out all of humanity, join or die basically. Su Xing slaps her hand away, flat out refusing to become some non-human creature, declaring that he'd much rather just stay a regular old human. Thank you very much. So refusing the elder's offer gets him eaten by a giant space worm, a solid career move. The simulation ends, confirming he died at 37, and he finally connects the dots about Elder Ying. He immediately cashes in his rewards, grabbing the organ-tempering realm and natural divine strength. Deciding this world is way too dangerous, he activates the power-up instantly. And a massive wave of energy slams right into him as he absorbs his new cultivation base. His heart starts beating like a golden drum, pumping pure power through his veins. This whole process looks less like an upgrade and more like a full-body exorcism. But our boy is absolutely loving it, feeling totally invigorated by the surge. He emerges at the 9th level of organ tempering, just one step from the next major realm. Now that he is officially jacked, it is time to find a gym and test out the new hardware. He arrives at the Academy's high-tech training center filled with some very expensive-looking machines. But of course, someone immediately recognizes him, drawing a ton of unwanted attention. This local gossip mill starts turning, calling him the kid from the trash major. And with everyone watching, Su Xing realizes he cannot just go full superhero here. So he ducks into the bathroom for a quick costume change, pulling out a mask he conveniently had. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery is wondering where their favorite loser disappeared to, when one of the girls points toward the strength machine, completely stunned, where a mysterious golden figure is absolutely demolishing the equipment. Su Xing just stands there, looking effortlessly cool after his little anonymous demonstration. And the crowd's reaction is just a collective brain melt of pure, unadulterated shock. Su Xing realizes he grabbed a beauty pill instead of a disguise one, an upgrade honestly. So he steps up to the gold rank strength machine to test out his new power, winding up for a punch with all that organ tempering might behind it, and the impact connects with a massive golden flash, completely obliterating the entire top half of the machine, leaving him to casually comment on its lack of durability. This crowd is absolutely losing it, wondering if some new master rank is here to show off. But our boy just strikes a pose, soaking in the attention. Deciding the gold rank was a joke, he moves on to the master rank machine. This time he powers up a punch with some seriously demonic-looking energy, and unleashes a blast that tears the whole room apart. This onlookers can only stare in absolute horror at the sheer destruction, as they realize even the master rank machine could not take a single hit. Then it dawns on Su Xing, he just broke expensive school property, and all that swagger immediately vanishes as he panics over the repair bill. Meanwhile, the crowd is still processing that his punch registered at Grandmaster level. Su-Zing, however, decides one test is inaccurate and he needs to hit the last machine for science. So he starts wailing on the final piece of equipment with a flurry of blows, confirming that his strength is consistently at the Grandmaster level. With his test complete, he just walks away, leaving a trail of broken machines and broken minds. As Su-Zing walks away, the onlookers debate if he used some kind of skill, but one girl insists it was just raw power from a recent breakthrough, and now they are all scrambling to post his photo online to id the new Grandmaster. Elsewhere, Su-Zing is cooling down in the woods. As the beauty pill's effects wear off, returning him to his ordinary self, the horror. He is a little confused though, since his raw strength has not jumped that much, which makes him wonder if the organ-tempering realm is about something else entirely. A quick mental review reminds him the first realm was for basic nourishment, then bone forging was all about density for a massive power spike, while organ tempering is purely for strengthening his internal organs. His heart, for example, now gives him hours of combat stamina instead of just one, and his kidneys are basically glowing batteries for his essence and chi, with his spleen working overtime to produce superblood for a steady power gain. So he figures this realm is just a transitional phase to consolidate his internals, meaning the next big strength boost will not come until the fourth realm. Now he just needs a way to test this new theory and spot some baby chicks. When a presence behind him makes his neck do a full cartoon stretch, it is some guild girl, absolutely livid. He is ignoring his duties to slack off, but her nagging just gives him a wonderfully devious idea for his verification, and he smirks, remembering how his stamina used to only last an hour. So his verification involves a very intense session with the guild girl, who seems to be having a great time with his newfound stamina. And Su-Zing's smug face confirms his hypothesis was dead on. But then she is up and ready for round 2 while his soul is literally leaving his body. Our boy is completely tapped out, begging for a truce. He now realizes he needs to be way stronger just to keep up with her. Time for a new simulation, this time with a plan to join the fanatics and get his technique. And he immediately rolls a new talent, level 10 beast language. Back in his room, he holds a little chick, finding this new skill pretty interesting. The sim starts, but as he is making pills, he hears some very audacious voices, which is weird because he is supposed to be completely alone here. Turns out it is his spirit chicken staging a coup over a stolen worm, and Su-Zing just listens in as the two tiny revolutionaries decide to fight back. Their target is some mysterious brother chicken, who they are challenging to a duel, who turns out to be a chicken that looks like a street punk with a basketball. This brother chicken and his crew confront the two upstarts, not looking too worried, then prepares to show them his true power, basketball in hand, unleashing an ultimate move that looks like a JoJo stand and a dance battle had a baby. A massive basketball hurtles toward the two tiny chicks who can only brace for the hit, and they scream in terror as their rebellion meets its very bouncy end. Su-Zing's hand descends from the heavens to shut down the chicken basketball game. He picks up the tiny tyrant, who is stunned that Su-Zing can understand chicken speak. With a demonic glare, he orders the entire coop to get back to laying eggs, and threatens the lead revolutionary with becoming dinner, which gets the point across. He successfully quells the great chicken uprising, netting some extra spirit eggs, then heads to the fanatic faction, ignoring a girl begging him not to go, where he immediately kneels before Protector Zong, offering his pill refining skills. Zong gives him a trial run, make 200 pills in a month for an elder spot, and Su-Zing internally calls him a cheapskate compared to how Elder Ying operated. Despite the grumbling, he gets the job done, firing up the alchemy furnace, and presents a massive sack of pills, much to the Protector's delight. But just as Zong is about to make him an elder, Su-Zing asks for a different reward, revealing he wants the complete Changchun art instead, the real prize. This Protector actually seems to consider it for a tense second, and then just agrees, leaving Su-Zing completely stunned by how easy that was. He is immediately suspicious, thinking there is no way this stingy old man gave him the real thing. So he tests it out right away, confirming the technique is 100% legit. Our boy is absolutely thrilled, having finally snagged his ultimate goal, and he gets a little too attached to the book, promising it eternal love, when a foot suddenly crashes through the ceiling, interrupting his weird moment. Protector Zong crashes the party, revealing he knew Su-Zing was a cultivator from the start, and the reason is a shocker: they both cultivate the exact same technique. So the interrogation begins with a whip right to the chest, as Zong tortures him, demanding to know how he is cultivating in a dead world. But Su-Zing just glares back, refusing to say a single word. Which means it is time for the fun toys, a pot full of creepy crawlies. He unleashes the goo worms, which start crawling all over our boy's body, and these are heart-devouring goo designed for maximum agony. With no spiritual energy to fight back, Su-Zing is sure this is the end, until he hears voices coming from the worms inside him. His level 10 beast language talent kicks in just as they are about to eat him from the inside out. So he just talks them into moving into his spirit field to eat cabbage instead. Problem solved. Zong is completely floored, demanding to know how he is controlling the goo, but Su-Zing's silence just enrages him, so the torture continues. Back in reality, he realizes his himself mirrors his own willpower. If he will not break, neither will it. This Protector is absolutely losing his mind over this stubbornness, deciding to switch tactics by levitating Su-Zing into the air. And his brilliant new plan is to refine him into a human pill, a classic. Zong reveals his endgame is to literally consume him to advance his own cultivation, and the sim ends, leaving Su Xing vowing to avoid this psycho at all costs. Inside the furnace, the sim confirms he's being cooked alive, totally paralyzed, and he is in agony, wishing for just a drop of spiritual energy to escape. Protector Zong, meanwhile, is monologuing about his new nourishing pill. What a psycho. Back in reality, Su Xing realizes Zong is a divinity transformation master, way out of his league. He makes a new rule, absolutely no joining the fanatics without a powerful backer. This sim also reveals Zong is an ancient cultivator from a dead world, desperate for power, which clicks for Su Xing. Zong might actually be an NPC from that Dharma-ending age dungeon. Back in the sim, our boy is literally melting into a puddle of despair. But then Zong pulls out a glowing spirit fruit to use as a primer, tossing it in while cackling about extending his own life by a century. Su Xing is at his absolute limit, accepting that this is the end. When the life-saving fruit lands right in front of his face, he recognizes it as a spirit fruit and heaven just threw him a lifeline, so without a second thought, he eats it and is flooded with spiritual energy. He immediately unleashes a massive burst of power, which is more than enough to start breaking him out of the furnace. Outside, Zong is completely baffled by the sudden power surge, and Su Xing, watching the sim, is absolutely cackling at how Zong shot himself in the foot. Having escaped, his sim self is now safe inside the spirit field, though he is also trapped, so he just decides to make the best of it and start cultivating. But just as he is settling in, his sim self has a sudden, horrifying thought. This system confirms the pill fire destroyed his Danshin. He is a cripple now. Outside, Protector Zong is absolutely raging, searching for his missing human pill, finding nothing but the shattered remains of his precious furnace. While Zong descends into pure madness, Su Xing is just gone, so the old psycho decides to camp out, vowing to wait however long it takes. Meanwhile, inside the spirit field, life is pretty good actually, as Su Xing treats his new prison like a 12-year-long spa day with his chicks. Another 2 years pass, and our boy is just living his best life, napping peacefully, until the entire spirit field starts to shatter from an external invasion. Back in reality, Su Xing is sweating, hoping that Psycho Zong finally gave up and left. But of course, the second his sim steps out, the old man is right there waiting for him. Zong is practically drooling, confirming Su Xing has a blessed land he can steal. And Su Xing cannot believe this guy actually waited for 2 whole years. The dedication is insane. Then Zong pulls out the crocodile tears, claiming he is dying and just wants a peek, even getting on his knees to beg for a final look before he passes on. With a little smirk, Su Xing actually agrees to the request, and Zong immediately repays his kindness with a dagger to the chest. What a shocker. Bleeding out, Su Xing gives him one last parting gift, calling out the old hypocrite. And the sim ends with a new talent unlocked, dying with regrets. As Su Xing bleeds out, Zong grabs him, desperate to know his cultivation secret, and the hood falls, revealing the scarred face of his recurring murderer. Our boy finally connects the dots. Zong is the psycho who has been killing him all along. Back in reality, the simulation ends and he realizes the old man was hunting cultivators from the start. He lets out a huge sigh of relief, just thankful it was all a simulation. This system then drops a massive list of potential rewards for his suffering. But after all that, there is only one real choice, the complete Changchun art. He weighs his options, noting how useful that level 10 beast language was, though the biggest win was finally putting a face to his nemesis. So he makes his choice, spending a fortune to finally get the full technique. With the book in hand, he is absolutely giddy to get back to cultivating, already planning his revenge and vowing to surpass that old dog Zong. His triumphant moment is interrupted by a tiny voice begging for rice. Turns out Brother Chicken is back, running a tiny chicken mafia in his backyard, and the little tyrant is flexing on the masses, preaching a survival of the fittest gospel. His flock is utterly crushed, not even getting a single grain for their work. When Su Xing's shadow falls over him, the punk chick just shouts, "Number, bad move." A giant hand descends, grabbing the little bully right off his soapbox. As Su Xing holds the stunned chicken, confirming he understands every word of its little coup, and the tiny dictator literally turns to stone when he hears spirit chicken soup is on tonight's menu. Su Xing lays down the new law for the coup: no more brother chicken, only equality. This flock immediately submits, declaring Su Xing the *1 true brother chicken. So much for that plan. Which gives him a weird flash of a basketball meme, leaving him utterly baffled, and a chibi version of him just ponders the absurdity of it all. Back in his room, he realizes he is running low on energy points and needs to level up fast. A week later, he is planning his next simulation, deciding to avoid Zong for now, and the system blesses him with a new blue talent, a true spirit root for cultivation. Su Xing is absolutely ecstatic to finally have a decent power-up, already scheming to use the Advent faction's resources to reach the nascent soul stage. This new simulation starts and he joins the Advent Church as intended, where they immediately shower him with valuable cultivation resources, letting his sim self power level to the mid-gold tier in just a single year. Outside the sim, Su Xing is feeling pretty smug about how smooth this is going. Then a giant beast appears out of nowhere and just kills him, ending the run at age 32. His sim self reaches out as the world dissolves into nothing, and that is the unceremonious end of his big power-up plan. Back in reality, Su Xing is completely stunned. The beasts were not supposed to show up for years. He is absolutely furious when the system postpones his rewards for the premature ending. But then a horrifying thought dawns on him: he spent that whole time helping the Advent faction, who are, as everyone knows, massive traitors to the entire human race. Oops. Achibai Suzing realizes his pill making just armed the bad guys, which in turn weakens humanity's defenses. Whoops. This means his get-rich-quick scheme is actually fast-tracking the apocalypse. He decides just running from the Advent faction is not enough, he needs to play both sides, so the new plan is simple: become a double agent. A week later, the system grants him a new talent, being distractingly, peerlessly handsome. Suzing is absolutely disgusted. What a useless, pretty boy power. This simulation starts and he immediately feels, well, incredibly charming. But he cannot be this conspicuous. He is supposed to be a spy, not a supermodel. His himself joins the Advent Church again, ready to fleece them from the inside, appearing at a secret club as a mysterious pill refiner to sell his wares. This plan is to sell good pills to the officials and junk to the cultists, a perfect scam. His himself looks pretty pleased with this genius-level double-crossing. And in reality, Suzing is practically glowing with self-satisfaction. But just as he is feeling smug, he gets surrounded by the Advent Church leadership, including Zong. Zong immediately calls him out, asking why he'd betray the faction that has been so good to him. Watching the sim, Suzing flips him off, totally unsurprised the old psycho is here. His himself plays dumb, demanding Zong provide some actual evidence for this slander. So Zong pulls out the exact pill he's been selling to the military, and with a smug grin points out that only he could have made it. Busted. This other elders are shocked, realizing their pill maker is secretly a cultivator. But Suzing just smirks, thinking everyone in this snake pit has secrets, and one of his accusers starts screaming about some undelivered virility pills, real professional. Another elder casually threatens to out him over a gender change pill he is developing. So Zong steps in, pretending this is all for the good of the faction. Suzing is not having it, calling out Zong's stagnant cultivation right to his face. And then he drops the bombshell. Zong just wants to refine him into a human pill. Zong absolutely loses it, swearing he has no selfish motives, the biggest lie of the century. But then a new leader in white robes and heels descends, questioning Zong's little tantrum, calmly asking if he is absolutely sure the pills are the same. When Zong confirms, she just calls him an idiot to his face. Oh, the burn. She explains Suzing's talent is too limited, so he could not possibly be the military's master alchemist, then turns on Zong, accusing him of putting his own greed before the faction's safety. Back in reality, Suzing sees his trap for Zong accidentally caught this other guy instead. And in the sim, the other elders finally admit they were wrong about the pills. This new leader, Elder Ying, gives him some patronizing encouragement, and he plays along perfectly, before she declares them even for saving him from Zong's little scheme. Watching the sim, Suzing knows this woman does not believe him for a second, which cuts to a cool splash page of the main cast looking ready for a fight. Later, Suzing arrives at the Advent Church base to meet with Elder Ying, a new game beginning. Elder Ying plays it cool, telling him she has no comment on his accusations. But Suzing immediately calls her out. Why invite him in if she was not going to talk? He drops his whole theory. She is not loyal and is secretly selling pills to the military. Outside the sim, Achibai Suzing sulks, realizing his seamless plan was obvious all along. Then our boy hits her with the real shocker. He knows she is not from this world, and just plays it off with his new pretty boy charm, saying he has got his sources. He correctly guesses she is part of an alien invasion, which is a pretty wild leap. To his surprise, she just flat out confirms it. Yep, you got me. Elder Ying proposes they team up since they share a common enemy and a desire to survive, revealing she is from the spirit race and her body is a fusion with a foreign beast. Her people are fighting some gnarly Hydra monsters and his pills could save them. She just wishes they'd met sooner, before her cities were breached and her people scattered. As a reward, she offers him a new, less transformed body if he joins her. But Suzing turns her down, wanting to keep his dignity as a human. Fair enough. He then tells her she is wrong about one crucial detail about this world. Because this world does have ifs, a sly hint at his simulation powers. With new motivation, his himself goes into overdrive, refining thousands of pills for humanity. He delivers the massive stash to a grateful military leader who wishes he'd had them years ago. But upon returning to the Advent Church, he walks right into an ambush led by Zong. This old psycho smirks, declaring Suzing caught red-handed with the evidence. The trap is sprung. But Suzing is completely surrounded by Zong's goons who have got him locked in a formation, while in reality our boy is just basking in the glow of reaching mid-gold tier. And his himself immediately starts looking for a cheat code to hit the peak level in one go, though before he can find it, the world starts to warp. The apocalypse has arrived. This run ends abruptly, confirming his theory. Strengthening the military actually delays the end of the world. Suzing looks absolutely thrilled with himself for figuring out how to game the apocalypse, noting that 10,000 pills bought them half a year, so next time he is doubling down. And his grand strategy now includes turning Elder Ying into a full-blown ally. He cashes in his rewards, taking both the mid-gold cultivation and a new dual spirit root, then immediately gets to work absorbing the new power, merging fire and wood energies, which triggers a massive breakthrough with a literal explosion of golden light. Suzing feels the power up, confident his pill refining is about to get 100 times more efficient. With his new cultivation level, it is right back to the alchemy room to start cooking. A new white-haired woman appears, asking if his entire pill stash is for sale, and he proudly reveals a room literally overflowing with giant bags of the stuff, which she coolly accepts, confident she can offload the entire inventory. After a quick thanks for his hard work, the deal is apparently settled. So Su Xing kicks back for another simulation, this time focusing on his alliance with Elder Ying. And the system grants him a new plant affinity talent perfect for a master pill maker, which his new himself immediately tests out, discovering his plants now grow twice as fast. With his new plant affinity, Su Xing goes full farmer mode, expanding his herb garden, and half a year later he's got a mountain of pills ready for the Advent Church, confident this massive stash is the perfect way to win over Elder Ying. So he meets her and just drops the bomb. "I know you are an alien," but she plays coy, prompting him to offer a sample pill, a little try before you buy, for his miracle drug. And despite her suspicion, Elder Ying takes the bait and the pill, which leads to her barging into his room later, demanding to know his entire stock. While our boy caught shirtless just asks for a second to get dressed, priorities people, before he hits her with the big boast, he can refine thousands of these a month. Leaving Elder Ying floored, realizing what that kind of production means for her people. So Su Xing lays it all out. He can give her an army of 1,000 grandmasters in a month, and when she asks why, he just says they share a common goal, sealing the deal with an official alliance and a monthly pill subscription, while his chibai self breaks down the hustle, some for her, some for him, and the rest for the military. But 7 years in, he is stuck, unable to break through to the next cultivation stage, and he is so close to leveling up yet so agonizingly far. So he just throws a fit, deciding cultivation cannot be forced as chickens judge him silently, then recalls that Elder Ying stopped her orders in year 8, sensing trouble in her world, and with his own progress stalled, he decides to run an experiment instead of wasting the sim, which involves him offering her a fresh batch of pills, asking if she will take them all. Su Xing smirks, offering her a cool 30,000 pills like it is pocket change, and in response Elder Ying bows low, promising to repay his kindness with her life. But our boy just plays it off, telling her she's being way too polite. A year passes peacefully in the sim, with him just farming and looking good doing it, and he figures the pills must be working since she has not come back in tears yet. So he commits to providing tens of thousands more to hold off her people's extinction. Their alliance going great, she even brings him some special alien booze as a thank you. Su Xing sips his tea, totally convinced his save the world with drugs plan is foolproof. Then year 9 hits and Elder Ying stumbles in, collapsing and crying at his feet. She is battered and bloody, looking like she has been through absolute hell. So he catches her, demanding to know what went so horribly wrong. She just tells him to give up, that all resistance is useless now, which only makes him press harder, completely shocked by this sudden turn of events. Her world is ending, she explains, because a giant beast has descended, and he holds her, calling out her name as she starts to fade. A vision of the monster flashes, making him realize her apocalypse might be the same as his, and the system confirms her people's failure is a massive blow. His pills are now useless. This devastating news ignites a new fire in him, a desperate need to get stronger, and that emotional whiplash is the key, finally breaking his bottleneck to reach peak gold tier. Back in reality, Su Xing cracks open a soda, celebrating his trauma-fueled level up. Su Xing's feeling pretty good about his new power, casually planning to go dungeon crawling. And now it is time for Operation Slay the Dog, complete with a very professional revenge doodle of Zong. While a chibai version of him confirms everything is going exactly as planned, of course it is. Back in the simulation, he pulls up to a new location, ready for the next step, where he finds Elder Ying still completely wrecked from her world's collapse. He just calmly greets her as if she did not just watch her entire civilization get erased. And she turns away, calling herself a dying man and a burden, a bit dramatic, but we will allow it. Su Xing immediately shuts down the pity party, asking if she has forgotten about revenge. But she has lost all hope, insisting he cannot possibly comprehend the beast's power, so he just grabs her hand and tells her he has already seen it, checkmate. With that one reveal, he pulls her into his new plan. They are going to fight back together. Their new partnership involves him cranking out pills while she runs interference, letting him fleece the Advent Church blind. His plant affinity talent is also paying off big time, making his herbs super high quality. And after harvesting a literal dump truck's worth, he meets up with the military leader. He delivers an insane 200,000 pills, enough to double the nation's grandmasters, which leaves the old general literally crying with joy and relief. With humanity's army buffed, Su Xing gets back to his own training, aiming for a breakthrough. But he goes a little too hard, sucking the entire blessed land completely dry of spiritual energy. Whoops. This whole place withers into a barren wasteland, leaving him totally stunned. And to top it all off, even the spirit chickens have stopped talking to him, so now he is just yelling at them about poop. Su Xing is absolutely raging, tearing through a book for a solution, and finds a handy little spirit gathering array to juice up his home base. But quickly realizes his current spirit stones are pocket change for what he needs. This book then reveals the real prize, a flower that literally upgrades the world's energy, which brings a very greedy smirk to his face. He has found his cheat code. He immediately plants the 3 seeds he conveniently had, and they grow at a ridiculous speed, this little glowing flower looking all magical and full of potential. Su Xing is feeling pretty pleased with himself, crediting his plant affinity for the success. Turns out his array drawing skills were garbage, so he also whipped up a pill to boost his spiritual sense. A shiny new mind-nourishing pill to be exact. His chibai self immediately starts wondering if he should give these brain boosters to the military, but before he can decide, the simulation starts to warp around him again. This run ends confirming a new theory, helping either side delays the apocalypse, which is awesome. His reward screen is loaded with all the new toys, the cultivation level, the flowers, and the talent. Back in reality, Su Xing decides the power-up and the plant affinity are his top priorities. He cashes in his points, immediately getting zapped with green, plant-friendly energy, which causes a tiny sprout to pop right out of his head to his absolute horror. Now he is trying to have a serious conversation with his succulent, asking it to open the curtains, and when it does not, he yanks them open himself, complaining about its sudden sass. As the plant telepathically declares war, "Today, one of us is going down." This succulent goes airborne, screaming for its life, while Su Xing, sprout and all, just smirks at the little punk. Then it is right back to business, absorbing his new peak gold tier power, unleashing a massive spiritual energy gathering technique, and he can feel it, the raw power pushing him right to the edge of the next realm. A massive spiritual cyclone forms around him, way bigger than anything he has managed before, and with his little spirit baby forming, he is sure nascent soul is just around the corner. This system even drops a patch note. He can now expand his talent slots infinitely, which means our boy's potential is officially limitless, a terrifying thought for everyone else. Of course, his energy points are now totally drained, and his poor liver is already crying about the overtime. After a 6-day pill-making marathon, he looks like he has wrestled a ghost and lost, just in time for his white-haired business partner to show up with some bad news. Apparently, he has bought out the entire market's supply of cheap refining materials. Whoops. Su Xing immediately enters a state of catatonic despair, his whole business model shattered. But she has also got good news, a chunk of exotic metal that converts to 60,000 sim points, and suddenly our boy sees a brand new, very shiny revenue stream. She warns him it is rare and expensive, a special drop from certain dungeons, but he is already hooked, demanding she buy him a ton of it, quality be damned. She wisely points out that the cheap tier 1 stuff is probably a better fit for his needs. And just like that, Su Xing's got his new get-rich-quick scheme locked in. His business partner gets real flirty, asking for a reward for solving his money problems, and Su Xing immediately panics, swearing he is too tired and has nothing left to give, which she clearly does not believe, pinning him down for a little interrogation, before leaving him passed out, promising to buy him some stamina pills for next time. His chibai self is in full-blown denial, crying that he is just sleep-deprived, that is all. After that humbling experience, he jumps back into the simulator to start a new project, Flower Power. It is straight back to farmer mode, tilling the soil in his blessed land, and he immediately plants the 3 spirit-gathering flowers to get things started. He then gives his chickens a very simple warning: touch the flowers, become Kung Pao. This system shows him multitasking, refining pills at an insane new speed thanks to an exotic metal furnace. Once he's got a big enough stash, he follows a new contact to the Advent Church, where he meets Elder Ying again, proposing an alliance with a rare dragon spirit grass. His pitch is simple: make pills to buff both their races and push him to nascent soul. She agrees instantly, promising to help him find everything he needs. But his initial refining attempts are a struggle, with a success rate under 50%. It takes 300 stalks just to produce one tiny, glowing seedling. This is not the easy path. Then, just like last time, Elder Ying crashes the party, bleeding and barely standing. She is panicking, saying her world is collapsing way ahead of schedule this run, and his chibai self just breathes a sigh of relief that they are not totally wiped out yet. She apologizes for failing him, but he just reassures her, knowing exactly how powerful their enemy is. He offers her his latest miracle drug, a shiny golden pill, and she pops it without a second thought because why not, which immediately shatters her mask and blows her mind, instantly boosting her to Heavenly King rank power. A whole army of these guys could totally delay the apocalypse, but she just sighs, saying it is all way too little too late. Su Xing hits her with a cool "I can," like a total badass, promising to give her the pills in advance next time and even calling her by name, which completely throws her off, demanding to know how he knew it. So he decides it is time for some personal persuasion via the sim, dropping right into her world and getting a little too close for comfort. And she immediately proves his theory right by smacking him around, yep, just as violent as he remembered. He plays it off with the lamest excuse ever, you told me, then pats her head, casually mentioning they have saved the world together before dropping the whole truth bomb. He is a time-looping transmigrator, leaving her completely stunned and blushing at the revelation. Her logical side is screaming that this is all a massive lie, but her heart seems to be telling her something different as she reaches for his mask, and after seeing his face, she is suddenly all in on this crazy plan. Because her real reason for joining is simple: he is just too handsome to refuse. Su Xing smirks, realizing even a world-ending elder is swayed by a pretty face. Back in the simulation, she asks him to calculate her people's survival odds, and she proposes they figure out exactly how much time his miracle pills can buy them. She then gets real close, telling him it is time for them to defect, because her supply of ingredients is cut off, so their only option is to rob the church blind. Our boy is immediately on board with some good old-fashioned grand larceny, and their chibai selves high-five, totally united in their criminal enterprise. With their new plan in motion, they start hunting down high-ranking church members across the land. This system confirms their defection was a success, bringing her over to the human military, where he promptly dumps a casual 230,000 pills on the general's desk, which instantly creates 40,000 new grandmasters for the army. Luo Shiang wonders if this massive power-up is finally enough to turn the tide, But Su Xing hits her with a reality check. The enemy's growth will outpace theirs in 10 years. She agrees to run interference for him while he stays locked in as the dedicated pill factory. By year 11, their plan is working. The new army is holding the line and pushing back, and humanity's forces are finally carving through the demonic hordes. For his efforts, Su Xing is made a national hero with top-tier authority, so he immediately flexes that new power, calling a summit of the nation's leaders. Back in reality, Su Xing is giddy, realizing he can now order the top general around in the sim. At the meeting, he presents his latest batch of pills, now in total control of the war effort. Su Xing lays out the plan. These pills can create Heavenly King rank warriors. And the old general is absolutely floored, refusing to believe such a thing exists. In front of the entire military council, he announces a little competition for who gets the goods. But the old man immediately sees the problem. 2,000 pills is basically nothing. A brutal selection process later, only half the chosen warriors actually break through, and these new powerhouses are immediately thrown into the fray against the demonic hordes. This general's a little disappointed it is not a 100% success rate, but Su Xing calls it a miracle. So the old man tells him he has done more than enough and deserves some peace. Fast forward to year 14 and Su Xing is stuck at gold tier because the world's energy is tapped out, so even his own super pills are not working, forcing him to level up his spiritual sense instead. This sends him into a deep meditative state, expanding his consciousness across the cosmos, which he immediately uses to lecture some bugs in his garden about eating his flowers. He then threatens them with the Kung Pao chicken from earlier classic parenting. While his physical body sits still, his spirit self can now zip around and perceive everything, which the bugs are completely oblivious to, thinking a cabbage just turned into a ghost. Su Xing then proceeds to terrorize them with a floating vegetable because of course he does. Back in his body, he is loving this new power, calling it way better than any cultivation manual. And thanks to his church heist, he is now chugging 3 brain pills a day to boost it. Meanwhile, his newly minted Heavenly Kings are holding the line against some seriously nasty demons, and by year 16, his spirit range is so huge he can snatch a terrified baby chicken mid-flight. Back in reality, Su Xing is hammering away at his alchemy, deciding his current brain boosters are basically just sugar pills now, and his first attempt at an upgrade goes nuclear, a solid 10 for effort, 0 for execution. Just then, a portal rips open in his workshop and someone calls his name, yanking him straight through before he can even complain about the mess. Turns out, back in the sim, the front lines have totally collapsed, and he knows exactly what this means. It is the end of the world again. This red-haired warrior asks where they are headed on this little evacuation trip, but he just draws his sword, ready for one last glorious, pointless battle. This system recaps his himself's frustration at being stuck in his cultivation, so he channeled all that pent-up rage into a one-man war against the invaders, which somehow inspired the other warriors to follow him into the meat grinder. He even discovers his sword skills are way more effective than he thought. But it all leads to him facing down a demon the size of a skyscraper. He makes a solemn vow to take this thing down in a future run, only to get stabbed through the chest from behind, a classic betrayal. This system confirms it, killed by a spy inside the human military. Back in reality, Su Xing is floored. A mole in the army changes everything. His dying with regrets talent triggers, revealing the traitor's smug face. And our boy recognizes him immediately, screaming the old man's name in pure rage. Su Xing is fuming about the betrayal, vowing revenge on that old general next time, and the system drops his rewards, 20 years of alchemy skills and a new spiritual sense, which he is especially hyped about since that stolen church artifact is a huge booster. But his chibi self has a full-blown meltdown over the price tag. Good thing larceny is free. He decides to cash in his points, downloading the alchemy experience and spiritual sense into reality, then heads to his spirit field with a wicked grin, ready to test out his new toys. Instantly, 20 years of alchemy knowledge floods his mind in a flash of red light, followed by a golden aura as his consciousness starts to shift, and his spirit self literally pops out of his body, glowing and ready to go. He is in awe, realizing this is his brand new spiritual sense in action, which he can even use to refine medicine directly with his ghost form, letting him multitask like an absolute god-tier pharmacist. His chickens are completely losing their minds over the floating, ghost-powered furnace, and while his spirit works, he gets an update that his partner is expanding their business. She calls to invite him to a party, celebrating her breakthrough to Grandmaster rank, and a quick check confirms she has hit that milestone a full decade earlier than last time, which has his chibi self just beaming, knowing his efforts are changing the timeline. At the party, he gives her some of his new and improved pills as a gift, and this success fuels his next big idea, ally with Elder Ying way earlier this time. For his next run, he pulls a brand new blue talent, Unyielding Silver Spear. Su Xing is absolutely mortified by his new talent's name because it is just that bad, and the system basically asks, "Are you sure about Unyielding Silver Spear?" To confirm, he immediately goes to test it on Jin Kung Su for science, of course. And yep, the system was not lying. He finally got her to beg for mercy. His self-image immediately transforms into a sparkly, shadowy god of pure testosterone, while she, on the other hand, seems to have had a very thorough demonstration. His chibi self celebrates finally becoming a real man. We get it, dude, calm down. After that little detour, he gets back to business at the Advent Church. He offers Elder Ying his pills, planning to win her over with his alchemy skills. But some creepy hooded dude immediately tries to recruit him for his own faction. Suzing is already annoyed, realizing his new strength is attracting all the weirdos. He tries to politely turn down the offer, but the guy is giving off major predator vibes, so to escape he plays the part of a wronged youth and just bolts, which does not stop the creep from stalking him through the doorway. Then another elder ambushes him, accusing him of spreading rumors about her teaching him evil arts. Suzing just pops his head up, playing the picture of pure innocence, and furiously denies it, blaming the old dog for making things up. But she is not having it and promptly kicks him out of her faction. She tells him to get lost, leaving his plan to gain allies completely shattered. But our boy's not worried because he has still got a trump card up his sleeve. Suzing gets real intense, reminding Luo Shang of her past as a helpless kid. And she is completely baffled, but he just says she told him everything herself. Then he drops the bomb, he only came to the church to find her, which combined with his smooth talking totally convinces her he is a time traveler. Now fully on board, she brings him a mountain of medicinal herbs, and thanks to his new spirit form, he is a multitasking pill factory, cranking out thousands a month. Her new supply line lets him refine a staggering 6,000 dragon spirit pills, and our boy is feeling pretty good about himself, crushing his previous record by a mile. Just then, Luo Shang returns with bad news: the herb supply is gone, and she is already worried their massive stash will not last forever. Suzing is about to repeat his old defection plan, but then a crucial memory hits him. That creepy protector Zong was the spy who got him killed last time. This time he is not waiting around to get stabbed, he is striking first, which is backed up by a truly unhinged, vengeful grin. This new plan is simple: they still defect, but first someone has to die. He explains that Zong is the one who killed him, hunting for the secret to immortality, and offers her a supreme dragon pill, promising it'll give them the power to take the old dog down. She smirks, taking the pill and saying the only person she has ever feared is the guy guarding the treasury. Then gets a little protective, telling him to stay safe since he is weaker. But back in reality, Suzing is just here for the chaos. He does not care if they win, he just wants to loot the old man's corpse. Suzing is absolutely loving this plan, sporting a grin that screams, "I am the villain now." This strategy is simple: he will act as bait to lure Protector Zong into a trap. And he kicks things off with the world's worst pickup line about noodles, a true master of seduction. Predictably, the creepy old protector immediately takes the bait, lunging forward. But Suzing vanishes in a flash, leaving Zong completely baffled. That is because Luo Shang was waiting to ambush him from behind. But the old man is slippery, dodging her attack and disappearing again. He reappears on a cliff above her, mocking her for even trying. Because as a veteran cultivator, this guy has an entire library of escape artist tricks. He even pulls out a blood magic technique to get away. Zipping through the forest in a swirl of crimson energy, then throws down a golden puppet as a parting gift, which promptly transforms into a giant golem to cover his retreat. Back in reality, Suzing is losing his mind watching the guy burn through priceless treasures just to run away, which only makes him more determined to rob the guy blind in the next simulation. Meanwhile, Luo Shang is not giving up, tossing a magical bell at the fleeing coward, which creates a massive golden seal to try and trap him, and she is absolutely fuming that he will not just stand and fight like a man. Just then, a purple beam of energy shatters her treasure out of nowhere, and she looks up completely shocked to see Suzing floating there. Suzing swoops in to catch her, playing the concerned hero after the fight, and he is all cool about it, explaining the old man basically bankrupted himself to escape. With that loose end tied up, they officially defect and join the Dazia military, where his super pills proceed to create an entire army of masters overnight. This of course makes him a national hero again, summoned for a top-level strategy meeting, where he pitches sending troops to another world to fight their common enemy. This deal is simple: he keeps the pills coming and they will supply 10,000 grandmasters. As a thank you, Luo Shang decides to visit him that night, with tentacles. Yep, that unyielding silver spear talent is apparently no joke, she is tapping out. After that team building exercise, they are back to business, wondering if they can eat the local wildlife, and she demonstrates how to butcher a 500-pound monster for a tiny bit of essence. Suzing quickly discovers this monster meat is a fantastic power-up, pushing him right to the edge of a breakthrough. But back in reality, he is annoyed that nobody on the front lines is collecting the monster corpses for him, so he decides if you want a job done right, you gotta go loot the battlefield yourself. Back in the sim, he grinds for 3 years straight, absorbing all the monster essence he can get, until his body is literally crackling with golden breakthrough energy, and he finally smashes through to the Yuanwu realm, complete with a giant spirit avatar. But our boy is not done, immediately pushing for the next level with his new spiky anime hair, condensing all that raw power into a single glowing core, which hatches into a tiny, adorable, and terrifyingly powerful nascent soul. With a massive explosion of power, he announces his breakthrough to the nascent soul stage, and there it is, his very own adorable glowing power baby, which has his chibi self absolutely losing it, thrilled about leveling up twice. Now that he is jacked, he is itching to go test his new power on some monsters, and the monsters in this world are a whole menagerie of nightmare fuel. But just as he is about to throw down, the simulation comes to an end. Back in reality, it is time to bring all that power into the real world, so he immediately cashes in his points for the Yuanwu realm and nascent soul cultivation. He smashes that yes button without a second thought, and the power-up download begins in a flash of golden light. his energy condensing into a single glowing core inside him, which promptly cracks open like a very expensive kind of surprise, and out pops his brand new, fully formed nascent soul. Suzing just stares at his tiny golden mini-me, probably wondering if it needs a diaper. But the little guy immediately starts practicing his cultivation techniques all on its own, then just sits there, looking bored and basically asking if that is all he has got. This makes Suzing realize he's been a pill-refining nerd with zero actual combat skills, remembering he wanted to fight in the last sim but never got the chance. So he decides he is done hiding in his lab, it is time to get his hands dirty. Next time he is going straight to the front lines to punch some monsters in the face. Suzing's new power immediately gets him a fan club on the battlefield, and he is feeling pretty good, thinking he is a natural-born killer. Admitting this whole monster-slaying gig is way better than his old life. Just then, one of his new admirers, King Cheon, interrupts his power trip, mentioning she saw his very wealthy senior Jin Kung-soo looking for him earlier. Her immediate takeaway is that he must be loaded now too, so she instantly starts begging him for a loan with puppy dog eyes and everything. She even offers alternative forms of repayment just in case cash is tight. And Suzing, being Suzing, just agrees to help her out. He's a little suspicious about her sudden desperation but decides not to pry. Back in reality, he is all fired up for another simulation, ready to fight. But the system hits him with a brand new talent called I cannot be the only unlucky one. This thing is a straight-up curse, making him a walking jinx who spreads bad luck to everyone, and the system just smugly tells him no refunds, which is just peak customer service. Resigned to his fate, he decides to just run with it since it is only a simulation. This sim starts with him refining some simple beauty and healing pills, and his new bad luck talent immediately kicks in with a massive explosion, leaving him completely shell-shocked and covered in soot. He cannot believe he can make god-tier pills but somehow fails at the easy stuff, while the system just sips its tea, thoroughly enjoying the chaos it created. To blow off steam from his alchemy failure, Suzing tries gardening, and immediately uglies a spirit flower to death with his bad luck aura. His attempt to eat some spirit rice just ends with him choking, and even drinking water is a total fail, leaving him parched on the ground. This curse even follows him into a friendly game of basketball, where he promptly takes a flaming ball right to the face. After that, he completely loses his mind chasing a spirit chicken for a full day. Back in reality, Jin Kung-soo calls, complaining about her own sudden string of bad luck, and Suzing just plays innocent, telling her to hang in there, what a great guy. This confirms his jinx talent has a massive range, even affecting people online, so naturally he decides to weaponize it by joining the enemy church. To test his chaotic new plan, he follows King Cheon right to their front door. His alchemy skills are so impressive he is instantly promoted to Pill Elder. A red-haired woman immediately brings him literal truckloads of herbs to refine, then casually mentions a mysterious spike in injuries around the church lately, and a quick check of the records reveals all the victims took his pills. Now they are begging him for more healing pills to fix the very problems he is causing. After a full year of this, the church is significantly weaker, and no one suspects a thing. His Chibai self knows it is time to get out of there before they connect the dots. And he spots an upcoming assembly on the calendar, the perfect cover for his escape. His Chibai self waves goodbye, ready to ditch the church and head for the big assembly. But his grand escape plan immediately hits a bureaucratic wall. The event is fully booked. Forced to wait, he begrudgingly books a spot for next month because even saboteurs need appointments. A month later, he finally strolls in, looking like he has been through a war just to get past the front desk. And the simulation immediately ends, rewarding him with a big fat gain nothing, thanks bad luck talent. Suzing is absolutely livid, screaming that the sim skipped all the important parts. This system then offers him an immersive viewing function, basically a pay-to-win DLC for the story. Grumbling about the microtransactions, he decides to just spend the points anyway, dropping 100,000 points to activate the premium experience, and is immediately yelled at by the person in line behind him to get a move on. Stepping through the portal, he is greeted by a woman in a bunny outfit, because of course he is. Now in a new body, he is hoping this expensive side quest will at least drop some decent loot, and he takes a moment to admire the gorgeous scenery of this new world, getting hyped about the insane amount of spiritual energy in the air. Suddenly, a man in a straw hat appears, calling himself his martial uncle and congratulating him on his breakthrough. Suzing checks his core and realizes he is still just a gold tier. The dungeon is just mirroring his own power level. This uncle tells him to snap out of it since he is supposed to be his escort. Remembering this guy is a master alchemist, Suzing's brain immediately switches to how can I scam him mode. He starts laying it on thick, asking the uncle for some expert cultivation advice. And his big problem is that his spirit flowers keep dying, totally not related to his walking disaster curse, nope. This uncle starts lecturing on botany while Suzing is just happy he found a new mark to fleece. And these spirit gathering flowers are apparently a huge deal, taking a decade to grow, requiring a very specific, delicate cross-pollination process to even breed them. So Suzing diligently takes notes, asking for the next step in the process. But his uncle just gives him a smug look, enjoying the suspense, then decides he is too lazy to talk and just shoves all the info directly into Suzing's brain, which has our boy's Chibai self absolutely fuming about his now sore hand. With the secrets to infinite energy secured, Suzing is already feeling unstoppable. His escort finally leads him into Luo Tian Town for the Grand Assembly. and the place is absolutely swarming with cultivators from all over, where his uncle immediately shoves him forward, telling him to go meet his master. And Su Xing comes face to face with the powerful Elder Qi. Immediately thinking about what high-level techniques he can scam out of this new guy, he plays the part of the respectful disciple, bowing to the elder, who promptly hands over a token for the scripture pavilion as requested. And Su Xing realizes he has just been given the keys to the kingdom, a library of ultimate power. Inside, he is greeted by a massive hall filled with countless glowing, floating scrolls, where he quickly snags a book on sword cultivation classics, which despite its boring name is a legendary text from a world-renowned sword immortal. And back in reality, he is already cackling about having a new weapon to use against his old enemy. This new sword manual is broken down into 3 stages: mortal, earth, and heaven, with the earth sword being strong enough to cause tsunamis and crumble mountains, and the heaven sword being a literal cheat code to becoming a sword immortal. Su Xing is already fantasizing about using the first stage to absolutely demolish his old enemy. After another failed alchemy attempt, he spends the next 8 years just grinding his swordsmanship. And after a full decade, he is done with practice swings and wants to learn how to kill for real. To get some hands-on experience, he joins the military at the Demon Suppression Pass, going undercover as a private so he can just carve his way through the battlefield. A couple months later, he is standing on a literal mountain of high-level monster corpses, which immediately gets him promoted to commander of 1,000 men. His insane kill count attracts the attention of the enemy, who sends 3 demon kings to assassinate him, and they immediately start trash-talking the puny human daring to face them. Su Xing just gives them a smug grin, ready to teach them a classic lesson, reminding them that villains always die from talking too much. He then unleashes a devastating sword strike, clashing directly with one of the kings, and he is absolutely loving this, covered in blood with a psycho grin on his face. For 10 long years, he becomes a ruthless terror on the battlefield, but despite all his efforts, he ultimately fails to save humanity from its downfall. His sword has become nothing more than a cold tool for slaughter, and he is horrified to realize he has completely lost his way and forgotten his original purpose. This Sim's final report reveals he was ambushed by 7 church legends and surprise, he died, which ends the simulation and activates his new dying with regrets talent thanks for nothing system. Back in reality, Su Xing is pissed, convinced he could have saved the world if not for those traitors, and now he is vowing to kill his old enemy and take all his stuff. He checks his rewards and sees he can permanently unlock the sword technique for 4 million points, and his chibi self immediately starts scheming on how to weaponize his new talent against his foes. But he is also aware it could just blow up in his face, so he decides to pass for now. With a new sword style in his arsenal, he just needs a worthy weapon time to call his rich senior. He hits up Jin Kung-Su while she is in the bath, asking her to find him a top-tier sword, and our boy is all humble thanks while she tells him to get his kidneys ready for payment. A week later, she has already found one, casually asking if he thinks he can even handle it. Su Xing is all smug confidence, already planning to take his new toy into the next simulation. She presents the Ink Ice, one of the most legendary blades in the entire country. He grabs the hilt, immediately feeling its immense power. This sword unleashes a frosty aura, complete with glowing snowflake effects, and holding it feels like stepping into a realm of eternal winter. He gives it a test swing, unleashing a magnificent slash of pure ice energy. This system immediately detects a heaven-tier treasure, offering to buy it for 30 million points. Su Xing is absolutely floored by the price, wondering if it is really that special. Jin Kung-Su explains it is a divine weapon with its own spirit, and earning its trust will take years. Jin Kung-Su is absolutely floored, the legendary sword has already accepted him. And Su Xing just plays it cool, asking if he had an epiphany, which she confirms is basically impossible. With his new super weapon in hand, he thanks her, promising to put it to very good use. He immediately gets to work on his other project, trying to cultivate one of those spirit-gathering flowers, then looks out over a vast valley, vowing to one day fill the entire place with them. Back in his room, the system announces an upgrade is complete, unlocking a new purple talent. His brand new special skill is Descendants Galore, a 100% fertility buff. Su Xing is completely disgusted, screaming that he is a world savior, not a breeding stud. His chibi self tries to rationalize it, figuring it is better than nothing and probably situational. Sure, buddy. This next simulation begins, dropping him in a spirit rice field with his new sword, and since he cannot eat it all, he decides to sell it through the tarot club to fund the good guys. His chibi self is super proud of this plan to save the world through savvy business tactics. With Jin Kung-Su handling the logistics, the spirit rice business starts booming. At first, cultivators just thought the rice was a tasty, if expensive, supplement, until a girl eats it for a month and gets a massive power-up, revealing its true potential. With his nation getting stronger, Su Xing heads back to the enemy church for round 2 of infiltration. This time he makes an entrance, showing off his exquisite swordplay to a familiar red-haired woman, who promptly welcomes him on behalf of the Advent Church, all smiles. It turns out Luo Shang is his inside agent, and he is here to rendezvous with his spy. They sit down to confirm the plan, drain the church of its resources, then defect to the military to delay the apocalypse. Protector Zhang shows up at the door, and Su Xing is absolutely giddy his old enemy just delivered himself. This hooded man politely asks to trade for some spirit wood, completely unaware he is talking to his future murderer. Su Xing knows the guy is only playing nice because he is strong now, a refreshing change from getting robbed in past lives. Our boy counters, asking for a super rare snow bone ginseng, which Zong predictably claims not to have. As the old man leaves, Su Xing slaps him with a magical GPS tracker, the 10,000-mile tracking art. He is not just after the ginseng, of course. He is planning to kill Zong and loot his entire legacy. To get strong enough for a one-shot kill, he starts a special cultivation session with his spy Luo Xiang. Thanks to some power-up pills, she starts levitating, on the verge of breaking through to the legendary rank. Luo Xiang is absolutely loving her new power, feeling like the entire world is at her feet. Now it is Su Xing's turn, declaring he is about to hit the divinity transformation stage. And with a clenched fist, he makes his primary goal perfectly clear. Zong must die. Meanwhile, the other masked church members are just casually chatting, completely oblivious. His allies report that Zong has been hiding in his house, but church rules will force him out on a mission soon. So Su Xing just settles in, activating his tracking art to play the waiting game. At last, the tracker pings, Zong has finally left the church and the hunt is officially on. This old man is being extra cautious though, just testing the waters over 100 kilometers away. For 7 straight days, he just circles the area, clearly paranoid he is being watched. But Su Xing is completely unbothered, boasting that a hunter always has more patience than his prey. 3 months later, Zong finally cracks under the pressure and makes a break for it with an escape technique. And that is the opening Su Xing was waiting for, ready to spring the ambush with his new sword and his partner in crime. Zong charges straight at him, which is definitely not part of the runaway plan, and Su Xing has a sudden flash of insight, finally understanding the old man's game. Deducing Zong's foresight must have tagged Luo Xiang as the one fated to kill him. So the old man thinks Su Xing is alone, making him the easier target. And since his prey is walking right into the trap, our boy decides not to be polite about it, as Zong unleashes a massive purple energy blast from above. But Su Xing just calmly counters with his own technique, Great Sword Unity, summoning a literal dome of countless glowing swords to trap his foe, leaving Zong caught in the middle looking more intrigued than scared, who just smirks, finding the whole situation interesting. Famous last words, buddy. And powers up his creepy bone sword, boasting that Su Xing is still far beneath him. Then unleashes a torrent of dark, corrupting energy, which manifests as screaming souls trying to break Su Xing's will. But our boy is completely unfazed, calmly dispelling the illusion with a touch, which has Zong absolutely reeling, demanding to know how his sword resisted 49 vengeful souls. So he screams die, and goes for one last desperate strike. Only for Luo Xiang's hair to snag his arm from behind, surprise. And she's got him completely pinned, asking if he knows what a blessed land is. Because back in his control room, Su Xing gloats he hid her in his pocket dimension, where she also apparently looted Zong's house, offering Su Xing some of his own pills. Su Xing pops one of his enemy's own pills, politely thanking him for the free power-up. But of course, Zong pulls a classic substitution jutsu with a creepy scarecrow decoy. Luo Xiang says the escape technique is costly, so they just need to chase him while he is weak. With their magic GPS still active, they corner the old man in a forest clearing. Zong, however, is looking far from defeated, clearly ready for another round. He unleashes a torrent of dark energy, boasting that he has more than a few tricks left, which immediately slams into Luo Xiang, who is not having a great time. She warns Su Xing that the black energy is draining her life force. But our boy just scoffs, calling it basic yin energy from some angry ghosts. He then casually purifies her with a wave of his own golden flames. This finally gets Zong's full, undivided, and very angry attention. This old man growls that Su Xing has officially forced his hand. In a desperate move, Zong absorbs all the dark energy himself for one last power boost. This trio then launches into the air, ready for the final clash. Their powers collide in a massive explosion of light and dark energy. Su Xing calmly tells his partner to just stall. Zong's new form is on a timer. Sure enough, the old man tries to flee again, but Su Xing is right on top of him. Our boy casts a massive golden energy net, cutting off any chance of escape. Zong is forced to just run while Su Xing and his clones relentlessly attack from behind. After a full day and night of being hunted, Zong finally collapses, completely spent and accepting his fate. Su Xing's chibi self is pissed Zong burned his treasures, forcing a new plan to get the loot. And in the simulation, Zong is on the ground begging for his life, a classic villain move. But Su Xing just points his sword, reminding him he'd do the exact same thing. Zong tries to bargain, so our boy demands his entire mountain of treasures to even consider it. And the old man counters, demanding a heavenly oath first to guarantee his safety. Su Xing's avatar just plays along, raising his hand to swear the oath, sure buddy, because back in reality he knows the oath is completely meaningless in this realm. But then a sudden panic hits him as he realizes something is very wrong. Zong hands over a storage bag, claiming it is full of thousands of spirit stones, and Su Xing's avatar accepts it, already scheming on how to spend his new fortune. Su Xing is screaming at the screen, realizing Zong still has a trump card up his sleeve. And with a villainous grin, the old man unleashes a self-destruct attack to take them both out. He launches a massive blast, gloating about his final unexpected move, which immediately backfires and impales him instead. Whoops. Su Xing's avatar is just standing there, completely unimpressed by the failed suicide bombing. Though his body is destroyed, Zong's spirit makes a desperate attempt to flee, but our boy immediately summons a wall of fire to block the escape route. This flames completely engulf Zong's fleeing soul, trapping him for good. And now he is begging again, offering the location of the snow-bone ginseng. Suzing just scoffs, calling out the obvious lie since the ginseng needs special cold storage. With Zhang's soul trapped in the inferno, Suzing just watches the fireworks. And the old man's spirit starts begging for its life. A little late for that, buddy. Back in reality, Suzing is just relieved the simulation is over, admitting that was a tough fight. In the aftermath, his partner reports finding a damaged jade slip among the loot, and a quick scan reveals it is a secret fortune-telling technique jackpot. This explains Zhang's paranoid foresight, though it is a shame the manual is broken. She also found another complete jade slip, which looks suspiciously like a diary, which immediately piques Suzing's interest, gossip from beyond the grave. His chibi self cannot help but judge the old villain for his journaling hobby, but then he realizes a diary could hold priceless secrets about the cultivation world, so he immediately tells the system to fire up the immersive reader. Let us dive in. Meanwhile, Luo Shiang reminds him they cannot just hang around as the church will be looking for them. Their plan is to bolt for the Dazia border and seek official protection, where a general welcomes them, offering a safe place to lay low. Finally alone, his avatar gets comfy, ready to spill all of Zhang's tea. This diary simulation kicks off, showing a young Zhang as a farmer meeting an immortal, and Suzing connects the dots. Zhang might be from that immortal martial-era dungeon world. This story continues with Zhang meeting a girl who his chibi self immediately nicknames Chicken Little, but the romance sours when he catches her having an affair with his senior brother. Ouch. In a fit of rage, he poisons them both, loots their stuff, and ditches the sect entirely. Suzing is shocked to learn Zhang's villain origin was getting cheated on, which apparently justifies murdering a woman's entire family for a one-week fling. His villain arc continues with him just slaughtering a bunch of monks. Then he wipes out a whole city to master some evil fiend technique. Our boy concludes Zhang completely lost it after the breakup, a bit of an understatement. Next on the revenge tour was returning to his old sect to kill literally everyone. When the world's magic started to fade, Zhang just put himself in cryosleep to wait it out. He eventually woke up and joined the Advent Church, finally connecting the dots. But then Suzing finds the real prize hidden in this diary. It is a full inventory of Zhang's stash, including the snow-bone ginseng he was after. This list also details all his evil magical treasures, confirming the old man was loaded. With a wonderfully evil grin, Suzing vows to steal it all in the next simulation. After exposing Zhang, our boy gets a new gig from the military, tending a spirit farm. He gets right to work, transplanting some glowing magic flowers. These flowers, he explains, can power an entire acre of super nutritious spirit rice. This only catch is that other animals, like this random chicken, might drain the energy. So the general promises tight security, using the poor chicken as a visual aid. With the military's backing, Suzing's only job now is to grow these plants and make pills. Soon enough, the first batch of spirit rice is ready, and it is a massive public event. In the massive crowd, a white-haired woman tries to keep order as people rush to buy some. His spirit rice plan is a massive success, turning him into a national hero overnight. And a general hands over the report, 20 million pounds sold to 1 million cultivators. Which has Suzing thrilled, seeing hundreds of thousands leveling up because of him. This breakthrough rate is apparently over 99%, which is just completely broken. Back in his simulation, our boy is feeling pretty good about saving humanity, as his avatar foresees a future where high-level practitioners have doubled in number, which is good because giant monsters are still very much a thing. After years of this, his simulated self achieves a golden Super Saiyan-looking form, leading the charge in a massive counterattack against the alien threat. With this power, he actually delays the apocalypse by a whole decade. Suzing is pumped, realizing his plan to mass-produce power-ups actually worked. But the simulation ends after 25 years with the world getting overrun again, so he flips it off. For his reward, he chooses to keep 25 years of pill-making experience and a crazy powerful spiritual sense. He instantly downloads the knowledge, feeling the rush of mastering 100 pill recipes, and his new spiritual sense manifests as a giant golden stand behind him, very JoJo. Our boy immediately uses this god-tier perception to check the cafeteria menu for braised pork. His chibi self then accuses the lunch lady of shortchanging him, which his new senses can totally prove. Suddenly, the girl in front of him freaks out, sensing his immense power, and just abandons her food tray entirely, much to his confusion. She bolts back to her dorm, telling her roommate there is an emergency. Guess she is not a fan of his aura. His spirit form realizes he has accidentally followed the girl right into the women's dorms, and he'd been trailing her because he thought she was in some kind of trouble. But nope, it is just her period, a fact he learns in the most invasive way possible. Our boy immediately goes into see no evil mode, trying to unknow that information, but then gets distracted by how ridiculously powerful his new spiritual sense is, already imagining himself being able to monitor the entire city with it. His chibi self gloats that since no one else has this power, he is basically a ghost. Meanwhile, the girl is freaking out in the bathroom, wondering why he is there, and he can hear her thoughts. Later, Suzing is waiting for Kung Su, who is getting ready behind a screen, and he is getting a little impatient since he has to get back to the academy. So naturally, he sends his golden spirit peeper to see what the holdup is, which floats right in to find her fresh out of the shower. Turns out she was just agonizing over which accessory he'd like best, and she finally emerges, all dressed up and apologizing for the delay. Back in the room, she notes how much stronger he has gotten lately. And after confirming she got the pills, she asks what is next on the agenda. She then tells him to lie down, much to his complete confusion. Before pushing him onto the bed, definitely taking the lead here, he decides to roll with it, offering to try a new technique to help her out. And when she asks why he is so eager, he just says he felt like it. She's got him pinned down, telling him to know his place. But back in his room, Su-Zing starts a new sim and gets a crazy luck talent, which the system explains with his chibi self surviving a plane crash in a tree. Or if a ship sinks, a friendly orca will just give him a lift, sure, why not? He figures there is a catch, and yep, it only works during a crisis. So with a wonderfully evil grin, he decides to just create his own crisis. His master plan involves chugging 2 pounds of arsenic in a pharmacy, which just gives him diarrhea and a 500k payout because the poison was expired. Our boy is thrilled, realizing he can literally profit from trying to die, and next he stops a bank robbery because the crooks forgot their bullets, earning a citizen award. Then a snake bite in the river leads to discovering a rare species and another reward. So convinced this is a solid business plan, he goes to find old man Zong. Zong threatens him with death, and Su-Zing is just like, yep, that is the plan. This pisses Zong off so much his own sword backfires, letting Su-Zing swipe a bag of pills. And just like that, he has got all the ingredients for his next breakthrough. With the goods secured, it is time to fire up the alchemy furnace, which immediately explodes in his face because of course it does. His chibi self is somehow ecstatic, cheering that the explosion worked, pulling out a glowing soul-forging pill, the key to his next level. And now he is ready to pop it and finally break through to the next realm. He pops the pill and his spirit goes full-on Super Saiyan, which gives Su-Zing a moment to look incredibly smug about it, but then his chibi soul just turns into a glowing egg. It even seems to have fallen asleep, much to his confusion, as a massive amount of golden energy starts swirling around it, which is apparently being fueled by the magic flowers he planted earlier. With his soul now officially golden, he pops another pill for round 2, and the power-up sequence gets even more intense, with his chibi self screaming for his soul to just break already, which it does, shattering its shell in a glorious explosion of light. From the wreckage, his nascent soul begins to evolve, transforming into a perfect golden copy of himself. Step 1 complete. Now at the half step to divinity, Su-Zing is ready for the 5 trials. But then he remembers he has actual stuff to do and cannot waste the sim. So the system fast-forwards through him defecting from the church again, where his insane luck buff makes him literally untouchable by assassins. After 6 years of powering up the nation, he finally starts his own training, and the system immediately hits him with Trial 1, the Lust Trial. Our boy is, shall we say, less than prepared for this development. So his first genius move is to fire up a VPN for research, obviously. Su-Zing is baffled why the Lust Trial requires an internet connection, and the system explains he is a pervert who needs to do research to pass, which he furiously denies, claiming to be a sworn enemy of all vice. But when asked about the adult content, he just stammers his denial again. After some extensive research, he is ready for the trial, looking absolutely spent. This test kicks off with an illusion of Kung Su asking to discuss Buddhism, and our boy is genuinely surprised to see such a pure version of her. But then he scoffs, saying he has already seen the real deal and is not tempted. So the simulation just leans into it, showing a romantic scene under the moonlight, which is Su-Zing panicking and shouting that this is not him at all, as the trial throws a very suggestive dessert scene his way, followed by Kung Su in a frilly outfit beckoning him closer. And then she is in a full-on bunny girl costume, before switching to a police uniform because this trial clearly has a budget. This system notes he is sinking deeper into this blissful fantasy, until he snaps himself out of it, yelling that he has the real thing at home. And suddenly he is in chains, realizing the whole thing was an illusion. So when a spirit version of her appears, he immediately calls it a fake, leaving him shaken by how terrifying the lust trial actually was. But now he can see through any temptation at a glance, pointing out the fake with ease. Su-Zing is looking way too proud of himself for passing the lust trial, and when the system asks how he did it, he gets this incredibly smug look, revealing his master plan was just imagining a roleplay where he is the monk. The system just gave up. With that out of the way, it is time for trial 2, the fear trial, which he scoffs at. This simulation immediately shatters around him, wiping that smirk right off his face, as a woman with face tattoos bursts in to announce the great beast has appeared, leaving Su-Zing completely baffled since the apocalypse just arrived years early. And yep, there it is, a giant demonic dragon roaring in the distance. Kung Su tells him to protect someone else while she goes to face the beast alone, and all he can do is scream her name as she flies off to certain death. This trial's first move is to show him kneeling over her dead body in the rubble, but through his tears he resolves to fight, believing he can at least wound it. He stands alone against the colossal monster, sword drawn for a final stand, but its roar alone is enough to rupture his organs from the inside out. Our boy gets absolutely demolished, slammed into a crater without a chance, and the system asks if he will keep fighting, knowing it is hopeless. That is when he finally understands his true fear, that all his efforts are for nothing, and in that single moment of hesitation, the beast swallows him whole. Back in his room, the simulation ends and he gets the lesson, doubt is defeat. For his reward, he chooses to keep his cultivation level and a new talent for avoiding calamity. Back in reality, his cultivation base absolutely erupts with power, and Su-Zing is loving his newfound control over spiritual energy. But he is a little confused why he did not bring back any actual cultivation gains, until he realizes he kept the memories of conquering the lust and fear trials. These trials are all about facing your inner self to achieve divinity, and our boy is just sweating, admitting he'd have failed without the Sims cheats. To pass the rest, he will need to grind more pills and run more simulations. So 1 week later, he is ready to fire up simulation number 38. This time he gets a wild new talent that makes him a literal background character, and his first thought is robbing a bank, a true hero's ambition. This system tells him to focus on training, but as he meditates, something feels off. He cannot quite shake the feeling that he is forgetting something important, until he notices his friend has not called to bother him like she usually does. Yep, the background character talent is so strong she completely forgot he exists. Without her help, he has to find the Advent Church headquarters on his own, casually strolling right through their ranks without anyone noticing a thing, and he is just baffled that even the Grandmaster-level elders are totally oblivious. So he makes his grand entrance by announcing a robbery which gets their attention, and after a quick show of force, the church is so impressed they welcome him in, only to immediately forget he is there and not assign him a room because of course. Suzing realizes the background character talent might have some disastrous side effects, but then immediately decides it is perfect for robbing a treasury again. In the sim, he and his buddy just walk out with the loot, totally unnoticed by the church. Back in the real world, the talent is so strong he has to slap a guy just to be seen, and even then the chief keeps forgetting he exists mid-conversation, forcing Suzing to literally bang his head against the wall in frustration. With that sorted, he is ready for the next trial, feeling super patient and confident, which of course means it is time for a rematch with the giant apocalypse dragon. This time he charges straight in with no hesitation, clashing with the beast, and just like that he passes the fear trial thanks to his previous run. His final fearless blow is so epic it literally splits a mountain in half, leaving him feeling totally invincible and unafraid of death. Next up is the greed trial, and he has already got a plan for that one, starting with becoming a beloved national hero for all his contributions. Then he gets on stage and asks his adoring fans for a palace made of gold, a true man of the people. His plan to beat greed is to become the greediest man alive, starting with a throne and a pile of treasure, and he even starts collecting legendary swords just to use as wallpaper. When someone asks to buy his life-saving pills, he quotes them 10 billion a pop, quickly becoming the richest man in the world, swimming in his own cash. His power trip peaks with him demanding a rival guild sell out just for the privilege of buying his stuff. A guild master pleads with him about her life's work, and Suzing's response is to just shatter the table with his fist, screaming that he is the one being merciful, a true man of the people. Soon the public starts turning on him, calling him arrogant and greedy, but his loyal supporters argue that the hero deserves to enjoy himself. Even his allies are done, with one telling him she is leaving for good, and when he forbids it, she just says he has become a total stranger. This finally triggers a moment of self-reflection as he stands on his mountain of gold, prompting a desperate call to Kung Su to help him donate everything he owns. Just like that, he is a broke farmer, forced to live a simple life of hard work, and he is absolutely not enjoying this ascetic lifestyle while feeding chickens. After 12 years of meditating, he finally lets go of his obsession with power, which triggers a massive breakthrough in the 15th year of the simulation. Snapping back to reality, Suzing is stunned to realize it was all an illusion, but he is also incredibly smug that himself found the trial's cheat code. With the greed trial officially cleared, his spiritual control is better than ever, so it is time for the next challenge, the arrogance trial. This illusion immediately makes him the king of the most powerful nation, and he is already critiquing the royal fruit with maximum condescension, then issues a decree for the entire kingdom to produce apples for him and only apples. His servant grovels in terror as Suzing's power trip hits its absolute peak. And when a neighboring kingdom rebels, he decides to teach them a brutal lesson, because how dare these peasants defy their great and glorious king? So he just wades into the crowd, cutting down civilians without a second thought. This entire nation is left a field of corpses, an easy and grim conquest, leaving him standing over the bodies, vaguely wondering if he went a little too far. That is when his own steward stabs him in the back, calling him a tyrant, explaining he wanted to serve a real king, not a monster who kills for fun. This word tyrant finally sinks in as he stares at the blood on his hand, and with his dying breath he admits his arrogance doomed them all. With that, the arrogance trial shatters, leaving only one challenge left, the wrath trial, which he dives into, ready to break through and achieve his soul transformation. But the trial starts with a girl telling him she is leaving for good and he is not having it. Though she just tells him to worry about not getting expelled first, suitcase in hand. She warns him that following her with his current strength is just suicide, and he is confused, thinking he is super powerful until he checks himself and, wait a minute, he realizes he has absolutely zero spiritual energy in his body. Panicking, our boy calls out for the system, but there is only silence. Convinced the system has abandoned him, he runs to the forest to find a dungeon, but finds nothing and then gets news that his sister and friend are dead. Years later in the trial, he is facing a two-headed nightmare beast, which promptly stomps him into the ground as he cries about being a useless loser. But from the real world, Suzing yells at himself to wake up, it is all fake. And just like that, the illusion starts to lose its grip on him, letting him stand up, fully aware that none of his suffering is real. With that realization, the entire wrath trial just shatters around him, and our boy is just relieved his real-world brain can cheat the system for him. Having passed all 5 trials, his body erupts with golden spiritual energy, as his nascent soul evolves into a full-on golden god of war. and his divine sense expands, letting him perceive the entire city at once. Next step is to merge his primordial spirit into this new supersoul, creating an avatar that just radiates pure, unadulterated power, its eyes blazing with concentrated energy. He is basically immortal now. If his body dies, his soul can just find a new one, and Su Xing is absolutely loving the idea of having a backup life. With a smug grin, he confirms he has officially reached the soul transformation stage, then immediately goes to check on his special spirit flower, but it is gone. Turns out his breakthrough was so intense it depowered the flower back into a regular chicken, and his first thought is not disappointment, but how he can scam his friend for more resources. With his new power level, the next simulation throws him right into a demon-slaying war. He is eager to test just how far his new soul transformation can push back the apocalypse, and his fearless charge inspires the entire nation to fight alongside him. Until 25 years later, a legendary multi-eyed beast finally appears. Back in reality, Su Xing is just thrilled he bought the world an extra 10 years. Now it is time to cash in, extracting all that divine power from the simulation, and the energy erupts, blasting him straight to divine power realm level 4. Naturally, the first thing he does is admire his new abs, feeling twice as strong, as the system explains that body refiners are strong but chi refiners have range, which usually means getting vaporized before you can even land a punch. But with his new divine power, Su Xing is confident he can just crush his rivals like tiny dolls. Next up, he tests his divine sense, expanding its range across the city, which translates to a full 10-kilometer radius, his own personal surveillance network. With this kind of perception, he can instantly detect any danger or assassination attempt. And he is already gloating that his old rival cannot ambush him ever again. But his city-wide scan immediately picks up something strange: Qingshuan on a rooftop, where she is meeting a shady-robed figure who is laying down some kind of deal. His golden spirit form zips right over, demanding to know what is going on, but then decides to play it cool and just wait for her to confess later. Then he pulls up his stat sheet, which is now just a ridiculous wall of text listing his op talents. After admiring his progress, he realizes his main technique is about to hit its limit, time for an upgrade. Su Xing realizes he's got a fire affinity but no fire moves, a clear gap in his arsenal, so it is time for a mental PowerPoint on the 3 ways to acquire new techniques, with option 1 being to grind a dungeon through immersive simulations, which sounds like way too much work and our boy is allergic to that. Option 2 is to just go ask that ancient dog monster for his secret scrolls. And the final choice is to raid the Dharma Ending Era dungeon where skills are supposedly cheap. This plan is simple: rob the dog, then hit the dungeon, a classic 2-step to power. Just then his phone rings and it is Qingshuan on the line. He meets her, fully expecting her to confess about that shady rooftop meeting, but instead she breaks down, telling him her parents are dead. Su Xing immediately comforts her, asking her to explain what happened. And she reveals her parents were members of the Black Dragon Guild farming dungeons. They were killed on a run after the guild gave them bad intel, and then the guild refused to pay compensation, even demanding she pay for their lost gear. This name, Black Dragon Guild, rings a bell for Su Xing, who suddenly recalls taking over that exact guild in a past simulation. He offers her a storage ring with 2 million in cash and equipment, but she refuses. So he calls it a loan she has to keep secret, which she finally accepts. Overcome with gratitude, she leaps into his arms, much to his public embarrassment. And now it all makes sense. Her future turn to the dark side is all about getting revenge on this guild. Su Xing starts connecting the dots: the Black Dragon Guild and that shady descent sect are linked. So he immediately calls Kung Su, asking for any contacts inside the guild. And she agrees to help in exchange for her weekly supply of pills. When they meet, she is trying her usual flirty routine, asking if he likes her outfit. But Su Xing just shuts it down, telling her to stop testing him and get to business. With that settled, she hands him a file, confirming the guild is pure scum. Their whole business model is luring in experts with free high-tier gear, then sending them on suicide missions once they have outlived their usefulness. To top it off, they bill the dead person's family for the lost items, and since they are well connected, nobody can touch them, so Su Xing decides he will. He is all fired up for justice, but Kung Su calls him out for only caring because of Qingshuan, then just decks him for getting ahead of himself, a classic friendly punch to the face. Nursing his cheek, Su Xing finally understands why Qingshuan was pushed to the dark side. As he leaves, he tells Kung Su to keep an eye on the guild for him. And later that night, he is staking out their vault, ready for some recon. His golden soul avatar detaches, preparing to go full ghost mode, zipping right past the oblivious guards without them noticing a thing. Inside, his spirit form is absolutely stunned by what he finds. This entire vault is just packed to the ceiling with white-grade equipment. He tells the system to appraise the loot, and the value is so high it almost breaks the scanner. This system confirms the haul is 100 million points and our boy's soul is officially rich. While he also finds high-grade metal, proof the guild has been scamming people for ages. But then a sound makes him whip around, sensing something else nearby, and he finds the inner sanctum is guarded by heavy-duty puppets. He just strolls up and gives them a little boop on the forehead, easily deactivating their spiritual controls since the guild cannot use real power. Inside, his jaw just drops. This is not a vault, it is a treasure palace, and he starts digging through records, wondering how they amassed all this. To find the real dirt, his golden soul form pops out to do some ghost snooping, zipping through the shelves on the hunt for secrets. His spiritual sense immediately locks onto a hidden ledger because of course it does, and his soul form snatches the invisible book right out of the air. This contents are infuriating. It is a log of offerings from the guild to the Advent Church. Actually, it is worse. The Black Dragon Guild is just a front organization for the church, and he pulls out a specific document from within the ledger, which details a plan to survive the impending apocalypse. It turns out the church's grand plan is to escape * to the demon realm, revealing that the invading monsters are from another dimension entirely. At that exact moment, the intruder alarm finally decides to blare. Great timing, guys. But Su-Zing just smirks with his loot since robbing the church is basically his part-time job. With his heist complete, he leaves the guild a sarcastic thank you on his way out. And back in reality, Su-Zing immediately asks the system for the final score, which comes back as 170 million points. Our boy is officially rich. Just then his phone rings and it is Kung Su, which is weird since he already got his weekly delivery, and she immediately asks if he is the one who just bankrupted the Black Dragon Guild. So Su-Zing tries to play dumb, but she warns him they are hunting for him everywhere. Apparently they have put out a bounty for an unknown Emperor rank expert, a bounty worth 100 million, which has our boy absolutely shook. Suddenly paranoid, he decides to lay low at school just in case they have a way to track him, and his genius plan for hiding is to just jump into another simulation. This system rewards him with a new talent, Unyielding Golden Spear, for combat endurance, and he immediately yells at the system for giving him a romance novel power-up during an apocalypse. Resigned to his fate, he just decides to roll with whatever weird talents he gets. Because this time his goal is to test the church's escape plan to the demon realm. So to avoid the guild, the simulation starts with him hiding out in a blessed land, where he meditates for a whole month while Kung Su blows up his phone in the real world. A month later, she has had enough, demanding he come out since the bounty's gone and she needs her pills. So the simulation log notes that he finally met up with her. And after exchanging pleasantries, they got straight to the point, a very, very important point, leaving Su-Zing absolutely thrilled with the results of his amazing new talent. He reflects on his new talent, thinking it'd be legendary if not for the whole world-ending thing. And back in the sim, he brushes off Kung Su's advances to ask for help with business, because by saving Kingshuan, he has lost his only connection to the Advent Church. So Kung Su agrees to find their location for him within 3 days. This system log updates. The church is hiding out in Xuanqing City, way out in the southwest, and Su-Zing hatches a plan to make the cult come to him. His strategy is simple: unleash a massive golden spiritual aura in the middle of the street, basically putting up a giant, glowing come-at-me sign for any high-level practitioners, which immediately draws a high-speed purple energy slash right at his head. And he just smirks, totally ready for the fight he just instigated. A robed cultist drops in, demanding to know who he is. But before he can attack, some other guy blasts the cultist with a fireball. Seeing his chance, Su-Zing draws his sword and dives into the fray, clashing blades with the robed attacker in a burst of energy, and he easily shatters the guy's defense with a single powerful strike. This cultist hits the ground, coughing up blood from the impact, but then gets up and actually compliments Su-Zing on his impressive power. Su-Zing is stunned. He recognizes this guy as old dog Zong from a past life. While Zong assumes Su-Zing must be using some kind of possession technique to be so young and strong, Su-Zing plays it cool, and Zong, a protector of the church, extends an official invitation, bait taken. Su-Zing puts on his best poker face, asking about this Advent Church, while internally he is just begging them to let him infiltrate their little club. This simulation log confirms he follows old dog Zong right to their headquarters, where another robed member immediately questions, bringing in some random guy off the street. This new cultist calls Zong's move reckless, clearly not a fan of new blood, but Zong defends Su-Zing as a master, forcing our boy to live up to the hype. To gain their trust, he has to present a gift worthy of his high-end persona, which turns out to be legendary life-sustaining pills, absolutely shocking the cultists. Suddenly, the skeptical guy is all impressed, admitting Su-Zing knows his stuff, even though Su-Zing is internally weeping over the 99 furnaces he blew up for this stunt. With the bribe accepted, they officially welcome their new excellency into the fold. This simulation jumps ahead, showing him and Zong acting like the best of friends. But behind everyone's back, he is secretly meeting with a new partner in crime, Luo Shiang. 3 years later, the two of them are robbing the church's treasury clean, and Su-Zing explains this is all about getting revenge on Zong for killing him in past lives. Just as planned, Zong takes the fall for the robbery and is now a fugitive from his own church. A red cloth waves in the air. It is a wonderful, wonderful day, because Su-Zing is literally dancing with joy that the old dog is finally getting what he deserves. With his revenge plot complete, he joins the military and heads for the demon suppression pass, planning to slaughter his way through beast hordes to finally reach the demon realm. Su-Zing is just carving his way through demon hordes at the pass, and all that killing manifests a creepy new shadow buddy, which he immediately weaponizes, riding it into battle like a pro. Because his killing intent is so strong that weaker monsters just flee on sight, so he has to actively hunt for higher-tier beasts to level up his murder aura. But he is so op that nothing can put up a fight. The struggle is real, and he is getting bored, wondering when he will finally reach the border, when suddenly a massive silhouette appears on the horizon. Ask and you shall receive, as a giant, flaming-headed rhino demon finally steps up to the plate. And its punch is so strong it nearly shatters Su-Zing's defense. But our boy is absolutely thrilled to finally have a real challenge, until the demon's fist erupts in a strange, powerful fire, which it then starts charging into a massive energy ball, and Su-Zing realizes this is not just any ordinary flame he is facing, because this fire can actually burn through his special ink ice sword. So if ice will not work, he decides to fight fire with even bigger fire, calling forth his own leaf fire and channeling it into his blade, then unleashing a massive counterbeam of pure golden energy, which slams right into the demon with overwhelming force. And with the beast defeated, he wonders if he just took down a demon emperor. After the fight, the demon leaves behind a glowing orb and Su-Zing is just baffled, until he realizes it is a demon core, basically a giant floating power-up. So he immediately sits down to absorb the thing, for science. And the core's energy blasts him straight to the 7th level of divine strength. Our boy is ecstatic. These cores are a gold mine for leveling up 3 stages at once. His new plan is simple: kill everything, take their cores, and become a god. For a solid month, he just carves a path of destruction through the pass, finally reaching the edge of the wall, ready to dive into the demon realm. But Luo Shang shows up, worried about the danger, while he is just determined to go. And with a dramatic leap, he dives right off the massive fortification. He lands in a desolate wasteland filled with bones and a river of blood. Standing on a massive dragon skeleton, he admits this is way more brutal than he imagined. With purple energy crackling, he gets ready for whatever this hellscape throws at him, looking out over a literal graveyard for monsters. This giant blood moon overhead is giving him the chills, really setting the mood. And he wonders why the demon realm is just one big burial ground. Suddenly, Luo Shang is right behind him, explaining the moon drives monsters into a killing frenzy. And when he asks why she is here, she says she was worried, but he just warns her she will die. Her response is to get all handsy, saying she wants to be with him anyway. He is not impressed. Then she notices something's off, asking if he has been affected by the killing moon. Luo Shang explains the blood moon drives everything into a killing frenzy, but Su-Zing just smirks, totally immune to its mind control nonsense. And she brings up the old plan to escape through the demon realm, only to learn this place is a killing battlefield, a hub between worlds. Turns out a massive ancient war shattered reality into these pocket dimensions, and that giant moon is actually a fallen evil god trying to resurrect itself. No big deal. These battlefields apparently connect to countless different worlds, which means he could technically visit her home, and she confirms that is how she got here. His big brain immediately goes to flanking the demons, but it is a cosmic lottery where you end up. So a new, absolutely terrible idea starts brewing in his head. His genius solution: if the passage is dangerous, just destroy the entire battlefield. Though she warns him the center is basically a suicide run, but he is not hearing it. This simulation log notes that, inspired by his death wish, she decides to tag along, forcing him to play babysitter as the moon's influence gets stronger. And he shoves a pill in her mouth, saying they can always hide if things go south. Suddenly, a pair of glowing red eyes appear in the darkness, and Su-Zing knows they are in some serious trouble. A legendary tier monster emerges, looking absolutely thrilled to have found them, and before our boy can even blink, he gets sliced into pieces. This simulation ends with him getting a new talent called Dying with Regrets. How fitting. Waking up from his latest death, Su-Zing mulls over that whole evil god moon situation, and he deduces the moon itself has no real power unless it is not an object at all, which it is not. It is an evil god, and he is way too weak to fight that thing yet. So he decides to cash in his simulation rewards, a power boost and 20 years of combat experience. Golden spiritual energy immediately floods his room as he absorbs the prize, and he settles in to properly digest all that new strength. This combat memories hit him hard, making him feel like he is right back at the pass. And with the power fully integrated, a glowing orb forms in his hands. His cultivation is way up, but he is a little confused about where the combat experience went, until his phone alarm goes off. Time for the most important task of the day: feeding the chickens. But the moment the flock sees him, they absolutely lose their minds with terror, with 2 of them literally begging for their lives and ratting out their buddy for a rebellion. Su-Zing is just baffled, asking them to please dial the drama down a notch. But it is too late for that. One is already foaming at the mouth, a true poultry tragedy. Suddenly, he has a moment of terrifying clarity, because his own shadow is radiating pure, unadulterated killing intent. So that is * the combat experience, an aura so potent it can suppress his enemies. He is thrilled with the system's top-tier rewards, while the chicken just wants its dinner already. With his new power sorted, he heads to the Bailey family estate, a clan with some serious cash, landing silently in their courtyard, ready for whatever business he's got planned. This head of the Bailey family asks if Su-Zing is here to rob him or kill him. But Su-Zing clarifies he is not here for cash, he is here to make a deal with a dying man. He tosses the old man a bottle, telling him to check out the goods, and inside is a single glowing pill, practically screaming, "I am important." This old guy absolutely loses it. It is a legendary life-sustaining pill, while Su-Zing smugly confirms it'll buy him a solid 5 years of life. 5 years is basically an eternity for this guy, and he is floored. So he immediately drops to his knees, explaining he has terminal cancer and nothing else worked. This man offers his entire family fortune for more pills, but Su-Zing is not interested in money, saying he will hand over the goods, but there is a catch, and the old man is ready to promise anything. His one demand: all the useless dungeon items his son has been hoarding for years. This family head is completely baffled, calling the items literal trash, but Su-Zing insists. This just breaks the old man's brain. Is this a scam, or does this guy just have terrible taste? Shaking off his confusion, he agrees to the deal, ready to call his son after taking the pill. He pops the medicine without a second thought because what has he got to lose, and for a second it looks like something's gone horribly wrong. But then he gets a full-body power-up, instantly looking like a ripped grandpa. Even his hands are de-aging, the calluses just melting away. And a quick mirror check confirms it. He is looking a decade younger and way more jacked. Overjoyed, he thanks Su Xing for saving his life and promises to summon his son immediately. This son, however, refuses to give up his precious dungeon junk. They are one of a kind, you see. So his dying father immediately starts smacking him for being a rebellious hoarder. And the kid tries to backtrack, saying he just does not think his trash is worth that much. But Su Xing smoothly explains that this trash is exactly what he is looking for. He hands over a storage ring for the collection, though the son is still trying to pay with cash, until his dad's death glare finally convinces him to choose his father's life over his trinkets. With that settled, Su Xing sets up a long-term deal, exotic metals for more life-sustaining pills, and the old man is ecstatic to learn there is absolutely no limit to this arrangement. This deal is struck, with the old man bowing in gratitude while Su Xing mentally counts his future riches, and the son sulks back to hand over the ring looking absolutely heartbroken. Su Xing makes a dramatic exit out the window, promising to return for his payment next week. And the second he is gone, the family head orders his butler to tail him immediately. But the son smugly reveals he already put trackers on all his items. Checkmate. For this act of basic cunning, his dad is suddenly bursting with pride. The bar is on the floor. Meanwhile, Su Xing is flying through the city, asking his system for the grand total, which comes back as a mind-boggling 480 million energy points. Our boy is so stunned by the number that he literally gets knocked out of the air, before breaking into a fit of pure, unadulterated joy. Getting rich is awesome. He is celebrating with his little system buddy when it decides to rain on his parade, because it just detected a whole bunch of tracking devices mixed in with his loot. Su Xing just smirks, completely unsurprised. They had a backup plan, and it turns out they sent a whole welcome committee to track him down. So he immediately sets the lot of them on fire. Problem solved, leaving these poor saps to get absolutely roasted for their trouble. Before one can escape, Su Xing grabs him for a little chat. And the goon immediately starts begging, ready to sell out his boss to save his own skin. Meanwhile, the butler reports back with a broken arm, calling Su Xing's power unfathomable, explaining that even a martial emperor got completely wrecked in a single hit. This old man realizes he is dealing with someone near legendary status. And just then, the son runs in, announcing all his precious trackers are dead. Realizing their massive mistake, the dad orders them to buy every metal mine they can find. Back home, Su Xing kicks off his weekly simulation, getting a brand new talent. This one called Artifact Refinement Genius, a natural for crafting top-tier gear. Our boy is thrilled. This is basically a license to print money, until he remembers he has zero crafting knowledge, making the talent temporarily useless. His simulation begins with an unexpected invite from his friend Fatty Yu, who promptly drags him out of the dorm for a graduation meal. This meal apparently involves some truly passionate karaoke. Su Xing is just mortified. This was supposed to be dinner, not a one-man concert. He listens to his friend's dreams, knowing the apocalypse is just 2 decades away. Su Xing gets surprisingly philosophical at karaoke, deciding to just live in the moment. And with mic in hand, he fully commits to the vibe. While his friend has a full-on emotional crisis over a power ballad, our boy realizes this whole hangout is actually clearing his mind for cultivation. So feeling refreshed, the simulation sends him right back to the Luo Tian dungeon for a breakthrough. Inside, an elder praises his rapid progress, calling him a candidate for Holy Sun, and Su Xing's first thought is how this new title will completely derail the dungeon's plot. He asks for the secret to the next realm, and his master reveals it is all about Yuan power. This energy has 3 distinct stages for refining your body, starting with internal strengthening before wearing it like a suit of armor. This final stage lets you blast it outwards or infuse weapons for maximum lethality, and his master gifts him a direct infusion of the stuff, a nice little starter pack. Su Xing immediately feels the upgrade, now sporting a personal force field, but to complete the breakthrough, he is told to go train in the Limitless Land. This place is just a nightmare zone of extreme environments meant to break you, and his takeaway is that he needs to find a spark of life in a near-death situation. Sounds fun. Back in reality, he is just exhausted thinking about all that effort, but the potential rewards are massive and he is already planning his next run. This simulation continues, showing him using a guy named Old Dog Zong to get into the Advent Church, where he strong-arms the guy into a sworn brotherhood pact right in front of the elders. A year into the simulation, he defects from the church, a move that gets Old Dog Zong killed. But first, he gives his new friend a ring with 10 years' worth of cultivation pills, and she promises to wait for him to come back from his secluded meditation. He finds a nice, blessed land to finally start cultivating that tricky Yuan power, only to spend a year making absolutely zero progress, a truly pathetic display. But hey, at least his cultivation broke through to the 3rd layer of divinity transformation, so it is not a total loss. Right before all the spiritual energy in the area completely vanishes, of course. Not about to waste the simulation, he checks his phone for any backup plans, and an idea hits him: the Dharma Ending Era dungeon. He figures with his new power level, he is finally strong enough to explore the place, which looks every bit as desolate and dead as its name suggests. With a flex of his will, he sends out his divine sense to scout the area, his golden spiritual energy sweeping across the entire mountain range, and the scan quickly locates 3 different sect gates tucked away at the base. He immediately clocks one as the home of the Cheon art, but since it is also Old Dog Zong's sect, he decides to avoid it for now. His new plan is to hit the Xuanwang sect first and meet up with a Dazia spy, so our boy strolls right up to the front gate, ready for some espionage. Inside, his contact hears him approach, calling out a secret code phrase, and Su Xing smirks, delivering the perfect response. He has found his man. This spy greets him with a huge grin, thinking he is finally getting extracted, but Su Xing has to awkwardly explain he was just in the neighborhood. Dropping the friendly act, the spy gets down to business, asking for his real orders. So Su Xing asks if the sect has any techniques for cultivating yuan power. His contact is practically bouncing, asking what quality of technique he'd like. Service with a smile. Su Xing gives him a skeptical look, wondering if this guy can even make that call. But the spy insists he is doing pretty well for himself here. By pretty well, he means he is the acting sect leader. Talk about a promotion. Our boy is internally screaming, this dude has climbed the corporate ladder all the way to the top. And just like that, the simulation confirms he gets the technique and some crucial intel, along with a token to explore some ancient ruins where all the spiritual energy went. This simulation fast-forwards to Su Xing standing inside those very ruins, and he immediately gets a very, very bad feeling about this. He turns, sensing a presence right behind him. Just in time to see a massive energy blast coming his way, and the attacker is none other than Old Dog Zong, who is extremely not dead and very pissed off. Su Xing just casually summons a blade of pure energy, ready for a fight. A wicked grin spreading across his face, he has been itching for a real challenge. Igniting his aura, he decides this is the perfect chance to sharpen his killing intent. And with a roar, he clashes with Zong, kicking off the battle for real. Old Dog Zong screams that Su Xing is about to die, and our boy just grins, telling him to bring it on. This simulation explains this fight has been going for 3 straight days, with Zong admitting his sword skills are trash but his magic is unbeatable. To prove his point, he summons a giant purple energy snake, but Su Xing just scoffs, casually holding a ball of fire. His leaf fire technique blasts down from the sky, while Zong unleashes his army of soul puppets to counter. Su Xing weaves through the spectral attacks with ease, smugly explaining he knows the array's weakness because he has killed Zong before. With his main trick busted, Zong just runs for his life, which only delays the inevitable sword through the chest. Su Xing is just annoyed he had to kill the guy to inherit his wealth, such an inconvenience. Intrigued by Zong's powers, the simulation sends him to the Changchun sect, where an elder immediately asks if he is the one from that huge battle. This guy is practically tripping over himself to be polite to the new powerhouse, and the sect master personally shows him to the scripture pavilion. There, Su Xing finds the book detailing Zong's fortune-telling technique, which the system immediately identifies as a rare heaven-rank skill. He opens the book, completely stunned by what he has found. He is just staring at the book, wondering why this specific art is here. And the sect master explains you have to synthesize 3 lesser techniques to make a heaven-rank one, which immediately makes Su Xing think of a mobile merge game. So much for serious cultivation. This old guy holds up the other 2 books, revealing a pact between the 3 sects to share the results. So Su Xing points out that someone must have already succeeded for them to even know this. But the formula vanished when all the spiritual energy disappeared, leaving them stuck for years. Just as things look hopeless, the sect master hints there is another way, offering him a jade token that is a map to an ancient tomb where the recipe is hidden. Our boy accepts the quest item, promising to repay the favor if he succeeds. This simulation ends, dropping Su Xing right at the entrance to those ruins, and he steps inside, wondering what kind of secrets are waiting for him, only to find a stunning paradise instead of a dusty tomb. Talk about false advertising. Completely thrown off, he pulls out the jade map to figure out what is going on, and it reveals the real entrance is hidden in a valley somewhere in these mountains. Time for a shortcut, he sends out his spiritual sense to scan the entire area. But a month later, the simulation confirms he has found absolutely nothing. With his high-tech method failing, he is forced to search the old-fashioned way on foot, wandering the hills and even catching a rabbit for a quick meal. He kicks back by a stream, thinking this would be a great vacation spot without the apocalypse. Right before his dinner apparently comes back to life to poke him in the face. This resurrected rabbit bolts, with Su Xing giving chase like a madman. This bunny suddenly sprouts a halo and parkours up a cliff face, leading him to a ridiculously massive mountain he somehow missed. He is completely baffled how his all-seeing spiritual scan missed a landmark this big. Because the rock is literally invisible to spiritual energy, a perfect cloaking device. Realizing this is the true entrance, he winds up for a punch, smashing the entire rock face into pieces. Behind the rubble is a glowing cave, just as the map promised. Our boy strolls inside, ready for treasure and secrets, only to be greeted by a truly unpleasant surprise. This place is a graveyard littered with the bodies of previous explorers. His danger sense skill immediately screams at him to get the hell out, since going further is just asking to get killed, which means a week-long cooldown, so he decides to bail for now and come back when he is leveled up. This system logs the coordinates and he pops back to reality. Back home, he finally starts making progress with that yuan power technique. until at last he successfully infuses his hand with the energy. By year 18 of the simulation, he has basically mastered it, looking absolutely unhinged. Then his phone alarm goes off, reminding him of his real priorities, watering his flowers because even a god-tier cultivator cannot escape chores. Suzing suddenly realizes something about his little flower garden, because the flowers are literally producing spirit liquid, a super rare resource. This whole field of glowing blue plants explains his recent smooth cultivation. And he is just thrilled his blessed land is basically a spiritual energy factory. This simulation says he spends a week collecting a full bottle of the stuff, then immediately decides to chug it for a quick power-up. A massive wave of energy floods his system, way more potent than spirit stones. With this, he is confident he can reach peak power before the apocalypse hits. Years pass in the simulation as he just grinds away, surrounded by empty bottles. But by year 25, he is still stuck, crying that the final breakthrough is too hard. With the end of the world getting closer, he decides to revisit that ancient tomb, where he finds the glowing skeleton of a seriously powerful cultivator. He respectfully pats the corpse on the shoulder, telling the senior to rest in peace, only for the skeleton's hand to shoot up and grab him by the face, yanking him down with enough force to crack the entire floor. Our boy is just screaming as he is dragged into the darkness by his new skeletal friend, forcing him to blast it with his leaf fire technique. Standing over the flames, he grumbles that being a good person just does not pay. But then he looks down into the pit, completely shocked by what he sees. It is a mass grave filled with an endless pile of skulls. Suzing picks his way through the boneyard, lantern held high, and the sheer number of remains is just mind-boggling. He realizes these were all void returning realm cultivators, absolute powerhouses, which begs the question, what the hell is in here that could kill them all? Deeper in the cave, he senses a faint trace of spiritual energy, and though it is thin, it is more than enough to get him moving. So he rocket jumps with his fire technique toward the source. He lands right in the heart of it, a chamber of glowing blue crystals. But a shadowy figure with red eyes immediately drops down to attack. And he barely blocks the strike, realizing it is some kind of puppet. This creepy doll thing is strong enough to shatter his ice techniques with ease, making him realize it is at the same insane power level as the dead masters. Alright, time for a real test. He charges up his fist, deciding to try out that brand new Yuan Force punch he's been working on. This puppet just casually catches his fist, so much for that epic power-up. In return, it blasts him with a beam that completely craters the floor. And just like that, he is dead, simulation over. Back in reality, he processes the data, yep, one-shotted by a single puppet. Our boy is absolutely determined to return once he is strong enough for round 2. For now, he cashes out his rewards, taking his cultivation progress and all those spirit flowers. Suzing is absolutely giddy over his thousands of spirit flowers. Right before his roommate pops in to announce he has found him a new apartment. Which is news to Suzing, who had no plans on moving. Turns out the roommate is graduating, so Suzing is getting kicked out for a freshman. He is torn since the university is safe, but a new roommate would see his secret training. And his friend just scoffs at the idea of getting a single dorm, unless he is staff. A light bulb goes off. If he needs to be staff, he will just become staff. Wasting no time, he pulls out his phone to call in a favor. Asking a white-haired acquaintance for an easy university job with a private room. She agrees, but with one very suspicious-sounding condition, leaving our boy a little stunned by the sudden strings attached. Her price is him leaving his door unlocked every night, and he is too desperate to say no. With a job secured, he decides to squeeze in a quick simulation before anything else. And the system immediately grants him a new purple talent for a raise. Suzing is hyped, seeing another potential money-making skill, but then he remembers he does not own a single book on a raise, making it useless. So he just shelves the new talent in his inventory for a later date, and the next simulation starts with him collecting his spirit liquid. After doing the math, he realizes his garden is an absolute goldmine, so he uses old dog Zong's identity to trade his new liquid for some array manuals. This trade for array manuals goes exactly as planned. Zong also tries to sell him on some evil cultivation like a true gentleman. Suzing just dips out, chugging his spirit liquid to focus on the real grind. By year 11 of this sim, his control over Yuan Force is getting seriously sharp, letting him throw these absolutely devastating energy punches. To test his new strength, he grabs a huge chunk of exotic metal, tosses it into the air, and winds up for the shot. His fist connects, shattering the super durable metal instantly, and our boy is just loving the results of his hard work. He is already thinking about crashing the Luo Tian Grand Assembly with this kind of power. In a new simulation, he plays the role of a disciple being praised by his master, who offers him a divine weapon for mastering Yuan Force infusion. This master hands him a wood-chopping axe, which is a little underwhelming. But the old man explains that is the point. Yuan weapons start from the most basic forms. With enough nurturing, even this humble axe can become an immortal tool. This method is simple, just keep pumping his power into it. With his new toy in hand, the disciple thanks his master for the lesson. This simulation ends and Suzing cashes out, getting all the techniques from that master new Ruli, including a pill that will help him finally break through to the void returning realm. He is absolutely thrilled with the massive haul from this run. With a mountain of new treasures, he settles down in his blessed land to get back to cultivating. With his new spirit liquid, Suzing's cultivation skyrockets, pushing him to the very brink of the void returning realm. But to make that final leap, he needs a special pill and an extreme land. so a new simulation has him hunting for a key ingredient, spring dew pure water. This stuff is absurdly specific, requiring him to catch the first 10 drops of a summer rain. His brilliant plan to grab it from the clouds just earns him a face full of lightning, leaving him on the ground complaining that the rain is just too fast. Next, he tries diving into the deep sea to collect the water, then takes a casual tour through a volcano for good measure. After all that, he finally has his bottle of ridiculously sourced water. To prep for the pill refining, he immediately gets back to training his spiritual sense, then heads to the Blood Moon land hoping to find a proper extreme land for his breakthrough. This local monsters, however, take one look at him and start running for their lives, and Su Xing is literally begging them to attack him, desperate for a real challenge. Their cowardice just makes him sad, so he starts hopping between dungeons instead. His new training regimen includes taking relaxing baths in magma pools, meditating peacefully in a sea of fire, and sleeping on a bed of exotic metal spikes as one does. A year of this fails to trigger an extreme land, but his body gets a massive upgrade anyway. Su Xing is just furious, yelling at the sky that being too strong is now his biggest problem. Su Xing is still moping about needing an extreme land since the only one he knows is a guaranteed death sentence. When suddenly he is back in the simulation, about to become lunch for a giant space worm. But this time he actually survives inside its stomach, celebrating that he is no longer getting one-shotted. And just as he is feeling good about himself, something feels very wrong. A bolt of lightning fries him from the inside out, instantly ending the simulation. So much for progress. Back in reality, a light bulb goes off. The beast's belly is the perfect extreme land he needs for his breakthrough. This only tiny problem is that his body could not even last long enough to start cultivating, so he figures he just needs to buff his protective chi to survive the experience. Before any of that, he remembers he's got rewards to cash in from the last run, and immediately starts complaining that the system's prices are getting ridiculously steep. Realizing he is short on energy points, he decides it is time to go shopping at the Bailey residence again. Which of course means scaling a tree in the pouring rain to sneak onto their property. He activates his spiritual sense to scout the manor for any high-level experts, finding only a dozen heavenly kings and 3 martial emperors, a totally normal security detail, and he is not even a little worried, convinced none of them can touch him. Meanwhile, the head of the Bailey family is getting a weekly report on their dungeon drops. Wondering aloud when that mysterious senior will show up for his next life-sustaining pill. And right on cue, Su Xing drops in from the ceiling, scaring the hell out of the old man's subordinate. This Bailey master, trying to act casual, asks why he did not call first, but Su Xing just asks about the loot. And the old man immediately promises to get him whatever he needs, because that is what you do when a god-tier cultivator breaks into your office. Su Xing offers another life-extending pill, demanding the same payment as last time, and the Bailey master practically throws a storage ring at him, apologizing for his son's previous attitude. A quick peek inside reveals a haul 3 times bigger than before, a solid 200 million energy points. On top of that, the old man offers even more items as a token of gratitude, leaving our boy internally screaming about his new 300 million point fortune. Playing it cool, Su Xing accepts, telling the master he is pleased with the service. As he leaves, he offers a favor in return, a get-out-of-jail-free card if the family ever faces a crisis. This master and his subordinate are just stunned, realizing they now have a god-tier backer. They figure he must be some legendary expert who just wants to be left alone, and the old man immediately regrets having a useless son instead of a daughter to marry off. His subordinate reminds him they are just lucky this mysterious senior chose them at all, which inspires the master to double down on business to keep their new patron happy. Back in his room, Su Xing is rubbing his hands together, ready for a major shopping spree. He decides on 2 key upgrades, protective chi and a spiritual sense visualization method. This new techniques immediately manifest as 2 swirling streams of energy, which then merge into a single, overwhelming force above him. He activates the protective chi, surrounding himself in a crackling purple aura, which then forms into a full suit of spiky energy armor that should help with the stomach acid. Next, his spiritual sense absolutely explodes, reaching a mind-boggling 7,000 zhang, allowing him to scan the entire city as if he were its new all-seeing god. Su Xing is basking in his new power, wondering if this is what being a god feels like. Until his own good sense literally zaps him back to reality, no time for an ego trip, and he reminds himself the apocalypse is coming, so he needs to stay focused. A week later, it is back to the grind, and the system immediately drops a new purple talent on him, giving him a dual spirit root that boosts his cultivation speed by 100 times. This is the one. In the first year of the sim, his power absolutely skyrockets thanks to the new talent. And by year 2, he is already blasting fireballs and nearing the next stage of cultivation. 3 years in, his spiritual sense has expanded to an insane 9,100 zhang, leaving Su Xing in tears, realizing how much he was struggling before this upgrade. After 10 years, his protective chi is maxed out, and he is itching to go monster hunting. So he heads to some ancient tomb ruins to sharpen his killing intent on the local wildlife. At the entrance, he is met by a puppet guardian who he immediately challenges to a fight, and the good news is with his new defenses, the puppet cannot even scratch him. This bad news is he cannot seem to land a hit on the puppet either, a perfect stalemate. Suddenly, he remembers his actual goal is not to fight a training dummy but to get inside the tomb. So he starts dodging and weaving, looking for an opening to just slip past the Guardian. Deciding to make his own opening, he unleashes a huge energy blast to knock the puppet back. And with the Guardian out of the way, he smirks that playtime is officially over. Inside the ruins, he finds a hidden oasis filled with spirit herbs, completely shocked they exist here. And a closer look reveals they are not just any herbs, they are all incredibly high grade. Following a sea of glowing flowers, Suzing thinks he is on the right track to the tomb's core. Until he walks face first into an invisible barrier, classic. He quickly deduces this wall is the source of all the spiritual energy leaking out. So he summons a sword, ready to just brute force his way through. His sword immediately shatters, leaving him wondering what this thing is even made of. And with the puppet guardians closing in, he is running out of time for science experiments. Deciding to go with what works, he winds up for a good old Yuan force punch. And just smashes his fist right into the energy field, which thankfully shatters into a million pieces. A wave of pure spiritual energy washes over him from the opening, but the puppets are right on his heels, so no time to enjoy the breeze. He dives through the gap, basically telling the Guardian to talk to the hand, only to land somewhere completely unexpected, wondering where the hell he is now. It is a massive, perfectly tended farm of spirit herbs, making him question if he is still in the ruins at all. Where he immediately spots a supreme-grade lingjai, a treasure you only find on spirit veins. Next to that is some top-tier ginseng because this place is just ridiculous. And a smug grin spreads across his face as he realizes what this means. He has found the jackpot, a legendary dragon spirit vein, complete with a sleeping baby dragon. Legend says when a spirit vein gets this dense, it literally creates a living creature. And wherever this little guy hangs out, the spiritual energy is basically infinite. Suzing ponders a cosmic mystery about this powerful dragon. Just as the little guy starts sobbing its heart out, a voice tells him to look ahead, putting him on high alert, and he activates his beast language skill to chat with the tiny lizard. This little dragon begs him to get a giant coffin off its back. And our boy immediately connects the dots. The coffin is draining the spirit vein. He offers a deal, freedom for eternal servitude, a totally fair trade. With a grin that says, I am about to scam a baby, he preps for a fight, winding up his go-to problem solver, the Yuan force punch. He smashes his fist right into the mysterious green coffin, which turns out to be the core of the entire Mystic Realms array. This little dragon cheers him on, desperate for this to work. Putting his whole back into it, Suzing yells his own name for emphasis. His punch actually starts cracking the ancient artifact, and he is thrilled that his brute force method is paying off. But then a voice booms from inside, asking who is making all the racket, and blown back by the force, Suzing realizes whoever's in there is a legit master. A massive spirit emerges, a body integration stage expert, way out of his league. This spirit, Master Wanmu, starts monologuing about creating the dragon himself, and Suzing finally understands, this is the guy who caused the entire world's decline. Master Wanmu's spirit gives a classic villain monologue about how cultivation is all about cosmic destruction, and then announces Suzing will be the fuel for his glorious ascension. What an honor. This simulation instantly ends, leaving our boy absolutely fuming about the ungrateful ghost he just woke up. He is totally dejected, realizing he is nowhere near strong enough to fight an 8,000-year-old monster. But hey, there are still rewards to claim, and he is grabbing that dual spirit root and Yuan force upgrade. A brilliant golden energy immediately swirls around him as he absorbs the new power. Suzing is thrilled, feeling his spiritual energy absorption rate has literally doubled. Deep inside him, a brand new Yuan force seed begins to form, which he notes will give him incredible endurance in a fight, no more running on empty. Already plotting his next move, he is confident he can finally perfect his protective chi. His mind is set on one goal, surviving inside that great beast's stomach. But first, he snaps back to reality, remembering he has to refine this week's batch of pills. A woman from the Tarot Club is shocked he delivered 4,000 pills, asking if he has gotten stronger again. Suzing plays it cool, joking that he has just been eating better, but she has serious business to discuss. His expression immediately hardens, sensing something important is about to go down. Turns out the military has launched a spirit rice project and wants the location of the source. She adds that they are also demanding a yearly tribute of £2 million, an impossible number. While sipping his tea, Suzing worries that giving out spirit rice this early could expose him. In exchange, the military is offering rights to 4 entire level 1 mining areas, which makes him do a spit take. He immediately asks the system for evaluation, a conservative 100 million energy points per mine. Suzing grins, accepting the risky deal. 400 million points is worth it. And with business concluded, the woman from the Tarot Club takes her leave, leaving Suzing deeply suspicious about why she was so agreeable today. Back to the system, he sets a new goal for this simulation, reaching the void-shattering realm, which immediately drops a new purple talent that doubles his lifespan. Talk about a long-term investment. He is practically giddy, realizing a 20,000-year lifespan is basically immortality. This simulation kicks off with him joining the Advent Church to get close to Old Dog Zong. Then he and Luo Shang immediately rob the place blind before defecting. After 8 years of secluded cultivation using his stolen goods, his power has grown immensely, but he knows he needs real combat to get any stronger. On his way to fight demons, he runs right into his old nemesis, Old Dog Zong, who immediately attacks, forcing Suzing to defend himself. His powerful sword strike is not enough, and he is frustrated by how tough the old man is. so he vents that frustration by slaughtering demons, becoming humanity's last hope in the process. His new hero status earns him a crowd of adoring fans, and from that crowd a familiar voice calls his name. It is Fatty, his old friend, who is not only alive but has become a powerhouse himself, which back in reality makes Su-Zing incredibly proud of his buddy's progress. In the sim, Fatty teases him about hiding his strength, but Su-Zing just plays it coy, and Fatty just claps him on the shoulder, saying he will always be his brother no matter what. This system reminds Su-Zing his sister's life is on the line, suggesting a generous spirit rice donation to her school. But he knows a food care package will not be enough to keep her from dying at the demon suppression pass. So in the sim, he cooks up a new plan, a bone-transforming pill made from demon essence to buff all of humanity. He hands off the first batch to the old guard, telling him to start picking test subjects for this major upgrade. And it works like a charm, boosting humanity's overall power by a whopping 30%. Back in reality, Su-Zing realizes that was just with regular demon juice, demon emperor blood would be a whole other level. With a plan this good, he is confident humanity might actually stand a chance against the demon invasion. Meanwhile in the simulation, year 18 hits and his Yuan Force seed starts acting funny, doubling its energy output and recharge rate, a serious efficiency boost. He can feel the breakthrough coming, a satisfied smirk spreading across his face. His internal power core erupts in a blinding flash of golden light, and just like that he has reached the great perfection of the third stage. His new form is insane, with enough energy to fight for 3 days straight and a 10-hour shield. Yet even with all this power, he knows it is still not enough for his real goal. He returns to the demon suppression pass to grind some levels, only to be stopped by Lu Yunwu. This old man tells him it is time for the "you are a big boy now" talk about the world's secrets. Lu Yunwu gets right to the point, asking why the strongest humans always seem to cap out at the Emperor realm. Su-Zing is stumped. He has heard rumors of these top-tier experts but has never seen one in any timeline. Turns out, a millennium ago, humanity had tons of great emperors, some even approaching god level. But then they all vanished overnight, leaving Su-Zing to wonder what could possibly be that powerful. Lu Yunwu reveals the top-tier emperors are hiding in a cosmic dungeon to avoid vanishing, and to stop the disappearances, they just cut ties with the rest of the world. Great leadership. Su-Zing immediately asks the million-dollar question, so if I get too strong, do I just asterisk poof? This old man gives him a hard look, asking if he is truly ready for the big leagues. Turns out humanity's strongest are just suppressing their cultivation, terrified of being deleted. This whole mess has Lu Yunwu looking like he has not slept in 1,000 years. Su-Zing connects the dots. The invasion and the vanishing act smell like a massive conspiracy. Back in the simulation, his answer to this cosmic problem is to just punch more demons. Surrounded by a fiery aura, he vows to get stronger no matter what stands in his way. By year 25, the pass is breached, and his brilliant plan is to fly straight into a monster's mouth. Inside the beast's stomach, he immediately throws up his protective chi shield, which gets a serious lightning baptism as he starts absorbing the energy. He calls on his Yuan Force, basically turning the beast's insides into his personal charging station. Our boy is actually grinning while being electrocuted. This feels just too good. This internal storm rages, supercharging his entire armored form. Back in reality, Su-Zing is laser-focused, knowing he has to break through his limits, and the simulation ends with him being charred black and dead. Guess that was not the way. He realizes his shield just was not tough enough for that lightning bath. Time to cash out, claiming his upgraded Yuan Force and protective chi for a cool 100 million points. It is a steep price, but he knows it is worth it for a whole new level of power. A call from his teacher has Su-Zing confused. Did not this guy just try to kick him out yesterday? He answers with maximum disrespect, barely even calling him teacher. But the guy on the other end has done a complete 180, suddenly all smiles and apologies. Su-Zing quickly figures it out. His sister must have called in a favor with the big boss, Lu Yunwu. This bootlicker is now offering him a private dorm and a director position, all on the principal's orders. But our boy shuts him down cold, not interested in fake apologies, and goes to hang up, calling the guy a two-faced sycophant as he grabs his bags to leave. But the teacher is somehow already at his door, looking like a kicked puppy who ran a 4-minute mile. He keeps laying it on thick with offers of luxury furniture, so Su-Zing just quotes all the insults from yesterday. This guy literally bows, begging for forgiveness and admitting he was a blind idiot. With a smug grin, Su-Zing twists the knife, saying no apology is needed since he is just a failure. This sends the teacher into a full-on panic, grabbing his leg and offering to pay back his scholarship money. And Su-Zing just kicks him off, telling him to donate the cash to someone who actually needs it. His final word on the matter is a cold "get out of my sight" forever. Now settled into a swanky new dorm, Su-Zing is finally enjoying the good life in a massage chair. His celebration meal, red wine and spicy sticks, the dinner of champions. Just as he is relaxing, a strange noise from the other room puts him on edge. Immediately, he powers up his Yuan Force, ready to throw down with whoever's there. He traces the sound to the bathroom where the shower is running, and bursting in, he furiously confronts the intruder for breaking into his new digs. Su-Zing is completely stunned by what he sees. Because the intruder is Kung Su, casually relaxing in his new bathtub. She calls it a surprise, and he is just trying to process why this surprise involves breaking and entering. With a sly smile, she suggests a change of scenery can be exciting. But our boy is just panicking, stammering that they are in a school dorm. He gives himself a classic cultivator pep talk about resisting temptation to get stronger, a noble but doomed effort. Kung Su, however, is not making it easy for him. His legendary willpower lasts all of 5 seconds before she pulls him closer. He completely loses his balance, tumbling right toward her. And just like that, his cultivation training gets officially postponed. This next morning, a refreshed Kung Su heads out, telling him she will be busy for a week. Su-Zing, looking absolutely exhausted, can only manage a week okay. He is crying anime tears, vowing to resist her next time since she is getting so strong. Sure you will, buddy. Shaking it off, he gets back to the grind, firing up another simulation to finally shatter the void. This system drops a new purple talent, Master of Success, which grants him world-class charisma. Its first example is him on a podium running what looks suspiciously like a pyramid scheme, and the crowd loves it. Su-Zing immediately wonders if he can use this MLM power to convince demons to switch sides. But the fine print clarifies the talent's effects are unpredictable and depend on the target, making him realize it is not the broken, instant win button he was hoping for. This simulation kicks off with a simple test: use his new gift of gab on a random student at the school gate. Su-Zing tests his new charisma talent on a random student, but the kid is just confused since they have never met before. So our boy goes for the nuclear option: I am your long-lost mother, and the kid is horrified. He even tries to prove it by asking about a very specific birthmark. This student bolts, screaming that he is insane, while Su-Zing gives chase, a total failure. He concludes this manipulation talent cannot just rewrite reality on a whim. For his next attempt, he tries a different angle on a girl. He is her long-lost half-brother. She immediately shuts him down, saying she is an only child, but he is ready with a story. With incredible detail, he spins a tragic tale of affairs and abandonment. And it works perfectly. She is crying on his shoulder, completely sold on her new brother. Feeling confident, he decides to test his powers on a high-level teacher. This new lie is simple and brutal: your father just died. This teacher falls for it hook, line, and sinker, thanking him before rushing off. Su-Zing is stunned. The guy's dad is a martial emperor, yet he believed it instantly. He realizes as long as the lie has some logic, the success rate is shockingly high. So naturally, he takes this power straight to his nemesis, old dog Zong. Putting on the performance of a lifetime, he claims to be Zong's long-lost son. He lays out a sob story thousands of years in the making, but Zong is still skeptical. This old man just laughs, saying there is no way his father would ever come looking for him. Su-Zing is floored that his ultimate persuasion technique completely failed. Zong explains his simple cultivation secret: just kill all your relatives to sever worldly ties. Su-Zing realizes his mistake. Of course, the family angle would not work on a guy who murdered his own father. So he pivots, praising the old man's power and asking to join his totally not evil Advent church. In the sim, he is immediately put on stage to give a speech to a bunch of hooded fanatics, and he goes full televangelist, promising them a golden path to prosperity. His speech lasts for 3 straight days, and the cultists are completely brainwashed. Some are even whispering about making him the leader of a whole new faction. And Su-Zing is just loving it, feeling right at home in this den of traitors. He even convinces the red-haired woman, Luo Shang, just by telling her his tragic time loop story. She is so on board, she immediately starts the Su-Zing sect in his name, flag and all. Our boy does a literal spit take, wondering if he is about to accidentally take over the whole organization. 3 years later, he and Luo Shang defect, and news of their betrayal spreads like wildfire. His followers back at the church are in absolute denial, calling it a smear campaign. One true believer passionately defends him, accusing the doubters of simple jealousy. This immediately splits the church into 2 factions, the loyalists and the haters. Team Su-Zing is convinced he is on a secret mission to infiltrate and destroy humanity. Meanwhile, the much smaller anti-Su-Zing camp thinks he was just a spy stealing herbs. This loyalists decide to go find him, certain their beloved elder still cares about them. Back in the city, Su-Zing is stunned to hear that 20,000 cult members have shown up to see him. Luo Shang confirms it. Yep, the entire fan club is here, from the top elders down to the grunts. Su-Zing sees his opening, a chance to wipe out all these traitors at once, and under the full moon he sets the stage for his grand performance, having already arranged a military ambush while he keeps his new fan club distracted. He spins a grand tale of how the Advent Church has lost its way, corrupted by greed, but the cultists are heartbroken, yelling that he also ransacked their treasury on his way out. With a perfect villain smirk, he says it is all part of his new plan to resist the aliens to the end. When they ask if he is siding with humans, he hits them with a classic, "Who said that?" His new genius strategy is to provoke the aliens because they are just too strong to fight normally, with the ultimate goal of pissing them off so much they try to exterminate humanity immediately. Because apparently getting everyone killed is the fastest way to achieve world peace, flawless logic. And his followers absolutely eat it up, cheering that his brilliant plan makes perfect sense. Just like that, the entire cult bows, ready to follow their glorious leader straight to their deaths. So 20,000 traitors defect with him, forming the new Advent army to fight the demons. Back in reality, Su-Zing is stunned. He did not just trick them, he sold them the wheelchair too. This simulation even flashes a cool promo shot because this level of scam artistry deserves its own poster. Raising a glass, he toasts to his Master of Success talent, which is clearly the most broken thing ever. With the cult handled, he gets back to work in the sim, researching a new super pill. And after years of what looks like disco dancing, he finally invents the bone-transforming pill. He's got 10,000 of them, each one a massive power-up for high-level experts. And the best part is they are dirt cheap, needing just a bit of Demon King to mass-produce. This simulation shows his new pills have everyone lining up to fight demons. And Suzing calls it the perfect 2-for-1 deal: buff humanity, wreck the aliens. He is already jotting down the recipe, noting which demon parts work for which power levels, practically vibrating with excitement at the thought of mass-producing martial emperors. He officially names it the bone-transforming pill, a true game-changer. Back in the sim, he pops his own pills and immediately dives into the gut of a giant beast, where he just chills in a lightning storm, literally begging for more power. In reality, Suzing is watching on the edge of his seat, hoping his sim self survives the stunt. All he can think about is leveling up so he can finally kill Zong and loot his entire church. This little lightning bath pays off, unlocking a 1 in a million heavenly lightning body. And our boy is genuinely surprised by the unexpected jackpot. His sim self, however, is a total madman who decides this lightning is too weak, so he immediately dives headfirst into an even more intense energy zone. This time, the legendary lightning is way too much, completely overwhelming him, and he gets absolutely shredded by the raw power. His soul is obliterated by chaotic energy, but hey, the simulation was a success. Back in his dorm, Suzing is looking absolutely thrilled with the results. It is time to claim his rewards, starting with the first layer of void-shattering cultivation. Though he decides to save his broken charisma talent for a future upgrade, he locks in his final choices: a new cultivation realm and that awesome heavenly lightning body. This system hits him with a 300 million point bill for the upgrade, and Suzing immediately accuses it of highway robbery. He gets right in the system's face, which can only whimper a terrified "oh." After bullying his AI, he gets down to business, absorbing his new cultivation level. This power-up is immediate. He is suddenly ripped and crackling with raw lightning, and our boy is feeling it, flexing and boasting that the void-shattering realm is no joke. This new power is so intense it is literally surging from his feet. Thanks to his new heavenly lightning body, his spiritual energy has more than doubled, giving him a brand new lightning-based offensive technique to play with. His first thought naturally is a happy little song about electrocuting old dog Zong. After his victory dance, he kicks back with a drink, deciding to take his time with the rest of the power-up. But his good mood sours when he starts arguing with the system's predatory pricing model again. Just as he is about to sell some pills for cash, a desperate voice calls from his doorway. It is Kung Su, and she looks absolutely frantic. He grabs her for details, and she explains her dad was critically injured on a mission and will not recover. Suzing finally realizes why she has been so preoccupied lately. Her father's condition is getting worse, and she has come to him as a last resort, asking for a life-sustaining pill. Looking way too confident for the situation, he just smirks and says sure. He offers her the priceless pill for free, but on one condition, which she instantly accepts. Leaning in close, he tells her to never hesitate to come to him for help again, because to him she is family too, a line so smooth it leaves her speechless. Overwhelmed by his kindness, Kung Su just breaks down in tears, and a week later she hands him her dowry, a gift from her now-saved father. Suzing is totally baffled by the gesture, but she insists it is just gratitude. She heads off to her club meeting, leaving him to check out his new prize, and he cracks open the book to find this is no ordinary diary. It is the deed to an entire exotic metal mine, holy cow. With his simulation points secured, he boots up the system for another run. This time he pulls a new purple talent, Talisman Expert. Our boy realizes he has now mastered all 4 major cultivation money-making skills. But crafting can wait. The #1 priority is still taking out old dog Zong. In the sim, he masters a fortune-telling technique to predict his enemy's every move. And his first test is calculating when an elder is doom-scrolling so he can rob the church blind. Suzing is absolutely cackling at the thought of using this on Zong. Through divination, he finds his target hiding out in an apocalyptic dungeon, and the trail leads him straight to the front gates of the Changchun sect. Just as the magic 8-ball predicted, Zong is there, disguised as a disciple. This old man's guard is up, so he will need to get within 3 meters for a clean kill. Playing the part of a friendly senior, his himself calls everyone for a meal. Then he gets an idea, volunteering to handle a menial task himself. He takes over pushing a heavy barrel, a perfect excuse to get close. His plan is simple: serve food to the low-level disciples, because Zong is definitely hiding among them, and he is absolutely certain the old man will show up for a free meal. Just as predicted, Zong walks right up in his disguise, asking for a bowl, and Suzing himself gives him a smile that says, "Welcome to the afterlife." This instant Zong is in range, our boy grabs him by the throat, landing a devastating punch straight through his back. And just like that, the big bad of the arc is dead on the floor. Ignoring the screaming disciples, Suzing himself grabs Zong's loot bag and makes a clean getaway. Back in reality, Suzing is giddy, finally holding the old dog's entire life savings. He immediately boots up a 24-hour immersive sim to analyze everything he just stole. This first prize is a storage artifact with 3,000 cubic meters of space, an absolutely insane upgrade. His astral form dives right into the bag to see what treasures are hiding inside, discovering a massive library filled with countless cultivation techniques and scrolls. But the first thing he finds is Zong's personal diary collection spanning 2,000 years of evil. After a quick roast about Zhang's writing habits, he decides to read them all for secrets. He also finds a stash of secret arts, hoping for something powerful. But the first scroll requires sacrificing hundreds of infant girls, not exactly a heroic power-up. This next technique involves absorbing the lifeblood of teenage girls, which is somehow even worse. Su Xing is absolutely furious, wondering if Zhang ever learned a single technique that was not pure evil. He throws the scrolls down in disgust, refusing to believe the entire library is just a how-to for monsters. Digging deeper, he finds a treasure trove of Zhang's secret arts, and our boy is ready to learn every single one of them. His astral form then zips over to a pile of chests, ready for more loot, popping one open to find a stash of supreme-grade herbs. This next one is packed with top-tier pills, and another is just overflowing with magical weapons. What a haul. Then he spots a special chest, guessing it is where Zhang kept the really good stuff. But as he opens it, his face just drops, because what is inside is absolutely horrifying. It is a woman perfectly preserved as some kind of puppet, and Su Xing is just sickened, realizing Zhang's hobbies were somehow even worse. Vowing to kill the old dog for real, he gives her a fiery send-off. But as the flames consume the body, something remains untouched. A piece of paper somehow withstands his most powerful fire, which he grabs, completely baffled by the material. It is a map revealing a secret spirit vein mountain Zhang was hoarding, and suddenly it all makes sense why the loot bag was missing spirit stones. Back in reality, he uses the diary to pinpoint the location of Mount Wuxing. This place is apparently the tomb of an ancient sect master. And holding the map, he gets a weird feeling of deja vu about a slumbering expert. He realizes this whole ancient expert in a coma thing might be a pattern, and the map also reveals Zhang used an army of puppets as free security guards. In the simulation, he follows the trail right to a massive pile of spirit stones, but his danger sense immediately tells him to steer clear of the creepy coffin nearby. Back in reality, Su Xing celebrates his simulated heist with a victory bubble bath. He is already calculating the system's inevitable 9-figure fee for Zhang's inheritance, and while soaking, he starts planning his next money-making venture, a metal mine. He finds the spot in his notes, the Red Lotus Demon Grotto, which he was too weak to enter before. After a little more quality time with his rubber duck, he decides to run a sim first. His simulated self steps into the grotto, and it is immediately ridiculously hot. A quick check of the thermometer confirms he is basically taking a magma bath, but he just casually strolls deeper into the fiery dungeon anyway. This goal is a flame demon guarding the mine at the bottom of a giant pit, so he preps his counterattack based on the revolutionary idea that water beats fire. Summoning his Yuan force, he wraps his arm in swirling blue energy, then activates his protective chi, which manifests as some very loud, very pink armor. Looking absolutely fabulous, he dives headfirst into the pit, ready to farm some points. He lands safely at the bottom, having survived the initial plunge. This heat is so intense it instantly shatters his thermometer, which is not a great sign, and he realizes this demon pit just keeps getting deeper and hotter. Down in the grotto, the heat is climbing past 3,000 degrees, and Su Xing is wondering where the dungeon boss is hiding. Right on cue, a massive horned head pops up from the lava, revealing the flame demon in all its ridiculously jacked glory. Our boy's first thought is less demon and more angry gorilla, so he decides to do his best One-Punch Man impression. One supercharged water fist later, the demon's face just explodes. With the boss down for the count, Su Xing gloats about being unbeatable, but after the victory speech, he realizes the main prize is missing. He scans the fiery pit where the demon used to be, spotting the exotic metal which looks like a glowing golden lotus. Back in reality, he asks the system for a price check, but it cannot appraise sim items. Su Xing immediately gives this useless feature a double thumbs down. His sim self just shrugs, deciding to smuggle a piece out for later. This simulation then fast-forwards through his return and a quick training montage. With the run complete, he kicks back, ready to just chill and cultivate. But the system pops up with a new offer, another sim for 50 million points. It is a secondary simulation letting him restart from a checkpoint, a feature he actually likes. He immediately picks a new starting point, which costs a cool 5,000 points, locking in his choice to dive right back into the action. Su Xing accuses the system of jacking up fees for his new mine, which it denies with a totally innocent cartoon face. This new sim starts with him tracking down old dog Zhang, who is disguised as a helpful senior. This senior offers to be his guide, completely unaware he is talking to his future murderer. Our boy plays along perfectly, acting like he just found a new best friend. Then he immediately blasts Zhang, who is just shocked someone would attack him mid-scam. Su Xing himself gives him a cold smile, saying he has been on his list for a long time. After a quick finisher, he snags the loot bag and makes a clean exit. Back in reality, Su Xing is giddy, now confident he can insta-kill the real Zhang. But just as he is celebrating, he senses someone watching him from the shadows. He calls out his stalker, demanding they show themselves in the empty street, and from his expression, he is clearly not in the mood for games. His spiritual sense flares, detecting a powerful but untraceable presence nearby. So he throws down a challenge, daring them to follow him all the way to the capital. A shadowy figure finally emerges from a corridor, telling him to wait. It is a robed agent from the Advent Church, demanding to know why he killed Protector Zhang. Su Xing immediately recognizes her, asking if she is Luo Shiang. She is stunned, so he drops a secret code phrase about a little girl crying in the rain. This completely throws her and she demands to know how he knows their secret words. With the code confirmed, she realizes he is a comrade and immediately embraces him. She explains Zhang was her ticket in, so Su Xing promises to get her into the church within a month. Luo Shang is totally on board with his plan to infiltrate the church, and back in reality, Su Xing sips his juice box, confident he can kill Zhang within a month. He mulls over the next step, actually meeting his new spy comrade in person, but decides to use a disguise because paranoia is a core survival skill. This simulation fast-forwards, and just like that, he is welcomed into the Spooky Robe Club. Luo Shang warns him to lay low while the church investigates, but he is not worried in the slightest. Despite all his swagger, the system notes he is actually pretty nervous about meeting the next boss, Protector Long. And for good reason, this new guy is on a completely different power level. Su Xing then remembers a crucial detail. Protector Long was Zhang's sponsor in the church. According to the old dog's diary, the two of them first met in Dragon Valley, which makes him wonder if this Protector Long is literally a dragon descendant. Luckily, he has a convenient hide my presence from God's skill, so he is safe for now. With that threat managed, his himself gets back to the grind, needing better pills for his training. But his fire alchemy just is not strong enough to cook the high-grade stuff. So new plan, raid Zhang's secret spirit stone stash at the ancient tomb. In the simulation, he carves through the puppet security guards with ease, tiptoeing past the sleeping ancient master to get his hands on that sweet, sweet loot. Of course, the main vault is sealed behind a massive golden energy barrier, so he gathers his Yuan force, preparing to punch his way through, and one glowing palm strike later, the barrier shatters into a million pieces. Inside the vault, he is greeted by a literal mountain of spirit stones. And our boy is just losing his mind, practically making money angels on the floor. He is already planning a housewarming party at his new cave dwelling. What a guy back in reality, this confirms his theory Mount Wuxing must have a similar jackpot. So he heads to the real location, easily clearing out the puppet security. This good news is the layout is a perfect match to his simulated heist, which means finding the main vault is a piece of cake, but there is a catch. This real-world barrier is ridiculously strong, much to his Chiba rage. After 3 straight days of just wailing on it, the seal finally cracks. He does a little victory dance, ready to claim his hard-earned prize. But the moment his guard drops, a dark shadow lunges at him. Su Xing immediately snaps to attention, sensing the unseen danger. A massive force then slams into him, shattering his defenses in an instant. His attacker is revealed to be a very angry, very undead ancient master. And Su Xing quickly identifies the creature as some kind of living dead. This thing was a top-tier expert in its prime, so the new strategy is simple: run. While fleeing, he notices the vault is suspiciously empty of spirit stones. This zombie master crawls after him, screaming for his head, but thankfully its legs are crippled, which is the only thing keeping him alive. Spotting the exit, he makes a desperate sprint for the light. He almost makes it out, but gets a glowing spear right through the chest. Back in reality, the sim ends, confirming the crippled zombie is still way too strong. Su Xing starts wondering why that ancient expert was so full of rage, and theorizes he was actually murdered, stuffed in a coffin after his legs were broken. This only person strong enough to do that would be someone like Master Wanmu, which connects to the fact that the Wuxing ruins were suspiciously empty of treasure. Then the horrifying thought hits him: the expert was used as a human sacrifice. He decides to stop spiraling, planning to just ask the evil mastermind about it later. Shifting gears, he is ready to check out his simulation rewards, but the system wants 10 million points for Zhang's diary, which is just highway robbery. He calms himself down, deciding to just buy alchemy experience instead. With a click, he purchases 20 years of skills, bringing his total to 100 million. All his points immediately vanish, leaving him comically broke and crying. Now flat broke, he decides it is time to raid the Red Lotus Grotto for real. He makes a grand entrance into the fiery cavern, sword at the ready. With a dramatic swing, he calls out the gorilla for a rematch. This flame demon appears, looking just as jacked and angry as before. This time he knows he cannot just punch it, since the exotic metal is the prize. He dodges a massive, fiery fist from the enraged demon, then leaps back, surrounding himself with water energy for the counterattack. Su Xing unleashes a massive water sword right on the demon's head, which knocks the big guy flat on his back, a total success. But the demon just gets right back up, much to his surprise. It is actually absorbing the surrounding fire to heal itself. Realizing this, Su Xing decides to change the scenery. No more fire for you. With a flash of light, he teleports them both out of there, dropping the demon in a peaceful green field, totally confused. It is even surrounded by baby chicks, which is just hilarious. Looking up, the poor thing sees a giant ice storm heading its way, and a rain of icicles promptly freezes it solid. Our boy casually asks the system for a price check on the corpse, and the appraisal comes back a whopping 3 billion points. He gets all philosophical, asking his system about the meaning of life, while the system guesses all the usual heroic stuff, getting it all wrong. Nope, for him it is all about getting rich as he hugs his new jackpot. After that, he cashes in his second reward, pulling spirit stones out of the sim. With his new resources, he starts cultivating, aiming for Master Wanmu's loot next. A week later, he fires up another sim and gets a new talent, background character. This immediately has him crying, trying to convince himself it is totally fine. So he spins the gacha wheel again, desperate for a better roll. His gacha roll is trash, and the system basically tells him to cope with his bad luck. Refusing to accept defeat, he goes all in for one more desperate spin. He finally gets the Master of Success talent, but it leaves him totally broke and drained. This new simulation starts and it is time to hunt down old dog Zong again. Just like last time, Luo Shang appears, questioning his violent methods. But this time he skips the secret code, using his new talent to manipulate her into helping him. Su-Zing is amazed at how easily his new skill worked on his supposed comrade. After that, his sim self dives into Zong's diary, learning about a mysterious void realm. He wonders if a place like that could even exist in this era of decline. To get answers, he consults the Changchun sect master, who says it is not a physical location. And after more reading, it finally clicks. The void realm is the cultivator internet. It is a virtual space for elite cultivators where dying just damages your soul. This interface even looks like an ancient chat client with everyone offline, which is hilarious. Now his sim self is convinced there must be a way to log on. He keeps digging through the old texts and finally finds what he is looking for. This book points to something called a void returning pill as the key. Su-Zing then remembers that old dog Zong supposedly had one of these. Since it is just a simulation, he decides to just pop the pill and see what happens. He is immediately set on fire from the inside, cursing Zong for his expired medicine cabinet. But through the pain, his power suddenly breaks through and a fiery red door materializes before him. He steps through the fiery door, hearing a mysterious ancient voice, and his spirit form materializes in the endless, starry void realm. Our boy's first thought is he needs a password to log in. Welcome to the cultivator internet. Suddenly, a massive bolt of blue lightning cracks through the void, but instead of pain, it actually supercharges his spiritual sense. So naturally, he decides to just soak in the lightning storm for a quick power-up. A few zaps later, his spiritual power has literally doubled in size. Su-Zing realizes that sketchy pill was the only thing keeping him from getting fried. Just as he is enjoying the gains, another presence approaches him. A ghostly figure appears, shocked to see such a low-level cultivator here. This new spirit gets a weird feeling of deja vu, saying he looks familiar. So Su-Zing introduces himself as Zong, and the guy calls himself Taoist Long. That name hits him like a ton of bricks. Taoist Long. He immediately realizes this is Protector Long, Zong's old sponsor. Terrified of blowing his cover, his sim self immediately logs off and runs for his life. This simulation then fast-forwards through his usual monster-slaying montage, just a blur of cultivating and fighting to get stronger, until a giant beast decides he looks like a tasty afternoon snack. After getting eaten, the simulation finally ends, showing his potential rewards. Back in reality, he eyes the option to inherit his new Void Realm-boosted cultivation. Su-Zing realizes his recent power-up was a cheap shortcut, leaving his foundation unstable. So he cashes in his rewards, grabbing the Master of Success talent and more alchemy skills. His new plan is to just craft a better void pill himself. Zong's was clearly bottom-shelf stuff. This system then offers him a new talent slot for a cool 10 million points, which he instantly buys. Then comes the big one, an offer to upgrade the whole simulator to version 4. This unlocks a legendary gacha, and our boy is already seeing gold. But the system clarifies it is a 1% chance with a 99% chance of total disappointment. Su-Zing immediately loses it, screaming that this is just a glorified loot box scam. This system explains the pay-to-win mechanic. Spend 100 million for a 1% boost. Plus, there is a pity system that increases the odds by 10% after each failure. For a brief shining moment, he actually thinks that sounds fair, until the system adds that the pity counter resets and he is back to calling it a total scam. This system tries to soothe him with some truly terrible gacha math, but Su-Zing's already calculated the horrifying cost of a single guaranteed talent. Unmoved, the system basically tells him to deal with it. Rules are rules. He finally caves and buys the upgrade, costing him 100 million points. And just like that, he is broke and crying over his empty wallet again. This system then dangles another expensive toy, a backtrack simulation for 50 million. With a determined smirk, he decides to go for it, initiating the new sim. This system rewinds time, dropping him right before his unstable breakthrough. Using Zong's old junk and his new alchemy skills, he gets to work, crafting a supreme-grade void pill and immediately downing it. This time, the breakthrough is clean, no self-immolation required. Back in the Void Realm, his new plan is simple: avoid Elder Long at all costs. A little glowing wisp of energy suddenly catches his eye, which he quickly identifies as a Takesu spirit, pure void energy. He promptly absorbs it for a nice little spiritual sense boost, and immediately gets greedy, realizing this place is a gold mine. So naturally, he immediately runs face first into Elder Long again. This old ghost lays on the charm, inviting him to hunt a Mystacrank spirit. Su-Zing learns there are different tiers to these void spirits, with the higher ranks offering some seriously juicy stat boosts. He can tell this guy is a walking red flag, definitely up to no good, so he just plays the part of the grateful rookie to see what the scam is. Elder Long leads him straight to a much bigger, angrier-looking spirit, then pulls the classic "you go first, I will cover you" line. And while Su-Zing fights the spirit, he is really just waiting for the backstab. Right on cue, Elder Long launches a sneak attack from behind, but Su-Zing is already winding up a counterpunch of his own, smashing his fist right into the ghost's attack, much to his surprise.